How is everybody doing tonight? Yes, that's right. Tesla FTW. What's up, Richmond? How is it going? Yes, that's exactly what it is. FTW. Everybody else is collapsing right now. Nobody can keep up with Tesla. And Tesla's just getting started. Right when everybody says, hey, we're going to get involved in EVs. Elon says, nah, screw this. We're going to kick it up a notch. We're going to come out with a roadster. They're Plaid. The S-Plaid is already the fastest production vehicle, 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. And the Roadster coming out next year, SpaceX edition, will go from 0 to 60 in less than 1 second. And it's a 4-seater. You know, I was super excited for DeLorean to come out with an EV. I was like, oh, this is going to be cool as hell. And they start showing it. I was like, oh, this is cool. And it's like, it's not worth it. It's like it does everything at a cost and a fraction of what the Roadster will do. The same as that freaking Ford Lightning EV does everything at a fraction of what the Cybertruck can do. It is worthless. We hear you perfectly too. Okay, perfect. Tonight's going to be a little offset, okay, because as we notice, I have switched over. You'll see the live stream. I'll shrink this, but this is it right behind me. You won't have to leave to watch it. I'm going to show it right here. Elon does not care if people stream it to their sites. So I promise this is not beer or piss. This is Red Robin apple juice. I think. Maybe they peed in it. But I don't have, I'm still getting over my cough, still a little sick. I don't have headphones. So unfortunately, if you hear a slight echo, this usually does a pretty good job. If I play the audio from my television over there, you probably won't hear anything on this. This does a really good job. It's a Shure mic. I'm just going to put it just enough to hear it. And we're going to have this little pre-commentary. We're going to have the actual commentary during the live stream. And then we are going to have my thoughts afterwards. And then, of course, this video will not be available after that. However, I probably will edit it and break it down into 3 videos. Or 2. Probably 2. But yeah, so tonight is the big night. Tonight is the night. I've been telling everybody in the Discord over at patreon.com/sleepbike. I've been telling you guys for over a year. Oh, God, it's almost been 2 years now. Come February. Holy crap. I'm telling you guys for almost 2 years to get on Tesla. Every time it dipped, I had you guys buying it. When I wasn't available, I told Stat, my moderator, I said, dude, every time it dips below X, tell people, let them know it's dipped so they're aware. And for those of you, unfortunately, I've been involved. Fortunately, I've been involved in Tesla stock since like 2011, 2012 for a very long time. But I've been getting everybody in my Discord in on it, making sure you guys who don't have it, that you're piling it up, because, you know, I have the price prediction chart in the Discord at patreon.com/sleevebiker. But we are gearing up, as I said, to have the 2 biggest years in Tesla's history coming up, 2023, 2024. And tonight is the foundation for that. Everything I've been talking about for 2 freaking years is going to be unloaded and unleashed tonight. We're going to get the final version of the Cybertruck. The Gigapress is almost fully assembled. It's 65% assembled right now in the Texas factory. That will go into production next summer. No more pre-orders. They can't handle it anymore. The semis, there's no more pre-orders. However, they did start rolling them out. There's 7 now. They sent 7 of them out. 7 of them have been produced already. And you got to remember, you're talking about this, the semi. This thing goes over 500 miles with a full load, okay? It's absolutely ridiculous. It's guaranteed to pull the weight of a diesel rig for up to 1 million miles, because what he's saying is that 2 of those motors running properly on the semi is the equivalent of a diesel power rig. And so that means if 2 of the 4 motors go out, it's still just as strong. So this is absolutely insane. They've already started implementing the superchargers for these semis, and it only takes them half an hour to charge that beast. Yes, that's right. And where they're setting them up, they're setting them up in locations to where, for those of you unfamiliar, if you drive a rig, you have a journal, essentially. Okay, I call it a journal. It's actually a log. So they have to log their hours. They have to sleep every so often. So every 500 to 600 miles is absolutely perfect for that because they can stop, they can eat, they can rest, and they can charge within 30 minutes while that's happening. 7 of those have already been sent out. They're already in production. They're already going off the line. But tonight is the big granddaddy for tonight is Optimus. We've been waiting for Optimus because this is going, Tesla's already taken us to the roof and beyond. Okay, through the freaking roof. Their vehicles are still going through the roof. Their software's taking us through the roof. That's child shit compared to what's going to be unleashed tonight. Tonight, it's time for Optimus, the freaking android that is coming out. And yes, I know, along with Dojo, people keep talking about Optimus now, but none of them know about Dojo. Dojo. Oh my God, Dojo is one of the world's most powerful supercomputers, and it is completely ran off of AI. It is self-aware, no human interaction. What it will do is it will learn from full self-drive, from everybody's driving habits. It will calculate new updates and what needs to happen, and it will automatically send everything out. So this will be self-automated, artificial intelligent created updates for the actual vehicles. This is insane. Let's not even forget the fact that we are going to have these self-aware bots. We're going to get into that right now. The Optimus, right? So we have Optimus. What Optimus is going to do, when one of them learn a new task, all it takes is one of them to learn a new task, and then it gets uploaded to the server and correlates to all the other Optimus bots, and they learn that same task. Now, yes, I know what you're saying. We're going to get this into the wrong hands of one person because these are for residential use, and Elon is working on the ability to get them to be cheaper than the price of a car. And yes, the wrong person gets a hold of them and teaches them the wrong thing, and boom, human species is true. I won't argue that. But I still told Elon we need a fail-safe. We need a fail-safe in the Optimus. And that fail-safe needs to be that anybody who is in a Tesla is safe. They have a Tesla in the garage, they're safe. So basically what I want to see is I want to be driving down the road and see Optimus out there throwing Fords out of the way, throwing Toyotas out of the way so we can just get our clear shot and go. Own a Tesla or die. That's Tesla's new motto after tonight. So it's going to get real interesting. I can't wait to see Optimus. I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of Optimus. I don't think you're going to see it picking up, moving and stuff. I think what we're going to see is basically what I shared is him doing simple movements like the heart, simple tasks, maybe moving around, but we're going to get to see it moving. So we're going to see that it's almost ready to go. It's a big deal because this being residential and business as an Android, this is huge. This is monumentous. This is, as Elon has said, could be bigger than the entire automotive industry combined. And let me tell you, I've been telling everybody to buy. As I told everybody in the Discord, patreon.com/sleepbiker. Anybody, the way I calculated everything, if you have at least 100 shares right now, I think by 2030 you will be able to retire. And I put my statistics and information in the Discord. Share the stream to your favorite social channel. Yes, please share the stream. I would appreciate everybody sharing the stream. So we are 100. I have everything calculated correctly. Now, of course, there are, I do give a warning with my price prediction chart and all of the variables included in that equation. You have to keep in mind, should Elon Musk die, yes, it is going to change drastically. Okay, there are, this is not a guarantee, but let's put, like I've told everybody, I was involved in Bitcoin in 2009. I mined Bitcoin from 2013 to 2015. I believe it was around 2012 when I bought a ton of shares of Tesla. So the way I've been factoring my investments, okay, so I've been doing this in 10 to 20 year increments, all right? More so 10-year increments than anything else. So the way I've been setting everything up essentially is Bitcoin was my first 10-year plan, right? And then I bought Tesla 10 years ago, but so when I sold my Bitcoin earlier this year technically, 10 years from now or less, I will sell my next 10-year investment from that point. So it goes in 10-year increments, which will be Tesla. Tesla is my next phase of wealth. Bitcoin was the first. Tesla is the second. I've told we haven't really found my third one yet. For 2030 to 2040, right? I have a few other things that we have invested in that, again, all in the Discord at patreon.com/slavebiker. If anybody wants to talk, now would be the time to do so. We have about 15 minutes until this bad boy starts all around us. Of course, I'm going to shrink this, put it in the corner when it's ready to go. You got to suck up my coughing a little bit. I've been sick. The kids have been sick. We've all been sick together. And I think technically, can you see? I think you can see my TV. Is that my TV? That is my TV. So you'll be able to see the dual playing going on. Live in 18 minutes. We have 18 minutes left. We have a lot to talk about in 18 minutes. Anybody have any questions while we're waiting? This is the perfect time to talk, because we're going to do the podcast. We're going to continue this on. I'm not going to over talk the podcast. I'm not one of those people, but you'll hear me say something if I see something. You'll know my commentary. I'll say something if it needs to be said. We're going to watch it together, go over a couple things. And then afterwards, I'll go over everything. Casino room fellow members. Are there casino members in here? I don't know if you have casino members. For those of you not involved in the Discord at patreon.com/sleepbiker, casino stock is what I have titled day trading, because it's like going to the casino. It's all, it's nothing but an adrenaline rush pretty much. That's what it is. And, that's where we are with pretty much everything. Now, keep in mind, I want you to bear with me. MacBooks, Macs do not allow you to capture audio and put it through a streaming device. So I had to do a workaround. I was running short on time and I didn't test what I think will work. So we're going to find this out together in 17 minutes. All right. So with that said, keep in mind, again, Dojo, the supercomputer, self-aware, putting out self-updates. I got an update yesterday in the Tesla. I was actually thinking about doing the live stream in the Tesla and watching this in the Tesla. And I was like, I got the computer, where the hell am I going to put the mic? It's a lot of weird stuff in play here. Martin Johnson, if you don't mind, can you go into the Discord and let them all know we are streaming? So if they have any questions, it's open to everybody. This stream does not require any certain tier. It is open for everybody. And this is because it's kind of my FU to TikTok. TikTok's an asshole. As you've noticed, I've switched over to YouTube recently. And what I'm thinking, because I had brought this up in the Discord, is I think I'm going to start twice a year, because they're twice a year, AI Day. I am thinking about flying out to Texas and live streaming the event right from my phone, obviously, in my Tesla. It's over there on the couch. my magnetic charging Tesla battery pack, and streaming it live. So if I'm going to do that, I think something like that should be open maybe to everybody. I'm not sure yet. I'm still thinking about it. But right now I'm testing out YouTube, seeing how YouTube Live works. If we get enough viewers, if enough comes from these live streams on YouTube, we might do some more. Otherwise, we're going to keep it more private in the Discord in the future. So this is all up to the non-members to get this live stream going, and we will go from there. Right? I haven't shared anything. I just kind of wanted to see how it plays out. And some of the other things, though, we have the Cybertruck. Oh, Jesus. As you all know, I have 2 pre-ordered. I'm going to sell one. Probably not anymore. I'm actually probably going to cancel it, because I actually looked at... Now, you got to keep in mind the pre-orders, which are over 3 million out. Let's get real. We all know probably 40 to 50% of those people can't afford the fucking Cybertruck. They won't buy it. It's going to cut it down in half. Now, I pre-ordered it. I pre-ordered it day one, but even pre-ordering it day one, based on how many numbers there are, how many pre-orders there were, it still put me I want to say 7 months back, 6 months back. It's insane. However, cut that in half. So 3 months is what I'm looking at, 3 to 4 months, because let's get real. Most of these people think that they're going to pre-order and sell it. Tesla does not allow you to sell pre-orders. If you pre-order something, or if you place an order for a Tesla, you cannot sell it for more than what you paid. They will blacklist you. It's the same thing. Ferrari will blacklist you from buying their vehicles also if you break their rules as well. People don't know this. Same with Bugatti, same with Lamborghini. People don't really understand the prestige behind a lot of these vehicles, these higher end luxury vehicles. So if you're one of the people that have a pre-order thinking you're selling it for more money, don't do it, because you'll never be able to buy a brand new Tesla again. They'll blacklist you. You'll have to have your escorts or somebody do it for you, and you'll have to give them the money. Now, what's going to get interesting? Like I said, I think I might just sell my second pre-order, because my second pre-order, oh my God! But here is my problem. So my first one, they only offered 2 vehicles at the time when the Cybertruck was first pre-ordered, and that was the single and dual motor. That was it. That was the only option. Oh, starting. I got to update my feed. Give me one. Oh, there we go. I don't know if that's playing. Oh, you guys can hear that audio, correct, behind me? I am going to shrink this so you guys don't miss anything. There's not much to miss. We'll just put me in the center so it trips you out like you're on some weird acid trip. All right. There we go. Okay, so you guys are going to have to let me know if it's too overpowering, if you guys can still hear me with this going on in the background. Let me lower it a little bit. Let me put it to -6. Let me know how that is. Can you guys still hear me okay? Okay, so we're working the set. Okay, so as you can see, man, I'm so fucking excited. My hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shares, oh my, of Teslas that I'm holding on for a very long time. I'm going to hold on for probably till 2028, 2030. Yeah, this is so trippy. Let me lower this even just a little bit more so you can see just how trippy this is behind me. I don't know if you all plan to watch this with me on my stream and listen to the commentary or listen to it on your own. Definitely getting trippy as hell. Can't hear the other audio. Oh, you can't hear the other audio? I see it playing. I mean, it says it's playing the audio. You should be able to hear it. If not, let me know and I'll work on it while we're still doing this. Let me change some settings and see. Apple doesn't allow us to do this, so I'm trying to do a little work around here. Oh Jesus, that's volume is down low as hell, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to keep messing with some settings. When you guys hear it, let me know. Yeah, I'm working on this video behind me because what happens is Mac blocks it. So Andrew Murphy, we have a new subscriber. Well, welcome, Andrew Murphy. So I'm trying to get this. It's gonna be. I'm gonna cut this close as hell, aren't I? Well, we got 10 minutes, so I'll keep talking while I'm working on this in the background. So yeah, so the Cybertruck only had single motor and dual motor, so I had dual motor. So now it says I'm locked in on dual motor, which is why I made the second pre-order. When he announced the quad motor, like what was it, 6 months ago, sometime last year, well, it was a little more than 6 months ago now. It was the end of last year, and so I made a second pre-order this way I could get the quad motor. But now it's kind of like Jesus. I mean, like I'm so done. Like that would be like three or four Teslas in like 3 years, like 4 or 5 years, something like that. It's crazy. So yeah, so I mean, that's kind of why I did it. And I was like, oh, I'll just sell one. That was kind of my thought process of it. Okay, so I'm going through this again just so we know. Oh, did I not open the audio driver? Oh, Jesus. How dare I? Okay, so that's there. It's installed. So I have to use Black Hole to do this. But anyways, that's why I pre-ordered 2 of them. And, where's my MIDI setup here? But yeah, I mean, so I thought it made kind of sense to me. But now, you're talking about those quad motors, man. As long as they're like the first ones to come out, then I'll probably get that one and cancel my other one, my earlier one. If not, I'll have to do it the other way, right? We're going to have to see how everything plays out at this point. Let's see. Loop back audio. I don't have a loop back audio. I don't know where the hell that's talking about. We have to create loop back audio somehow. The output device. Oh, there we go. How about now? Can you guys hear it? I'm playing with some of the settings. How about now? Is it working now? If not, I have a couple other things I'm going to click real fast. Don't worry, I got apple juice number 2. Number 2. See, I don't have a way. I mean, I could test it if I went to the website. Hold on. Oh, I can't hear it. So there's no way I can tell. I need to rely on you guys. You still can't hear it? Not really? What does not really? Does that mean like you can kind of hear it or not at all? Is it faint? Is something coming through? Okay, but you are hearing it. That's okay. So at least we know you're hearing it. Hold on. I have something to work with now. Okay. So the volume's up all the way. You can, Andrew Murphy, you can hear the live stream behind me. Maybe everybody else needs to turn their volume. Right now there's no audio, so. Oh no, I'm talking about the music coming from the Tesla Live behind me. Okay, now there should be audio. Faint audio. The struggle is real, man. The struggle is real. All right, I'm cranking it up to 100. Screw it. Hopefully something comes out. Listen, worst case, I can crank up my TV. Trying to get this done in the next 6 minutes here. It's just not going to let me, bro. Let's see. What is this? What do we have here? Create multi. Check the box next to black hole, the built-in output. Oh, how about now? I didn't have the audio going through for some reason. All right. The music's down. Of course, the live stream's music's down, but I don't know if you could hear anything for a second there or not. All right, it's back right now. Technical difficulties. Anything? Damn it. Freaking Mac, always blocking everybody. Always got to try to find workarounds for everything. Oh, I got to turn drift off. Hold on, I got drift on. Oh, Jesus. This is all my fault. See, I don't have a loop back audio. That's interesting. It wants loop back. I don't have loop back. Right click on the multi output. There's no right click. Use this device for sound output. All right, how about now? Trying 50 different things here to get this going. Oh, it says it is now. Hold on. You guys should have audio now. I see it moving. You can hear the music now? Hopefully you can hear it. Okay, you hear the music now. Awesome. Is it too loud now? Too loud. All right, I got it working. Just in time. Look at that. It was fucking technical difficulties. This is probably what Elon and their engineers are doing right now, working on technical difficulties between the damn... between Optimus and the Cybertruck, bro. Everything good? Should I turn that? I'll turn the music down just a little bit. I have a God complex. I can't let Elon be louder than me. Good, I want to be louder than the music. my ego will crash if the music is louder than me. All right, sounds good. All right, glad we got all that figured out just in time, right? All right, so back to what I was saying. All right, so I got the Cybertruck when it was first open to pre-order. You had to choose between single and dual motor. I chose dual motor, obviously, because that was the best option at the time. Then he announced the tri and the quad motor, and then when those pre-orders came out, it basically, there's no option anymore, right? So I'm actually locked in on the original dual motor price. So this is where the conundrum comes into play. And I know Elon loves conundrums, so we're going to play one of Elon's favorite games while we're waiting. Conundrums, for people who don't know this. He loves conundrums. All right, so here's my conundrum. I stick with my dual motor and get locked in at the original price, regardless if the price goes up to, $70,000, $80,000, $90,000. I'm still locked in at $59,000 plus tax. Plus, obviously, any add-ons I get to it. I'm locked in by contract, okay? But my the second one is open because I wanted to lock it in on the quad motor because that's the fastest one. That's actually faster than my 3 Performance, which is insane. I smoked a Lamborghini in that damn thing. So imagine smoking a Lamborghini in a truck. Like, how embarrassing is that for people who own Lamborghinis? Yeah, sorry, guys. Lamborghinis and Ferraris are not prestigious anymore. Quad motor Cybertrucks all day long, baby. All right, so this is where it comes into play. However, I still believe this is kind of how I hope it's working out. So I hope that the quad motor comes out. I can get it locked in on quad motor. Quad motor, usually how they play this game is the higher performance models get made first. Like my Model 3 Performance, I got that thing in 3 months while the wait time for the extended range was 7 months, and the standard one was like a year, and then it was just like, it was kind of like whenever they have free time, they would make the standard Tesla. And that's how they do it with everything. So the way I still think that this is going to work out, I think the quad motors are going to get made first, then the tri, then the dual, then the single, which means even though I pre-ordered the dual on day one, I don't think we'll see the dual for another year after next summer. So I think what's going to happen is I'm going to have to use my second pre-order for the quad, use that, and then whenever the next, and then probably cancel the other one. Because at that point, it wouldn't make sense. Why would I want to wait? Because by the time that thing came out, it wouldn't be worth more money. It wouldn't be worth selling it. I mean, unless you're going to get to a backup of like, say, 3 to 4 years on the Cybertruck, which is possible, then I'll keep the second pre-order and sell it. Oh, we're getting started here. Oh, shit. I better move my... Oh, Optimus, baby. That's what I'm talking about. The countdown is real. All my shares are real. I'm slightly ahead of you guys up here. There's a little delay online. Fucking Optimus, bro. I need to turn my commentary down a little. Hold on.
All right, welcome everybody.
I'm going to let them be louder.
Let's give everyone a moment to get back in the audience. And welcome to Tesla AI Day. All right, great. Welcome to Tesla AI Day 2022. We've got some really exciting things to show you. I think you'll be pretty impressed. I do want to set some expectations with respect to
There's no pre-show this time. He just went right
Optimus
into
robot. As you know, last year it was just a person in a robot suit. But we've come a long way, and it's I think compared to that, it's going to be very impressive. We're going to talk about the advancements in AI for full self-driving, as well as how they apply to, more generally, to real-world AI problems like a humanoid robot, and even going beyond that. I think there's some potential that what we're doing here at Tesla could make a meaningful contribution to AGI. And I think actually Tesla's a good entity to do it from a governance standpoint, because we're a publicly traded company. We have one class of stock, and that means that the public controls Tesla, and I think that's actually a good thing. So if I go crazy, you can fire me. This is important. Maybe I've gone crazy. I don't know. So we're going to talk a lot about our progress in AI, autopilot, as well as the progress with Dojo, and then we're going to bring the team out and do a long Q&A, so you can ask tough questions, whatever you'd like, existential questions, technical questions, but we want to have as much time for Q&A as possible. So let's see, with that, you guys want to say anything?
Hey guys, I'm Milan. I work on Autopilot and the Tesla bot.
And I'm Lizzie, mechanical engineer on the project as well.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus. Just bring out
so
the bot, bro.
should we bring out the bot?
Before we do that, we have one little bonus tip for the day. This is actually the first time we try this robot without any
So when it starts
backup
murdering everybody in the
support,
audience,
trains, mechanical
we know who to blame, her.
mechanisms, no cables, nothing.
Yeah.
I want to do it with you guys tonight, but it's the first time, so let's see.
You ready?
Literally what everybody's been waiting for about 5 years. Without skin. Doesn't have any skin, obviously. Still sick as hell without the skin. Thing looks like it would murder about 10,000 people. You have to own a Tesla to get into the event. If you own a Tesla, they send out a email, and you have to respond within a certain amount of time, first come, first serve, based on who replies and when. Oh, look at that. It's like a fucking ninja. It's gonna murder you in your sleep, stealthy. How slick it is, waiting to murder everybody. It's like, hi, don't mind me. Just waiting for you to fall asleep. Choke you.
I think the bot got some moves too.
You know what would have made this really awkward if it was like old school Batman from the 90s and they put the fans like the nipple Batman suit.
So this is essentially the same full self-driving computer that runs in your Tesla cars, by the way.
He's just chill, bro.
This is literally the first time the robot has operated without a tether was on stage tonight.
Is it Mars walking? He's just so chill, dude. He looks so stealthy. It's like they made him to be very quiet. This way you don't, hear him coming. When he sneaks up behind you with the chloroform. She's looking at her face. She's like, don't fail, don't fail, don't fail, don't fail, don't fail, don't fail, don't fail. Look at her face. She's just like, ugh. Please don't fail. Please don't murder anybody. Please don't fail.
So the robot can actually do a lot more than we just showed you. We just didn't want it to fall on its face.
You could probably spray paint it
So
gold.
we'll show you some videos now of the robot doing a bunch of other things, which are less risky.
We should close the screen, guys.
So I think it's tethered in the video to the left, which is why they're... Oh, yeah, see above, it's still tethered.
Yeah, we wanted to show a little bit more what we've done over the past few months with the bot.
So that's what I mean.
And
That's
just
a
walking around and
ballsy
dancing
move
on
to
stage.
put it in front of the world, untethered for the
Just
first
humble
time.
beginnings, but you can see the autopilot neural networks.
Don't
running
mind
as
me. I'm
it's
going to
just
water your
retrained for
plant
the
so
bot,
I can gain your
directly
trust.
on that new
And then while you
platform.
sleep, I'll take this and
That's
waterboard
getting
you.
Yeah, when you see a rendered view, that's the robot. That's the world the robot sees.
Dude, how badass
so
is that?
It's
I can't wait for him to get that price
identifying
point down.
objects. Like this is the
Don't worry,
object
Elon's
that
not saying
pick up,
anything important.
Picking it up.
I'll shut up if he does.
Yeah.
I'm 5 seconds ahead. I know what he's saying. That's not even Elon.
We use the same process as we did for autopilot to collect data and train neural networks that we then deploy on the robot. That's an example that illustrates the upper
How
body
badass
a
is
little
that?
bit more.
Jesus.
And
Something
this
that
is
we'll
really-
try to nail down in a few months, over the next few months, I would say, to perfection.
This is really an actual station in the Fremont factory as well that it's working
Sweet.
on.
So that means our Cybertrucks are going to be built by Optimus, right? And the Gigapress.
And that's not the only thing we
She's
have
like,
to show
shit,
today,
should
right?
we have made that more entertaining?
So, what you saw was what we call Bumble C. That's our sort of rough development robot using semi-off-the-shelf actuators. But we actually have gone a step further
Sorry,
than that.
I'm cutting
already.
her
The
off.
team's done an incredible job. And we actually have an Optimus bot with fully Tesla-designed and built actuators, battery pack, control system,
I wasn't trying to cut
everything.
her off.
It wasn't quite ready to walk, but I think it will walk in a few weeks. But we wanted to show you the robot, something that's actually fairly close to what will go into production, and show you all the things.
Aw,
it can
they're
do.
not going to show the
So let's bring
Cybertruck
it
tonight?
out.
There's no way with the size of that stage we're seeing the Cybertruck
it.
tonight. This must be the whole night, just must be Optimus. Oh, there we go. Notice how they're all staying low and high. Like, okay, if it comes to life, murders us. It'll go for the crowd. We're too low. It can't grab us down here. Look, they're bringing more. These people aren't the engineers. These are actually security. This is actually Tesla security on stage just in case. Oh, see, look, they even got him tied down on a metal fucking pole.
Yeah. So here you're seeing Optimus with these are with the degrees of freedom that we expect to have in Optimus Production Unit 1, which is the ability to move all the fingers independently, move to have the thumb have 2
Trying to
degrees of
think,
freedom.
is that enough? Oh, it
so
is.
it has
Okay.
opposable
That's
thumbs
its main function.
and both left and right hand, so it's able to operate tools and do useful things. Our goal is to make a useful humanoid robot as quickly as possible. And we've also designed it using the same discipline that we use in designing the car, which is to design it for manufacturing such that it's possible to make the robot in high volume at low cost with high reliability. So that's incredibly important. I mean, you've all seen very impressive humanoid robot demonstrations, and that's great, but what are they missing? They're missing a brain. They don't have the intelligence to navigate the world by themselves. And they're also very expensive and made in low volume. Whereas Optimus is designed to be an extremely capable robot, but made in very high volume, probably ultimately millions of units, and it is expected to cost much less than a car.
We'll just bring it
So,
directly to the right here.
That was
I
my
would say
guess. I
probably
said
less than
20,000 was
$20,000
the
would be my
goal.
guess.
I know not many people are clapping, but that's a really big deal.
Okay.
People in California never understand anything, man.
The potential for Optimus is, I think,
Or get
appreciated
out of
by
here
very few
before
people.
it kills everybody.
As usual, Tesla demos are coming in hot. So,
That's good. That's good.
yeah. The team's the team has put in an incredible amount of work, working days, 7 days a week, burning the 3 a.m. oil to get to the demonstration today. Super proud of what they've done. They've really done a great job. I'd just like to give a hand to the whole Optimus team. So, now there's still a lot of work to be done to refine Optimus and improve it. Obviously, this is just Optimus version 1. And that's really why we're holding this event, which is to convince some of the most talented people in the world, like you guys,
That's a cool Optimus
join
shirt
Tesla
that she's wearing.
and help make it a reality.
I swear that's what I was looking at.
And bring it to fruition at scale such that it can help millions of people. And the potential, like I said, is really boggles the mind, because you have to say, like, what is an economy? An economy is sort of productive entities times their productivity, capita times output, productivity per capita. At the point at which there is not a limitation on capita, it's not clear what an economy even means at that point. An economy becomes quasi-infinite. So what taken to fruition in the hopefully benign scenario, this means a future of abundance, a future
Arnold's
where
scared. He's at home right now.
there is no poverty, where you can have whatever you want in terms of products and services.
It would have been pretty badass if Arnold
It
came
really
out
is
and introduced
a fundamental transformation
Optimus.
of civilization as we know it. Obviously, we want to make sure that transformation is a positive one and safe. But that's also why I think Tesla as an entity doing this, being a single class of stock, publicly traded, owned by the public, is very important and should not be overlooked. I think this is essential, because then if the public doesn't like what Tesla's doing, the public can buy shares in Tesla and vote differently. This is a big deal. It's very important that I can't just do what I want. Sometimes people think that, but it's not true. It's very important that the corporate entity that makes this happen is something that the public can properly influence. So I think the Tesla structure is ideal for that. And like I said, self-driving cars will certainly have a tremendous impact on the world. I think they will improve the productivity of transport by at least a half order of magnitude, perhaps an order of magnitude, perhaps more. Optimus, I think, has maybe a 2 order of magnitude potential improvement in economic output. It's not clear. It's not clear what the limit actually even is. But we need to do this in the right way. We need to do it carefully and safely.
I like how he's got
ensure that the outcome is
rodeo
one that is beneficial
Cybertruck belt
to,
buckle on.
Civilization and
Look at
and
Optimus.
one that humanity wants. This is also extremely important, obviously. So.
Look at Optimus right there.
And I hope you will consider
He's got the
joining
Texas
Tesla to
rodeo belt
achieve
buckle
those
on.
goals.
That's kind of funny. They're dressing him up.
At Tesla, we really care about doing the right thing here, or aspire to do the right thing, and really not pave the road to hell with good intentions. And I think the road to hell is mostly paved with bad intentions, but every now and again there's a good intention in there. So we want to do the right thing. So consider joining us and helping make it happen. With that, let's move on to the next phase.
Right on. Thank you, Elon. All right, so you've seen a couple robots today. Let's do a quick timeline recap. So last year we unveiled the Tesla Bot concept, but a concept doesn't get us very far. We knew we needed a real development and integration platform to get real-life learnings as quickly as possible. So that robot that came out and did the little routine for you guys, we had that within 6 months, built, working on software integration, hardware upgrades over the months since then. But in parallel, we've also been designing the next generation, this one over here. So this guy is rooted in the foundation of sort of the vehicle design process. You know, we're leveraging all of those learnings that we already have. Obviously, there's a lot that's changed since last year, but there's a few things that are still the same, you'll notice. We still have this really detailed focus on the true human form. We think that matters for a few reasons. But it's fun. We spend a lot of time thinking about how amazing the human body is. We have this incredible range of motion, typically really amazing strength. A fun exercise is if you put your fingertip on the chair in front of you, you'll notice that there's a huge range of motion that you have in your shoulder and your elbow, for example. Without moving your fingertip, you can move those joints all over the place. But the robot, you know, its main function is to do real useful work. And it maybe doesn't necessarily need all of those degrees of freedom right away. So we've stripped it down to a minimum sort of 28 fundamental degrees of freedom, and then, of course, our hands in addition to that. Humans are also pretty efficient at some things and not so efficient in other times. So, for example, we can eat a small amount of food to sustain ourselves for several hours. That's great. But when we're just kind of sitting around, no offense, but we're kind of inefficient. We're just sort of burning energy. So on the robot platform, what we're going to do is we're going to minimize that idle power consumption, drop it as low as possible. And that way we can just flip a switch and immediately the robot turns into something that does useful work. So let's talk about this latest generation in some detail, shall we? So on the screen here, you'll see in orange our actuators, which we'll get to in a little bit, and in blue our electrical system. So now that we have our sort of human-based research, and we have our first development platform, we have both research and execution to draw from for this design. Again, we're using that vehicle design foundation, so we're taking it from concept through design and analysis, and then build and validation. Along the way, we're going to optimize for things like cost and efficiency because those are critical metrics to take this product to scale eventually. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to reduce our part count and our power consumption of every element possible. We're going to do things like reduce the sensing and the wiring at our extremities. You can imagine a lot of mass in your hands and feet is going to be quite difficult and power consumptive to move around. And we're going to centralize both our power distribution and our compute to the physical center of the platform. So in the middle of our torso, actually it is the torso, we have our battery pack. This is sized at 2.3 kilowatt hours, which is perfect for about a full day's worth of work. What's really unique about this battery pack is it has all of the battery electronics integrated into a single PCB within the pack. So that means everything from sensing to fusing, charge management, and power distribution is all in one place. We're also leveraging both our vehicle products and our energy products to roll all of those key features into this battery. So that's streamlined manufacturing, really efficient and simple cooling methods, battery management, and also safety. And of course, we can leverage Tesla's existing infrastructure and supply chain to make it. So going on to sort of our brain, it's not in the head, but it's pretty close. Also in our torso, we have our central computer. So as you know, Tesla already ships full self-driving computers in every vehicle we produce. We want to leverage both the autopilot hardware and the software for the humanoid platform, but because it's different in requirements and in form factor, we're going to change a few things first. So we still are it's going to do everything that a human brain does, processing vision data, making split-second decisions based on multiple sensory inputs, and also communications. So to support communications, it's equipped with wireless connectivity as well as audio support. And then it also has hardware-level security features, which are important to protect both the robot and the people around the robot. So now that we have our sort of core, we're going to need some limbs on this guy. And we'd love to show you a
Safety
little bit about
features
our
to protect
actuators and
the
our fully
robot
functional
now.
hands.
When do those lines get
But
skewed?
before we do that, I'd like to
And it
introduce Malcolm.
thinks
who's
everything
gonna
is
speak a little bit
self-defense.
about our structural foundation.
Self-preservation. Where do those lines come into play?
Thank you, Lizzie. Tesla have the capabilities to analyze highly complex systems. They don't get much more complex than a crash. You can see here a simulated crash from Model 3 superimposed on top of the actual physical crash. It's actually incredible how accurate it is. Just to give you an idea of the complexity of this model, it includes every nut, bolt, and washer, every spot weld, and it has 35 million degrees of freedom. It's quite amazing. And it's true to say that if we didn't have models like this, we wouldn't be able to make the safest cars in the world. So can we utilize our capabilities and our methods from the automotive side to influence a robot? Well, we can make a model, and since we had crash software, we're using the same software here, we can make it fall down. And the purpose of this is to make sure that if it falls down...
So if it falls down, make sure it doesn't get pissed off and murder anybody that's near it.
Superficial damage.
Got it.
We don't want it to,
Translation.
for example, break its gearbox and its arms. That's equivalent of a dislocated shoulder of a robot. Difficult and expensive to fix. So we wanted to dust itself off, get on with the job it's been given. We can also take the same model and we can drive the actuators using the inputs from a previously solved model, bringing it to life. So this is producing the motions for the tasks we want the robot to do. These tasks are picking up boxes, turning, squatting, walking upstairs. Whatever the set of tasks are, we can play to the model. This is
What I
showing just
noticed
simple
when it was
walking.
out on the stage
We can
too, it's
create the
very
stresses
shaky.
in all the components. That helps us
Almost
to
like it's
optimize
like
the components.
jonesing for a fix.
These are not dancing robots.
It's its hands.
These
are
are
like
actually the modal
consistently
behavior, the first
shaking.
5
It's like
modes
there's no
of the robot.
vibration
And
absorbance.
typically, when people make robots,
Well, like
they make
something needs
sure
to
the
be kind of
first mode
tightened and
is up around the
some
top single figures, up
thicker
towards
piece
10
of
hertz.
polyurethane or
The
something
reason to do
to
this
fucking absorb
is to
it.
make
so
the
it's not.
controls of walking easier. It's very difficult to walk if you can't guarantee where your foot is wobbling around.
Got twitchy hands.
That's okay if you make one robot. We want to make thousands, maybe millions. We haven't got the luxury of making them from carbon fiber and titanium. We want to make them from plastic. Things are not quite so stiff. So we can't have these high targets. I call them dumb targets. We've got to make them work at lower targets. So is that going to work? Well, if you think about it, sorry about this, but we're just bags of soggy jelly and bones thrown in. We're not high frequency. If I stand on my leg, I don't vibrate at 10 hertz. People operate at low frequency, so we know the robot actually can. It just makes controls harder. So we take the information from this, the modal data and the stiffness, and feed that into the control system. That allows it to walk. Just changing tack slightly, looking at the knee. We can take some inspiration from biology, and we can look to see what the mechanical advantage of the knee is. It turns out it actually represents quite similar to 4-bar link, and that's quite non-linear. That's not surprising, really, because if you think when you bend your leg down, the torque on your knee is much more when it's bent than it is when it's straight. So you'd expect a non-linear function. And in fact, the biology is non-linear. This matches it quite accurately. So that's a representation. The 4-bar link is obviously not physically a 4-bar link. As I said, the characteristics are similar. But me bending down, that's not very scientific. Let's be a bit more scientific. We've played all the tasks through this graph. And this is showing picking things up, walking, squatting, the tasks I said we did on the stress. And that's the torque seen at the knee against the knee bend on the horizontal axis. This is showing the requirement for the knee to do all these tasks. I've then put a curve through it, surfing over the top of the peaks, and that's saying this is what's required to make the robot do these tasks. So if we look at the 4-bar link, that's actually the green curve, and it's saying that the non-linearity of the 4-bar link has actually linearized the characteristic of the force. What that really says is that's lowered the force. That's what makes the actuator have the lowest possible force, which is the most efficient. We want to burn energy up slowly. What's the blue curve? Well, the blue curve is actually, if we didn't have a 4-bar link, we just had an arm sticking out of my leg here with an actuator on it, a simple 2-bar link. That's the best we could do with a simple 2-bar link. And it shows that that would create much more force in the actuator. which would not be efficient. So what's that look like in practice? Well, as you'll see, it's very tightly packaged in the knee. You'll see it go transparent in a second. You'll see the 4-bar link there. It's operating on the actuator. This is determining the force and the displacements on the actuator. I'll now pass you over to Konstantinos, who'll tell you a lot more detail about how these actuators are made and designed and optimized. Thank you.
Thank you, Malcolm. So I would like to talk to you about the design process and the actuator portfolio in our robot. So there are many similarities between a car and a robot when it comes to powertrain design. The most important thing that matters here is energy, mass, and cost. We are carrying over most of our designing experience from the car to the robot. So in the particular case, you see a car with 2 drive units. And the drive units are used in order to accelerate the car 0 to 60 miles per hour time or drive a city drive cycle. While the robot that has 28 actuators, it's not obvious what are the tasks at actuator level. So we have tasks that are higher level, like walking or climbing stairs or carrying a heavy object, which need to be translated into joint specs. Therefore, we use our model that generates the torque speed trajectories for our joints, which subsequently is going to be fed in our optimization model to run through the optimization process. This is one of the scenarios that the robot is capable of doing, which is turning and walking. So when we have this torque speed trajectory, we lay it over an efficiency map of an actuator, and we are able, along the trajectory, to generate the power consumption and the energy, cumulative energy for the task versus time. So this allows us to define the system cost for the particular actuator and put a simple point into the cloud. Then we do this for hundreds of thousands of actuators by solving in our cluster. And the red line denotes the Pareto front, which is the preferred area where we will look for our optimal. So the X denotes the preferred actuator design we have picked for this particular joint. So now we need to do this for every joint. We have 28 joints to optimize, and we parse our cloud. We parse our cloud, again, for every joint spec, and the red axis this time denote the bespoke actuator designs for every joint. The problem here is that we have too many unique actuator designs, and even if we take advantage of the symmetry, still there are too many. In order to make something mass manufacturable, we need to be able to reduce the amount of unique actuator designs. Therefore, we run something called commonality study, which we parse our cloud again, looking this time for actuators that simultaneously meet the joint performance requirements for more than one joint at the same time. So the resulting portfolio is 6 actuators, and they show in a color map at the middle figure. And the actuators can be also viewed in this slide. We have 3 rotary and 3 linear actuators, all of which have a great output force or torque per mass. The rotary actuator in particular has a mechanical clutch integrated on the high-speed side angular contact ball bearing, and on the high-speed side and on the low-speed side a cross-roller bearing, and the gear train is a strain wave gear. There are 3 integrated sensors here and a bespoke permanent magnet machine. The linear actuator The linear actuator has planetary rollers and an inverted planetary screw as a gear train, which allows efficiency and compaction and durability. So in order to demonstrate the force capability of our linear actuators, we have set up an experiment in order to test it under its limits. And I will let you enjoy the video. So our actuator is able to lift So our actuator is able to lift
I think he forgot his lines.
a half-ton, 9-foot concert grand piano. And
That's a lot.
this is a requirement. It's not
1,000
something nice to
pounds.
have, because our muscles can do the same when they are direct driven. When they are directly driven, our quadricep muscles can do the same thing. It's just that the knee is an up-gearing linkage system that converts the force into velocity at the end effector of our heels for purposes of giving to the human body agility. So this is one of the main things that are amazing about the human body. And I'm concluding my part at this point, and I would like to welcome my colleague Mike, who's going to talk to you about hand design. Thank you very
I'm
much.
just waiting for the Cybertruck, bro. I figure we're not going to see
Thanks,
Cybertruck
Constantinos.
tonight.
So we just saw how powerful a
I
human
think
and a
we got
humanoid
the
actuator can
solid
be.
foundation of Optimus
However,
down.
humans are also incredibly dexterous. The human hand has the ability to move at 300 degrees per second. It has tens of thousands of tactile sensors. And it has the ability to grasp and manipulate almost every object in our daily lives. For our robotic hand design, we were inspired by biology. We have 5 fingers and an opposable thumb. Our fingers are driven by metallic tendons that are both flexible and strong. We have the ability to complete wide aperture power grasps while also being optimized for precision gripping of small, thin, and delicate objects.
Look, I'm just trying to find an Optimus
So why a
fucking shirt
human-like
right
robotic
now.
hand? Well, the main reason is that our factories and the world around us is designed to be ergonomic. So what that means is that it ensures that objects in our factory are graspable, but it also ensures that new objects that we may have never seen before can be grasped by the human hand and by our robotic hand as well. The converse there is pretty interesting because it's saying that these objects are designed to our hand instead of having to make changes to our hand to accompany a new object. Some basic stats about our hand is that it has 6 actuators and 11 degrees of freedom. It has an in-hand controller, which drives the fingers and receives sensor feedback. Sensor feedback is really important to learn a little bit more about the objects that we're grasping, and also for proprioception. And that's the ability for us to recognize where our hand is in space. One of the important aspects of our hand is that it's adaptive. This adaptability is involved, essentially has complex mechanisms that allow the hand to adapt to the objects that's being grasped. Another important part is that we have a non-back drivable finger drive. This clutching mechanism allows us to hold and transport objects without having to turn on the hand motors. You just heard how we went about designing the Tesla bot hardware. Now I'll hand it off to Milan and our autonomy team to bring this robot to life.
Thanks, Mike. All right. So all those cool things we've shown earlier in the video were possible just in a matter of a few months, thanks to the amazing work that we've done on Autopilot over the past few years. Most of those components ported quite easily over to the bot's environment. If you think about it, we're just moving from a robot on wheels to a robot on legs. So some of the components are pretty similar, and some other require more heavy lifting. So for example, our computer vision neural networks were ported directly from Autopilot to the bot's situation. It's exactly the same occupancy network that we'll talk into a little bit more details later with the Autopilot team that is now running on the bot here in this video. The only thing that changed really is the training data that we had to recollect. We're also trying to find ways to improve those occupancy networks using work made on neural radiance fields to get really great volumetric rendering of the bot's environments. For example, here, some machinery that the bot might have to interact with. Another interesting problem to think about is, in indoor environments, mostly with absence of GPS signal, how do you get the bot to navigate to its destination? Say, for instance, to find its nearest charging station. So we've been training more neural networks to identify high-frequency features, key points within the bot's camera streams, and track them across frames over time as the bot navigates through its environment. And we're using those points to get a better estimate of the bot's pose and trajectory within its environment as it's walking. We also did quite some work on the simulation side. And this is literally the autopilot simulator, to which we've integrated the robot's locomotion code. And this is a video of the motion control code running in the autopilot simulator, showing the evolution of the robot's walk over time. And so as you can see, we started quite slowly in April and started accelerating as we unlock more joints and deploy more advanced techniques like arms balancing over the past few months. And so locomotion is specifically one component that's very different
He looks like he's up to
as we're
something
moving
the
from
way
the
he
car to the
walks.
bot's environment.
Sounds suspicious
So I
going
think it
on with
warrants
this
a little
thing.
bit more depth, and I'd like my colleagues to start talking about this now.
Thank you, Milan. Hi, everyone. I'm Felix. I'm a robotics engineer on the project, and I'm going to talk about walking. Walking seems easy, right? People do it every day. We don't even have to think about it. But there are some aspects of walking which are challenging from an engineering perspective. For example, physical self-awareness. That means having a good representation of yourself. What is the length of your limbs? What is the mass of your limbs? What is the size of your feet? All that matters. Also, having an energy-efficient gait. You can imagine there's different styles of walking, and not all of them are equally efficient. Most important, keep balance, don't fall. And of course, also coordinate the motion of all of your limbs together. So now, humans do all of this naturally, but as engineers or roboticists, we have to think about these problems. And in the following, I'm going to show you how we address them in our locomotion planning and control stack. So we start with locomotion planning and our representation of the bot. That means a model of the robot's kinematics, dynamics, and the contact properties. And using that model and the desired path for the bot, our locomotion planner generates reference trajectories for the entire system. This means feasible trajectories with respect to the assumptions of our model. The planner currently works in 3 stages. It starts planning footsteps and ends with the entire motion for the system. And let's dive a little bit deeper in how this works. So in this video, we see footsteps being planned over a planning horizon, following the desired path. And we start from this and add then foot trajectories that connect these footsteps using toe-off and heel strike just as humans do. And this gives us a larger stride and less knee bend for high efficiency of the system. The last stage is then finding a center of mass trajectory, which gives us a dynamically feasible motion of the entire system to keep balance. As we all know, plans are good, but we also have to realize them in reality. Let's see how we can do this.
Thank you, Felix. Hello, everyone. My name is Anand, and I'm going to talk to you about controls. So let's take the motion plan that Felix just talked about and put it in the real world on a real robot. Let's see what happens. Takes a couple steps and falls down. Well, that's a little disappointing. But we are missing a few key pieces here, which will make it walk. Now, as Felix mentioned, the motion planner is using an idealized version of itself and a version of reality around it. This is not exactly correct. It also expresses its intention through trajectories and wrenches. Wrenches are forces and torques that it wants to exert on the world to locomote. Reality is way more complex than any sim or model. Also, the robot is not simplified. It's got vibrations and modes, compliance, sensor noise, and on and on and on. So what does that do to the real world when you put the bot in the real world? Well, the unexpected forces cause unmodeled dynamics, which essentially the planner doesn't know about, and that causes destabilization, especially for a system that is dynamically stable like biped locomotion. So what can we do about it? Well, we measure reality. We use sensors and our understanding of the world to do state estimation. And here you can see the attitude and pelvis pose, which is essentially the vestibular system in a human, along with the center of mass trajectory being tracked when the robot's walking in the office environment. Now we have all the pieces we need in order to close the loop. So we use our better bot model. We use the understanding of reality that we've gained through state estimation, and we compare what we want versus what we expect that reality is doing to us in order to add corrections to the behavior of the robot. Here, the robot certainly doesn't appreciate being poked, but it does an admirable job of staying upright. The final point here is a robot that walks is not enough. We need it to use its hands and arms to be useful. Let's talk about manipulation.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric, robotics engineer on TeslaBot, and I want to talk about how we've made the robot manipulate things in the real world. We wanted to manipulate objects while looking as natural as possible, and also get there quickly. So what we've done is we've broken this process down into 2 steps. First is generating a library of natural motion references, or we could call them demonstrations. And then we've adapted these motion references online to the current real-world situation. So let's say we have a human demonstration of picking up an object. We can get a motion capture of that demonstration, which is visualized right here as a bunch of keyframes representing the locations of the hands, the elbows, the torso. We can map that to the robot using inverse kinematics. And if we collect a lot of these, now we have a library that we can work with. But a single demonstration is not generalizable to the variation in the real world. For instance, this would only work for a box in a very particular location. So what we've also done is run these reference trajectories through a trajectory optimization program, which solves for where the hand should be, how the robot should balance during when it needs to adapt the motion to the real world. So for instance, if the box is in this location, then our optimizer will create this trajectory instead. Next, Milan's going to talk about what's next for the Optimus, Tesla bot. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. Right, so hopefully by now you guys got a good idea of what we've been up to over the past few months. We started having something that's usable, but it's far from being useful. There's still a long and exciting road ahead of us. I think the first thing within the next few weeks is to get Optimus at least at par with Bumble C, the other bot prototype you saw earlier, and probably beyond. We're also going to start focusing on the real use case at one of our factories, and really going to try to nail this down and iron out all the elements needed to deploy this product in the real world. I was mentioning earlier, indoor navigation, graceful fall management, or even servicing, all components needed to scale this product up. But I don't know about you, but after seeing what we've shown tonight, I'm pretty sure we can get this done within the next few months or years and make this product a reality and change the entire economy. So I would like to thank the entire Optimus team for all their hard work over the past few months. I think it's pretty amazing. All of this was done in barely 6 or 8 months.
Up to 3 year
Thank you very
time
much.
frame. It's probably closer to 4.
Hey everyone. Hi, I'm Ashok. I lead the Autopilot team alongside Milan. God, it's going to be so hard to top that Optimus section. We'll try nonetheless. Anyway, every Tesla that has been built over the last several years, we think has the hardware to make the car drive itself. We have been working on the software to add higher and higher levels of autonomy. This time around last year, we had roughly 2,000 cars driving our FSD beta software. Since then, we have significantly improved the software's robustness and capability that we have now shipped it to 160,000 customers as of today. Thank you. This did not come for free. It came from the sweat and blood of the engineering team over the last 1 year. For example, we trained 75,000 neural network models just last 1 year. That's roughly a model every 8 minutes. That's coming out of the team, and then we evaluate them on our large clusters, and then we ship 281 of those models that actually improve the performance of the car. And this pace of innovation is happening throughout the stack. The planning software, the infrastructure, the tools, even hiring, everything is progressing to the next level.
Insanely hard to get into. You basically
The
have to
FSD beta
spend
software is quite capable of
$90,000
driving
on
the
your car
car.
just to drive it like an old lady.
You should be able to
And you have to
navigate
drive
from
it like an
parking
old
lot
lady
to
for over
parking lot,
100 miles.
handling
Hopefully
city
nobody
street
cuts
driving,
you off.
stopping for traffic lights and stop signs, negotiating with
your
objects
point
at
score.
intersections, making turns,
You
and
have to
so on.
maintain higher than a 96 for more than 100 miles, and then hopefully they'll let you in.
All of this comes from the
They lowered it to 80
camera
only
streams
because I think
that
they're
go
getting
through our
ready to
neural
release
networks that
full
run
self-drive.
on the car itself. It's not coming back to the server or anything. It runs on the car and produces all the
Within the
outputs
next few
to
months.
form the world model around the car, and the planning software drives the car based on that. Today, we'll go into a lot of the components that make up the system. The occupancy network acts as the base geometry layer of the system. This is a multi-camera video neural network that from the images predicts the full physical occupancy of the world around the robot. So anything that's physically present, trees, walls, buildings, cars, balls, what have you, it predicts, if it's physically present, it predicts them along with their future motion. On top of this base level of geometry, we have more semantic layers. In order to navigate the roadways, we need the lanes, of course. But then the roadways have lots of different lanes, and they connect in all kinds of ways. So it's actually
Well, it's really
difficult
interesting. Even if you put the car in
for
self-drive or
typical computer vision
autopilot,
techniques to predict the set of
the
lanes and
autopilot
connectivities.
score
So we
comes
reached
out to
all the
like
way into
76.
technologies,
Even
and then
autopilot
pull the
can't
state-of-the-art
keep
from
your
other
score high enough.
domains and not just computer vision
I
to make
didn't
this
spend that
task
much money on
possible.
that type of car to go slow. It's the most
For
ridiculous
vehicles, we
thing
need
I've
that
ever
full
heard of. The
kinematic
reason why
state
people in
with
Bugattis
control
go
for them.
slow is because they can't go fast because it sits
All of this
less than a
directly
quarter of an
comes
inch
from
off
neural
the
networks.
ground. If they hit the
Video
wrong
streams, raw
thing
video streams
on the
come from
wrong
the
angle
networks,
incorrectly, it
go through
scratches
a lot
the
of
entire
processing,
bottom
then
of the car.
outputs the
So
full
they have no
kinematic
choice
state,
but to
like
drive it
positions,
slow.
velocities, acceleration,
Bugattis are
jerk,
a waste of
all
money.
of that directly comes out of the networks with minimal post-processing. That's really fascinating to me because how is this even possible? What world do we live in?
They're
where this
nice, don't
magic
get me
is
wrong, I'm not
possible?
saying they're
And
ugly.
These
I
networks
just think-
predict
I just
fourth
don't-
derivatives of these positions, and people thought we couldn't even detect these objects.
I like my Tesla way too much. And I have no intention of
My
wasting
opinion is that it did not come for free.
tens of thousands of dollars
It-
a month
it
on
required
insurance
tons
between
of data,
Bugattis
so we
and
had to build
Teslas.
sophisticated auto-labeling systems that churn through raw sensor data, run a ton of offline compute on the servers. It can take a few hours, run expensive neural networks, distill the information into labels that
Was this
train
kind of like an
our
FU
in-car
from
neural
Elon
networks.
for the Optimus to wear
On
the
top of this, we
Texas
also use our simulation
Gigafactory
system to synthetically create images.
belt buckle
And
in
since it's
California?
simulation, we trivially have
Is that
all
kind
the
of his
labels.
FU to California? That's what I'm seeing.
All of this goes through a well-oiled data engine pipeline where we first train a baseline model with some data, ship it to the car, see what the failures are. And once we know the failures, we mine the fleet for the cases where it fails, provide the correct labels, and add the data to the training set. This process systematically fixes the issues. And we do this for every task that runs in the car.
Yeah, and to train these new massive neural networks, this year we expanded our training infrastructure by roughly 40 to 50%. So that sits us at about 14,000 GPUs today across multiple training clusters in the United States. We also worked on our AI compiler, which now supports new operations needed by those neural networks and map them to the best of our underlying hardware resources. And our inference engine today is capable of distributing the execution of a single neural network across two independent system on chips, essentially two independent computers interconnected within the same full self-driving computer. And to make this possible, we had to keep a tight control on the end-to-end latency of this new system. So we deployed more advanced scheduling code across the full FSD platform.
All of these neural networks running in the car together produce the vector space, which is again the model of the world around the robot or the car. And then the planning system operates on top of this, coming up with trajectories that avoid collisions, are smooth, make progress towards the destination, using a combination of model-based optimization plus neural network that helps optimize it to be really fast. Today, we are really excited to present progress on all of these areas. We have the engineering leads standing by.
I feel like they're giving away way too much on how everything works. This thing better
not
be
just
patented
the car,
out the ass
but the same
50,000 times
also run on the Optimus robot
because,
that
man, they
Miran
are
showed
telling
earlier.
way too much fucking
With that,
information
I welcome
to
Parley to
competitors.
start talking about the planning section.
Way too much. I understand Elon said in the beginning the reason why he wants to go so in depth is to bring in the most intelligent people in the world in robotics.
Use this intersection scenario to dive
But man,
straight
there's
into
a
how we do the
fine
planning and
line
decision-making in
between
Autopilot.
that,
So we
what
are
he's
approaching
looking
this
to
intersection
do.
from a side street, and we have the yield to all the crossing vehicles. Right as we are about
Giving
to
away
enter the
too much
intersection,
to the competitors.
the pedestrian on the other side of the intersection decides to cross the road without a crosswalk. Now, we need to yield to this pedestrian, yield to the vehicles from the right, and also understand the relation between the pedestrian and the vehicle on the other side of the intersection. So a lot of these
I
intra-object
do need to make
dependencies
two
that we
people
need to resolve in a quick
moderators, though, don't I?
And humans are
While
really
they're
good
in
at
here.
this. We look at a scene, understand all the possible interactions, evaluate the most promising ones, and generally end up choosing a reasonable one.
Hey, BH
So
and
let's look at
Stat,
a
are
few
you
of these
in here?
interactions that autopilot system evaluated. We could have gone in front of this
So
pedestrian.
here's the
with a
thing.
very aggressive
Why the
lateral
hell? These cars,
profile.
first of all, your car should not
Now,
be
obviously, we
swerving
are
and
being a jerk to the
harming
pedestrian,
the
and we
people
will
inside the
spook the
car.
pedestrian and
If
his
you look at
future.
this image, if you are stupid enough to
have
walk out in the
moved
middle of
forward slowly,
traffic, you fucking get
short
ran
for a
over. I'm
gap
sorry, you
between
should
the
get ran over.
pedestrian
As a
and
matter
the
of fact, in
vehicle from the right.
Florida, the
Again, we
vehicles
are being
actually
a
have
jerk
the
to
right of
the
way.
vehicle
If you
from the
walk
right,
out
but you should
into
not
the middle of the
outright
street and a
reject
car
this
hits you,
interaction
you're at fault
in
for
case
walking
this is
out.
only safe
Florida law
interaction
actually
available.
states that automobiles have the right of way unless you are in a
Lastly,
crosswalk
the
and that
interaction we
said
ended up
crosswalk
choosing.
gives you the right to go.
Stay slow
Now, if you're
initially,
talking about things
find
like
the
in front of a
reasonable gap,
grocery store,
and then finish
you
the
actually
maneuver
have to
after all
be
the
in the
agents
middle of that said crosswalk, and you can't rush into the middle of it.
evaluation of all of
You
these
have to
interactions
enter the
is not
crosswalk,
trivial.
giving the driver of the
Especially when you
automobile
care about
enough time
modeling
to
the higher order
stop
derivatives
properly
for
and
other
safely.
agents.
Otherwise, you were in the
For
right,
example,
you were in the wrong.
what
So
is
all
the
you people
longitudinal
that think you
jerk
can just
required
walk
by
out in front of
vehicle
cars at the
coming from
grocery
right
store
when you assert in front of it?
and you get ran over, you're actually at
Relying
fault in
purely on
Florida.
collision checks and
Anyways,
modular
I know
predictions
Florida law in
will
and out.
only
I
get you
don't.
so far, because
I
you
don't
will miss
study
out on a lot
every
of valid
state law, but I study Florida law for fun.
This basically boils down
And it's
to
absolutely
solving
ridiculous.
the multi-agent joint trajectory planning problem.
Like, so what we're looking
over
at
the
here is
trajectories
like,
of
oh,
ego
so
and
the
all
instance
other
of
agents.
going around people, man, screw these sons of bitches.
Now, how
Run them
much are
over
we
and mark it
optimized?
down as
There's
10,000
going to be a
points.
limit to how fast you can
Not
run
to
this
be a
optimization
dick, but-
problem. It will be close to order of 10 milliseconds, even after a lot
Clearly,
of
the guy's
incremental-
suicidal in this
Now, for a typical crowded, unprotected lift,
CGI
say you have
composite
more than
here.
20 objects.
I'm sorry,
each
bro,
object
but
having
look,
multiple
he's
different feature
literally,
modes.
that Model
The
S
number
is
of relevant
literally
interaction combinations
endangering
will blow up.
himself, his kids, everybody in that car by cutting the car off to the right
the planner
because
needs
this
to make a
asshole
decision
walks out
every
in front of
50 milliseconds.
everybody. Man,
How do we
screw him.
solve
I'm
this
not
in real time?
endangering my kids. You walk out in front of my car, I will run
We
you
rely on
over
a
before I
framework what we
damage
call
my
as
car and my
interaction
kids
search,
every fucking
which
time.
is basically a parallelized
When it comes
research
down
over a
to
bunch
it.
of maneuver
I don't
trajectories.
care what you have to say about it, man. If you're
The
dumb enough to
state
walk
space
out
here
in front of
that
my
responds
car,
to the kinematic state of ego, the kinematic state of other agents, the
then you're
nominal
dumb enough to
feature
get ran over.
multimodal
I
prediction,
should make a shirt.
all the static entities in the scene.
You're dumb enough to walk out in front of a car. You're dumb enough to die.
The action space is where things get interesting. We use a set of
Oh,
maneuver
BH
detection
already is a
candidates
moderator.
to branch over a bunch of interaction decisions.
Martin, is that Stat?
And
Martin,
also
okay, I'm going to
implemented
add.
goals for a
Martin,
longer
I'll add
horizon
you
maneuver.
as a.
Let's walk through this research
What's the
very
matter? Go
quickly
back to
to
your
get a sense of
composite.
it
How
works.
stupid that CGI
We
sequence
start
was.
with a set of vision measurements.
Look how
namely
you notice how
lanes,
slow that guy was
occupancy,
walking too. He's
moving
like,
objects.
how fucking titled
These
is
get
this guy?
represented as sparse abstractions,
Taking his time
as well as
crossing
graded
heavy
features.
traffic, endangering everybody's life.
We use
Somebody
this to
take
create
this
a set of
asshole
goal
out before he
candidates.
endangers a child in a
Lanes,
car.
again, from the lanes network, or unstructured regions which correspond to a probability mask.
I always saw
derived
people
from
complain
human
about this.
demonstration.
Oh man, my car slammed.
Once we have a
wasn't
bunch of these
maneuvering
goal
properly when
candidates,
somebody
we create
jumped
three
out in front of the
trajectories
car.
using a
Quick, we need
combination
to.
of
This is where
optimization
California's
approaches,
lawsuit comes
as
into
well as
play,
our
just so
network
you know.
planner, again, trained on
Because somebody
data from
jumps
the
out in
network.
front of a car while it's going 45 miles an hour. This
Now,
is
once we get a
Tesla's
bunch
fault.
of
No,
these
this is the
three
idiot's
trajectories,
fault for jumping out in
we
front of the
use them
car.
to
You jump out in
start
front of a car going
branching on the
45, you deserve to
interaction.
die. I'm sorry, that's just
find
a
the most
fact. If you
critical
don't like that,
interaction.
I really don't care.
In our
Facts
case,
don't
this
care
is
about
the
your feelings,
interaction
brother.
with respect to the
It's
pedestrian,
sister.
whether we assert in front of it or yield
Not
to it.
playing this game.
Obviously,
Walk out in
the
front of my
option on the
Tesla. Watch how fast
the
I
high
run you
penalty
over. I am not
option.
slamming
It
on my
likely
brakes.
won't
I am
get
not.
penalized.
Listen, if you
we
are
branch
stupid
further
enough to
onto the
walk
option
out
on
in front of
the
a car
right. That's where we
in the
bring
middle of
in
an
more and more
intersection
complex
in
interactions.
traffic like that when I'm
Building
going
this
like 50 plus
optimization
miles an hour,
problem
my
incrementally
kids in the
is
car,
more and more
I am not risking my kids. I'm not even going
And
to
the pizza
risk
keeps
them
flowing,
even
branching on more
lightly
interactions,
spraining their neck.
branching on more
I
goals.
will not risk
Now, a lot of
my
tricks
fucking
here
Pirelli
lie in
tires
evaluation
on
of
your
each
ass.
of this
Sit
node
your
of
ass
features.
on the sidewalk, find the proper place to cross,
Inside
and
each
do
node,
so.
Initially, we started
I'm
with
sorry, but when
creating
somebody
trajectories
does that, my
using
Pirelli
optimal
tires are
approaches,
more fucking
where
important
the
than somebody
constraints
dumb
like I
enough to do
described
that.
would be
Let's
added
be real.
incrementally.
And yes, you can see how much I don't
This
like
would
this
take
shit.
close to 1 to 5 milliseconds.
True story.
per
While
action.
this guy is boring you all to death, it's
Now, even though
entertaining
this
for
is
me because
fairly
I
good
love
number,
I love their
when you want to
diagrams
evaluate
and
more than 100+ interactions,
the
this
actual
is not
inner
cheap.
workings of everything. I like to
So we
take things
ended up
apart,
building
but
lightweight
I can
tunable
pay
networks
attention and talk at the
that
same
you
time.
can
But true
run in the
story.
loop of the planet.
I was actually driving through a
These
Publix, which is a
networks are
grocery
trained
store.
on
Those of
human
you that are not in
demonstrations from
Florida,
the fleet,
in the
as
state of
well as
Florida,
offline solvers
and I was
with relaxed
driving.
time limits.
And I was going,
With
man.
this,
It was
we were
raining. This
able to
guy,
bring the
and I'm going here.
runtime down to
There's no
close to
crosswalk. The
100
crosswalk's like
microseconds per
fucking
action.
like if this is the truck, if this is the car right here, this is the person. Like he's like right here. He's back here.
Now,
I'm already here. He comes walking out like this, that fast in front of me. I didn't stop, and he had to jump out of the way. And then he literally walked up near me. Didn't come up on me. Nobody comes up on me in person because in real life, apparently, I have what's called, according to my ex, resting serial killer face. That's what she calls it. It doesn't really play off on. I laugh a lot when I talk to people I know, but my normal face, I guess, is evil. Don't ask. I don't know. It's just natural. And so he kept the distance. When he said something, I schooled him on the law. Florida law, and he doesn't have the right of way. I literally told him to his face, I said, look, clearly mommy and daddy didn't teach you to walk or to look both ways before crossing, and they should have done that, especially in the state of Florida. Are you from Florida? He said, yeah. I said, well, you should know the law in Florida. You cannot just walk out in front of a car. If they run you over, if I hit you there, you're in the wrong. I am not. If you don't believe me, you can pull up Florida law right now and go over it together. He walked away, but no, I'm sorry. I have, okay, so I like everybody for the most part. The thing I don't like are dumb people. I'm sorry, I know it's an awful thing to say. People are going to want to cancel me. Cancel culture, I already know it's coming. I don't like dumb people. I don't. It's like if somebody walks out in front of my fucking expensive ass car, my children's car, I'm not risking a seatbelt damaging their chest, their stomach, anything. I'm sorry, you're going to take the fucking hit of this steel coming at you, brother. And let me tell you, Tesla is not just aluminum. It is reinforced fucking steel. This is why people who take dents out of Teslas love it, because it takes a while, but it doesn't crack the paint, doesn't damage the paint, because regardless of what people want to tell you, the paint, the upgraded paint on Tesla, like the one that I paid for, the blue and the red, are actually really good paint. They're like double, triple layered paint. And if you talk to anybody who's taken dents out of Teslas, they'll tell you how great that paint is. People really don't understand that. So I'm sorry. I'll be honest. I'm not going to lie to you. You walk out in front of my car. I'm not. It's just so you all have my perspective. I actually have gone out on these calls. My mom's ex was actually the chief firefighter. I'm not going to say of where. Of a very big city.
Hey guys,
and I've gone out on a couple of calls on accidents. Yes, not legal. That's why I'm not going to name names or cities. But I did go with him. And let me tell you, I saw just as many people die from seatbelts as it has saved them. Let me tell you, seatbelts is not a guarantee, and it will kill you just as much as save you depending on that accident. Now, this is where Tesla's genius comes into play. A lot of people don't own a Tesla, don't know this. Even a lot of people who own Teslas don't know this. They came out with an update about 3 to 4 months ago, and the seatbelt, based on where you get hit and how the speed and the angle and how you're hit, the seatbelt will actually loosen itself to certain degrees to allow, so for instance, things I saw where the seatbelt killed people was it actually slit their throat, crushed their chest cavity, slit their stomach wide open, and yes, I'm not going to give you details, but you can imagine, slit it wide open. Now to play devil's advocate, I've seen people's faces get scraped off of the glass as well, but it actually adjusts. Teslas actually adjust the seatbelt slack to prevent it from crushing your chest or slitting your throat or your stomach. or killing you. It
flow
will,
is also
it will
predicted
reduce it.
for
Now, it's a major
Since
thing.
the model is a
Because seatbelts that
generalized
just lock
network,
up to
it
lock
does not
up,
tell
you have a
static and
50-50
dynamic
chance of
objects
dying from wearing that seatbelt. The only
explicitly.
seatbelt that is
It
actually
is
worth the
able
damn
to
is a
produce
5-point
and model
racing harness,
the
and that is it.
random
Which is
motion,
why
such
Ferraris,
as a swerving trainer
some
here.
Bugattis and shit have them.
This
They're the
network is
only
currently
seatbelts that are
running all
actually
Teslas with
100%. I'm going to say
computers.
99.9.
And it
I have
is
never seen somebody
incredibly
die as
efficient.
the cause of a
Runs about every
5-point
10
racing harness.
milliseconds
But the ones
with
that are
our
in the
neural
majority of
net
cars,
acceleration.
they will fucking kill you. They're
So how
horrible.
does this
They're a
work?
horrible
Let's take a
seatbelt to
look at
have.
the architecture.
Tesla worked around
First,
that by
we
creating
rectified
software
each
update. And it was just
camera
a
images
simple
with the camera
software update to
calibration.
cars
And
to
the
allow
images
it
we're showing
to
here,
release slack
we're
or
given to
based
the
on how
network.
you're
It's
hit
actually not the
and
typical
save you.
8-bit RGB image.
They
As
never
you can
talk
see
about
from
it.
the first image up top,
But it's
we're
fucking
giving the
brilliant.
12-bit
It
raw
is a
photon count
brilliant
image to the
Oh,
network.
seatbelt for a
Since it has
2-point
4 bits
seatbelt. And
more
yes, it's a
information,
2-point because it's based
it
on
has
the connecting
16 times
part
better dynamic
point.
range,
So
as
it's
well as
2-point
reduced
seatbelt.
latency, since we don't
But
have
it's
to run
fucking
ISP
genius,
in the
man.
loop anymore.
Lots of
We
people
use a
don't realize
set
how
of
genius
RegNets
this is.
and
They're
binary
so
FPNs as
cocked
a
up on
backbone to
crappy
extract
Ford.
image space
What
features.
was it? They can't even come
Next,
out with Fords because the
Construct
EV
a
line
set of
because they
3D
didn't order the
position queries
badges.
Along with the image space features
They
as
canceled
keys and
the
values
Ford
fit into
SUV
attention module.
minivan looking thing and
The
brought it
output of
back.
the
Hideous.
attention module
They
is high-dimensional
can't charge.
spatial features.
Their fast charging is about an hour.
These spatial features
They go about
are
150
online
miles per charge. They're
temporarily
trash, bro.
using
Ford is a
vehicle
dinosaur.
odometry
It's waiting to die.
derive
GM's
motion.
waiting to die.
Next,
Porsche
these
can't even
spatial
keep up.
temporal features go
It's
through
a,
set
it's a
of
joke at
deconvolution
this point, man.
to produce
Rivian
the
is
final
garbage.
occupancy
The
and
batteries were
occupancy flow
pulled.
output.
An
They're
engineer
formed
pulled the
as
batteries
fixed
from it,
size
and the
box
batteries
arrays,
that are in the
which might
Rivian
not
are
be
just as
precise
much
enough
garbage
for
as I've been claiming
linear
Rivian to
control.
be.
In
The
order to get a
batteries,
higher
even
resolution,
literally, they're oh my
we
god,
also
the fucking
produce
the
per
wrapping and
voxel feature
protection
maps,
on them and the
which
glue
will feed into
is so
MLP with
hideous.
3D
But the
spatial
batteries are such
point
trash.
queries
There's
to
literally
get
warning on the batteries
position and
saying
semantics
not to be
at any
used in
arbitrary
vain.
location.
I'm not bullshitting you. That's what the batteries say.
After knowing the
on
model
the
better,
Rivian,
let's take a look at another
the
example.
Rivian battery
Here
cells.
we have
They
an
literally say
articulate
warning:
bus
do not
on the
use
right side
in
row.
vape. I'm
Highlighted
not
as
making
an
this up.
L-shaped box up here.
This is how much trash
As we
Rivian
approach,
is.
the bus starts
We
to
don't even
move.
need to get into
The
Neo.
blue-
Neo is just
the
complete
front of
garbage.
the car turns blue first, indicating the model predicts the front of bus has
More
a
people walking out in the
non-zero
middle of the street.
occupancy
Is
flow.
that New York? Because if that's
And
New
the
York
as
City,
bus keeps moving, the
that's
entire
actually
bus
I think that's now a
turns
felony
blue,
in New York City to
and you
walk
can
across
also
the
see
street
that the
without.
network
I'm trying to look at a
predicts the
license
precise
plate.
curvature of the bus.
Yeah, that's New York. That's a New York plate.
Well,
That
this
is
is a
New York
very
City, by the way.
complicated,
And that is
problem
illegal. Those
for
people walking in front of us
traditional
because you
object
cannot. We
detection
cannot
network,
enter the
as you have
crosswalk.
to
It's actually I
see
think a
whether
felony
under
now. As of
one
6
cuboid
years
or
ago,
perhaps two
it is now a felony
fit
to
the
cross a
curvature.
crosswalk
But
where it
for
says
occupancy network, since
do
all
not
we care
cross.
about
You
is
can
the occupancy in the
double check
visible
that
space,
if you want.
and we'll be able to.
I don't remember when it came out. I think it was
model
like
the
5 or 6
curvature
years ago, and they
precisely.
may have revised it, but I think it's
Besides
still
the
a
box
felony.
array,
It was a felony
the
at one
occupancy
point.
network
I think
also
it's still a felony
produces
because
the drivable surface.
people watch too many
The drivable
movies and they
surface has
visit
both
New York
3D
City. They go,
geometry
"Hey,
and
I'm walking
semantics.
here."
They are
That's
very
not a
useful
thing.
for control,
You know.
especially
Granted, every
on
time I go to
speeding
New York
and
City,
curving
I
roads.
walk. Felony or not, don't
The
give a
surface
shit.
and the
Really
voxel gray
don't
are not
care.
predicted independently.
As BH said, ruthless.
Instead, the
It's
voxel
not
gray
trying to be
actually
ruthless. I
aligns
just
with the
don't.
surface
I just don't have that part of my
implicitly.
brain that gives a shit. I just don't care.
Here,
Like if you tell me
we're
not to do
at
something,
the
my brain will
here
fucking
quest
want to do
where
it
you can
even more
see,
so.
The 3D geometry of the surface being predicted nicely. Planner can use this information to decide perhaps we need to slow down more for the hill crest. And as you can also see, the voxel gray aligns with the surface consistently. Besides the voxels and the surface,
But it's
we're
really.
also very excited about the recent
Sorry, I'm trying to
breakthrough
focus on
in
what
neural
the,
radiance field, or LRF.
Whatchamacallit graph there.
We're looking into both incorporate some of the light LRF features into occupancy network training, as well as using our network
There's
output
two
as the input
surface
state
outputs.
for
That's
NERF.
interesting.
As a matter of fact, Ashok is very excited about this. This has been his personal weekend project for a while.
It's like I left one out. Oh yeah, Nerf.
These
Nerf.
nerves,
They're in his ear
because
saying
I think,
Nerf. Nerf.
Academia is
Upper
building
left corner,
a lot
John.
of these foundation
I don't remember
models,
his name. Sorry.
for language using like tons of
Everybody's
large,
John when I don't know your
datasets
name.
for
You're gonna learn
language.
that real
But
quick
I think
with me. It's
for
John
vision,
and Sarah.
nerves are going to provide the foundation models for computer vision because they are grounded in geometry.
Swear to God, he just
and
said John
geometry
also,
gives
but
us a
that's
nice
okay.
way to supervise these networks and frees us of the requirement to define an ontology. And the supervision is essentially free because you just have to differentially render these images. So I think in the future, this occupancy network idea.
And they are
where,
giving way too much info on how all their software works. It's kind of bugging me as a very big
volumetric
shareholder.
representation of the scene. that can then be differentially rendered into any
I understand
image
Elon
that was
likes
observed.
competition and all,
I
but
personally think is
this is
future
this
of
is reaching.
computer vision,
Remember,
and
fine
we do
lines. I
some
understand the
initial work
need
on it,
to
right now, but I
attract
think in
the most
future,
intelligent people in the
both
fields, but I
at
also
Tesla and in
understand the need to
academia,
protect
we will see
certain
that
aspects
these
of your software and
combination of
hardware.
one-shot prediction of volumetric occupancy will be the future. That's my personal bet.
What is with them in this fucking red S?
Thanks, Joshua.
Why is this like
Here's
the
an example
model
early
to show?
result of a 3D reconstruction from
They
our
love that
fleet
red
data.
S, bro.
Instead of
You know it's
focusing
the
on
plaid,
getting
too.
perfect RGB reprojection,
Well, I want to see the Cybertruck on there, bro. Show me the Cybertruck as the model. I'll even settle for the Roadster.
Represent the world in 3D space for driving.
Look, they're even
And
given
we
the
want to do
fucking
this for all
mathematical
our fleet
equation
data
about.
all
See,
over the
remember that
world,
fine line I
in
was
all
just
weather
talking
and
about?
lighting conditions.
Look, you can't
And
see it.
obviously,
Hold
this
on.
is a very challenging problem, and we're
There
looking
it
for you
is.
guys
See
to
it?
help.
They're literally giving away the mathematical
Finally,
equation.
the occupancy
What the
network is
fuck,
trained
bro?
With large auto-label data set without
What
any
are they?
human in the
Man, they
loop.
are smoking. I know Elon doesn't
And
like to
with that,
smoke,
I'll
but nobody
pass
said
to
he doesn't do
Tim to
hits
talk
of
about what it
acid.
takes to train this network.
Thanks, Phil.
What the shit are they? They're literally showing the equation now.
All right, hey everyone. Let's talk about some training infrastructure. So we've seen a couple videos, 4 or 5. I think and care more and worry more about
Is this
a
gonna
lot
like
more clips.
pan
than
out to the United States
So
of America?
We've been looking at the occupancy networks just from Phil.
No.
Just Phil's videos.
Worth a shot.
It takes 1.4 billion
Oh, there's
frames to
Dojo.
train that network.
The
you just saw.
supercomputer,
And
self-aware.
if you have 100,000 GPUs, it would take 1 hour. But if you have one GPU, it would take 100,000 hours. So that is not a humane time period that you can wait for your training job to run, right? We want to ship faster than
400,000
that.
video
So that
installations
means
per
you're
second.
going to need to go
500,000
parallel.
videos
So you need
rotating
more
through
compute
cache
for
a
that.
day.
That means you're going to
Jesus
need a
Christ.
supercomputer.
At 160
So this is why we've
billion
built
frames.
in-house 3 supercomputers comprising of 14,000 GPUs, where we use 10,000 GPUs for training and around 4,000 GPUs for
billion
auto
frames.
labeling. All these
That is
videos
a
are
powerful
stored in
fucking
30
supercomputer,
petabytes
let
of
me
a
tell you.
distributed, managed video cache.
They left the clip ID.
You shouldn't
Oh.
think of our data sets as
see what they're
fixed.
doing.
Let's say as you think of your ImageNet or something, with like a million
No
frames.
software is
You
safe.
should think of it as a very fluid thing. So we've got 500,000
So it's really
of
interesting.
these
It's going to
videos
monitor
flowing
everybody's
in
driving
and
habits
out of
for
this cluster,
full
these
self-drive,
clusters
and then it's going
every
to learn from
single
everything. It's going
day.
to create its own software updates
We track 400,000
send them out all by
of these
itself
kind
with
of
no human
Python video
help or interaction
instantiations
whatsoever.
Every second.
This is. I'm
So
just
that
going
is-
to tell you the
that's
stuff
a
you
lot of
want to
calls.
hear.
We're going to need
I mean,
to capture
these
that
numbers
in order
fascinate
to
me. I'm sure they
govern the
fascinate some of you, and
retention
some of you
policies
probably
of
like,
this
oh, this is boring as
distributed
shit.
video cache.
I'm noticing
So
by the more they
underlying all
talk,
of
the
this
more
is a
people are leaving, so I'm
huge
trying to
amount
make
of
this more
infra,
entertaining
all of
for
which we
everybody.
build and manage
I'm trying to put it into entertaining layman terms
So
for
you
you.
cannot just buy 14,000 GPUs and then 30 petabytes of flash NVMe and just put it together and let's go train. It actually takes a lot of work, and I'm going to go into a little bit of that. What you actually typically want to do is you want to take your accelerator.
They're going to talk about later,
so
man.
that
This,
could be
I'm
the
telling you, man. If they don't,
GPU
if they
or
do,
Dojo,
they're going to get into the
we'll talk
Dojo.
about
They're going to
later.
get into full software. They're getting into all the software.
And
They're getting all the
because
software,
that's
but they're
the
getting into
most
the hardware
expensive
also, which
component,
is
that's
Dojo,
where you
Dojo
want
software
to
and
put your
hardware, and they're getting into the
bottleneck.
hardware
And so that
of
means
the
that
actual
every
Optimus.
single part of your
And there's not
system
enough room
is
to
going
see
to
the
need to
finalized
outperform
version
this accelerator.
of the Cybertruck.
And so that is really
And that's what I'm
complicated.
pissed about right now.
That means that
I've
your
already,
storage is
if you
going
guys
to
were
need
in
to have
here
the
at the
size
beginning,
and the
I
bandwidth to
analyzed,
deliver
I
all the data
overanalyzed
down
everything.
into the
I
nodes.
analyzed
These
everything
nodes
about
need
the
to have the
stage they
right
were
amount
using.
of
I said, no, there
CPU
is
and
no way
memory
that they can
capability
introduce or
to
show
feed
the
into your
Cybertruck,
machine learning
unless, of
framework.
course, they take it outside. But
The
now it's
machine learning
nighttime.
framework then needs
You
to
know,
hand it off to
we're
your
at
GPU, and then you can start
7:23
training.
p.m. on
But then
Pacific
you
time.
need to do so
It's getting a little
across
too dark for
hundreds
them.
or thousands
I'm
of
Eastern at
GPU in a
10:23.
reliable way.
There is
in
no way we are
lockstep,
going to get
and
to
in a
see the
way that's
finalized
also
version
fast.
of the
So you're also
Cybertruck.
going to
There's
need
no
an
way.
interconnect.
And I know this sounds like it's going to go on for another 2 hours, and I don't want to lose all the viewers, so I'm going to overtalk him a little bit because I understand you guys are bored by all this. So I'm trying to read a few seconds ahead, and then by the time I'll reprocess it and get it out of my mouth, it'll probably be synced up
video
here
is
for you.
very much unlike, let's say, training in images or text, which I think
the
is very well
accelerated video
established.
library is at a
Video
plus
is quite
30%
literally a
training
dimension
speed.
more complicated.
Including the data
And so
loader. Jesus
that's
Christ.
why we needed to go end to end from the storage layer down to the accelerator. And
But now
optimize
basically
every
what
single
they're doing
piece
is they're
of that.
breaking down how it's
Because we
analyzing
train on the
everything,
photon
obviously.
count videos that come
I told you I'll
directly
break it down
from
on
our
basic
fleet.
layman terms.
We
I can't
train
get
on
more
those
basic than
directly.
that.
We do not post process
I'm a
those
basic
at
bitch
all.
tonight.
The way it's just done is We seek exactly to the frames we select
into
for
the
our
double
batch.
buffer GPU
We
that
load
uses the
those
hardware
in, including the
decoder
frames
on
that they
GPU.
depend on. So these are your I
It would
frames,
be
your
really
T
interesting
frames.
because
We package those up, move them into shared memory, move
they
them
need to
into a
upgrade
double
their
buffer
fucking
on the
GPU
GPU, and then use the hardware decoder that's only
And
accelerated.
the vehicles themselves, to be honest
to
with
actually
you.
decode the video.
I know they
So we do
upgraded
that
their
on the
CPUs
GPU
to the
natively. And this is all
AMDs
in a
because
very
of
nice
the lag
PyTorch
that they were getting, and they got out of Intel. Intel's
doing
been
so
taking a hit left and
unlocks more
right.
than
I already
30%
told you guys
training speed
to
increase
get
for
out
the
of
occupancy
Intel
networks,
back when
and freed up
Apple
basically the
parted
whole
ways
CPU
and they
to
went
do
their own with the
any other
M1,
thing.
M2 chip. Intel said it couldn't be done. Not true. Apple disproved
you cannot
that,
just
and
do
now
training
Intel
with
is
the
taking a hit.
videos.
And they
Of
still
course, you
can't
need
figure
to
out how to
have
do it.
ground truth.
And then their other big contract was with Tesla,
that is actually
and they were
an interesting
axed
problem
out,
as well.
and they brought
The
AMD in.
objective for storing your ground truth is that
And we
you
all
want to
know
make sure
that
you get to your ground truth that you need.
what Tesla needs
in
to
the
work on
minimal
next is
amount
their
of file
own
system
CPUs and
operations,
GPUs
and load in the
and
minimal
get out
size
of
what you
AMD
need
now
in order
altogether.
to optimize for
Apple does the same, and
cross-cluster
Apple
throughput.
is always
Because
better
you should
off
see a
for it.
compute cluster as one big device.
I
which
believe
has
Tesla
internally
can do it
fixed
much better
constraints
as
and
well.
thresholds.
And now
So for this, we rolled out
that we're
a
getting
format
into full
that is,
AI
native
that
to us
will
that's
be
called
building
small.
hardware
We
and
use it
software
for our
without any
ground truth,
human
our
interaction
feature
or help
cache, and
whatsoever.
any inference output.
I think that
So a
we
lot
will
of sensors
see
that are in there.
the
And so
AI
just
start to
cartoon
build
here, let's say
processors.
these
I
are
think we're going to see
your,
CPUs from
table that you
Tesla.
wanna store,
I think
then that's how that would
the
look out if you
self-aware
rolled out
Dojo
on
is
this.
going to be like, look, we
So what you
can't.
do is you
They're
take
not
anything
keeping
you
up
want
with
to
us.
index
We need
on.
to
So
move
for
this, and
example,
I
video
guarantee you they're going to
timestamp,
start
you put those
accessing
all
the
in
equipment.
header
They're going to
so
build
that
their
in
own
your initial
CPUs
header read, you know exactly
and
where
upgrade
to
them,
go
and it's
on
all
this.
going to be
And
AI
if you
built.
have any tensors, you're going to try to
This is where we're going to
transpose
get
the
into a lot of
dimension,
trouble with
put a
Terminator.
different dimension last as the contiguous dimension, and then also
I'm telling
try
you, when after I get my
different types of
Cybertruck
compression.
next year, I'm going to
Then
go.
check
I'm
out
going to
which
drive
one was
that
most
son of a bitch
optimal,
around.
and then store that one.
And I'm going to
There's
go
actually a
as
huge
the
step if you do
T100,
caching.
and I'm going to dress the kids up as
Unintelligible
well. We're all going to
output
go as
from the
members
network,
from Terminator, and we're just going to have the
rotate
truck, and
around
we're going to be
dimensions a little
blaring
bit, you can get up to 20% increase in efficiency of storage. Then when you store that, we also order the columns by size so that all your small columns and small values are together, so that when you seek for a single value, you're likely to overlap with the read on more values, which you'll use later, so that you don't need to do another file
He
system
could go on
operation.
and on, but he's not going to
So
because
I could go on and on.
people are clearly
I just
getting
went
bored of it.
touched on 2 projects that we have internally, but this is actually part of
using
a
a
huge
CUDA
continuous effort
for
to
the GPU.
optimize the compute that we have in-house. So accumulating and aggregating through all these optimizations, we now train our occupancy networks twice as fast just because it's twice as efficient.
Which I find kind
And
of
now
interesting.
if we add in a bunch more compute and go parallel,
Because if they're
we
using
can now train this in hours
AMD
instead
processors
of
in the
days.
cars, and they're using NVIDIA
And with that, I'd like to hand it off to the
in,
biggest user of compute, John.
Dojo. And they're kind of
Hi,
not really
everybody.
trying to
My
lock
name is John
anything in,
Emmons.
because I'm looking
I'll
at
lead the
like
autopilot
even
business.
Tesla, over 15,000 people left
I'm going to cover
Tesla's
2 topics
website
with you
too.
today. The first is how we predict lanes, and the
But
second is how we predict the
that's
future
kind of
behavior
interesting
other
how they're
agents
using
on the road.
both NVIDIA and that. Now, if they're going to use an NVIDIA
In the
lot,
early days of autopilot, we modeled the lane detection problem
that might
as
get
an
kind of
image-based
interesting as
instant
well,
segmentation task.
in my opinion. We'll talk more about that in the
It was super
Discord over at the
simple, though.
Daily
In fact,
Investor.
it was only capable of predicting lanes
or patreon.com
of a few different kinds of
whichever you
geometries.
prefer.
Specifically, it would segment the ego lane, it could segment adjacent lanes, and then it had some special casing for forks and merges. This simplistic modeling of the problem worked for highly structured roads like highways. But today we're trying to build a system that's capable of much more complex maneuvers. Specifically, we want to make left and right turns at intersections.
People really don't understand how
where the
complex
road
this is
topology can
because
be quite a bit more
it's
complex
easy
than
for
diverse.
highway, which is why
When we
you
try to
can use
apply
it
this
for
simplistic
highway.
modeling
It's
of the problem
autopilot.
here,
It's full
it just
self-drive
totally
in a
breaks
highway
down.
environment. It's not full self-drive or autopilot in a
Taking a
sense
step back for a moment,
for cities.
what we're
And
trying
the
to
reason
do
for that is, yes, it
sparse
does
set of
work
lane instances
decently
and their
80% of
connectivity.
the time. But you got to remember,
And
it's
what we
all
wanna
based
do
on
is to have a
lines
neural
on the
network
road, and a lot
that
of
basically
cities don't
predicts
have
this
lines,
graph,
or there's
where the
spots where there's
nodes are
gaps,
the
or
lane segments,
shit. If you want to
and the
get into
edges show the
my city,
connectivities between these
we
lanes.
have a turn. I'll put turn.
So what we have is our lane detection neural network. It's made up of 3 components.
My
In
mic
the first component, we have a
froze.
set of convolutional layers, attention layers,
Okay,
and
there
other
we go.
neural network layers
So I actually took a
that
picture of
encode
this.
the
it's
video
crooked.
streams
The
from our
turn
8
arrow is
cameras on the
crooked. So
vehicle and produce
these
the
lines are
original
crooked. It's really
representation.
interesting. So what has to be done is
We
it
then
has to
enhance
use
this visual
full
representation
spatial awareness
with a
to
coarse,
calculate every little thing
road level-
going
road
on,
level map
such as lines maybe on the
encode
road
with a
over
set of
here,
additional
lines
neural
over
network
here,
layers
cars
that we
over
call the
here,
lane guidance
calculating the
module.
light here. I mean, you're
This
talking
map
about
is not an
fucking
HD map, but it
probably
provides a
20,
lot of
30
useful hints
million
about the topology of lanes inside of intersections, the lane counts on various roads,
variables
and
in
a set
an
of other
equation
attributes that
all
help us.
calculating at once in fractions of a second,
The first
per
two
like
components here produced a dense
every
tensor.
less than probably every 10 millimeters, to be honest. I mean, it's really complex. People love to think this shit is so easy and give it to me now.
We approach this problem.
But people
like an
saying
image
that shit really have
capturing
no
task,
clue how
where
complex
the
this
input is
software
this dense
is.
tensor, and the output text
They really don't
is
understand how
predicted into a
advanced
special
Tesla
language
is.
that
I
we
mean,
developed at Tesla for encoding
you
lanes
have
in our
people that work
connectivities.
at the Pentagon who have stripped down Teslas, saying they're 10 years ahead of anything that Pentagon can get their hands on, right?
Encode the connective relationships between
I
these
mean, this
lanes.
is how advanced Tesla is. People
By
really
modeling the
are
task as a
fucking
language problem,
clueless. No offense. If you're
capitalize
clueless, I'm
on recent
explaining it to you.
autoregressive
But people who
architectures
bash Tesla are
and
truly
techniques from the language
fucking
community for
clueless.
handling
If
the
you think
multimodality of the
Rivian is
problem.
catching up to Tesla,
We're
if
not
you
just
think
solving the
NIO is
computer
catching
vision
up to
problem at
Tesla,
autopilot.
or
We're also
garbage
applying
Ford
the state-of-the-art
or
in language
Toyota
modeling
or
to machine
Sony is
learning more
catching up to
generally.
Tesla anytime soon, you are fucking
I'm now gonna
delusional.
dive
You are
into a little bit
fooling
more detail of this
yourself.
language component.
And you are going to lose and fail
What I have depicted
on
the
betting
screen
against
here
Tesla
is a satellite
any
image
day of the
which
week.
sort of represents
You
the
will
local
lose that
area
bet.
around
I
the
will
vehicle.
bet on it for you. I
Instead
will
of
bet
nodes and
against you
edges
betting against
is
it.
what we refer to as the lane graph.
Just to make
and
some
it's
nice little
ultimately what we
side
want to come out of this
profit
neural
bets in the
network.
meantime. The
We start with a blank
complexity of
slate.
how to get this to actually work
We're
in
gonna
a
wanna make our
city
first
environment
prediction
or
here at
in
this
roads
green
or
dot.
neighborhoods where there are no lines
This green
is
dot
so
position is
fucking
encoded as an
complex.
index
It's
into a coarse
insane.
grid which discretizes the
And this is
3D
why they
world.
have some of they have the
Now, we
best
don't
software and
predict this
hardware
index directly,
engineers and
because it would be
robotic
too
engineers.
computationally
Everybody
expensive
wants
to
to
do
work
so.
for
There's
Elon.
just too many grid
And it's
points,
taking
and
them
using a
years and
categorical
years to
distribution
figure
over this
these
has
equations
both
out and to
implications
get
at
it to
training
work.
time and test
People
time.
think, oh, we'll just use radar.
So
It
instead
doesn't
what we do
fucking
is we
work like
discretise
that
the
because you
world
still have to
coarsely
use the
first. We
cameras
predict the heat
to
map
calculate the
for
lines. I'm
possible
sorry, radar
locations,
does
and then
not
we
calculate
line
lines.
the most probable
Radar calculates
locations.
objects, physical
Conditioned on
fucking
this,
objects. It
we
does
then
not
refine the
calculate all the
prediction
other
and get the
necessary
precise
shit.
point.
It really
Now we
is,
know
and
where
this
the
was
position of
trial
the
and
scope.
error, and this is why
We don't know
everybody
its
who's now
height.
trying to get
In this
into
case,
radar,
no, it's the beginning of a new
they're
lane.
spending billions of dollars on
We
radar,
proved it as
and
a
they're all
start
going to
token.
fail. This is why Elon got out of it,
And
not
because of the
because
start token, there's no
they were
additional
trying to save
absolutes in
money,
our
but
language.
because it is not feasible. It is
We then
not a
take the
probable
predictions from the
solution
first forward pass, and we encode them using a learned conditional
to
embedding,
full self
which
drive.
produces
When you
a
say
set of
full
tensors that
self
we
drive,
combine
full
together,
self drive in the term sense is
which is
being
actually
able
the
to get into a
first
car,
word
putting
in
the
our language
address
lane.
and pushing a
We add
button.
this to the,
It
first
takes
position in our
off. I
sentence
mean, my
here.
car already does this now. Anybody who has a
We then
Tesla,
continue this process
your garage
by
door will
predicting the next
open and close
lane point
automatically
in
as
a
you get
similar
near to
fashion.
walk away, or if you're outside, you can open
Now,
and
this
close it
lane
through the
point is not
Tesla
beginning
app,
of a
your
new
garage
lane.
door.
It's actually a continuation of the previous lane. So it's
If
a
you're out of town
continuation token type.
and your car is near the house,
Now, it's
you
not
can
enough
open
just
and
to
close
know
the
that
garage for gas
this lane is connected to
and
the
shit like that to
previously
get into your house.
We want to encode its precise geometry, which we do by regressing
But
a
it
set
really
of
is.
spline
Sorry, I'm still
coefficients.
sick. Trying to turn my head.
We then take this
But
lane,
to get in and
we
and
encode it
take you
again, and
right
add it as
there
the
with
next
no
word in the
problems, never
sentence.
having to touch the steering wheel, that's what full
We continue
self-drive
predicting these
is.
continuation lanes
And
until we get to the end of the prediction grid.
the complexity of that
We then
for,
move on
for
to a
neighborhoods,
different
like
lane
especially
segment.
mine, where we don't have
So you can see
lines.
that cyan dot
If I
there.
look at
Now,
the
it's not topologically
the visual
fixed.
on my display,
forking
you can
off of
see
that-
it's
that-
determining
that
where a
green-
line
sorry,
is,
that green point
but
there.
you know, it's not being given the
So it's got
go-ahead
a
by
fork type.
Tesla to say, hey, I'm going to fully
Fork tokens
analyze
actually
this, and
point
also
back
it has
to
to analyze the
previous
speed
tokens
bumps and
from
everything
which their
else
fork
going on and
originates.
all these movements.
So you can see here the
You know,
fork
people
point
love to
predictor
think it's
is
so
actually the index
simplistic. Well,
0.
if it's so
it's actually
simplistic, why aren't you
referencing back to the
motherfuckers
predictor
creating it? Why aren't you working for Tesla? Why aren't you selling them the equation
continue
for
this
this
process over
or
and
the
over again
updates
until we've
for it?
enumerated all of the tokens in
This is
the
just
lane graph.
idiocracy. It's a
And
whole
then the
bunch of
network
people.
predicts
I'm
the
not
end
trying to be a
of
dick,
sentence
but the
token.
majority of this fucking country in this world,
Yeah,
they
I just
do
wanted
have
to
low
note that,
IQs. I'm
the
sorry, you
reason we
do.
do
Not
this
you
is
all
not just
personally,
because we
but
want to build
like
something
California
complicated. It
especially.
almost feels
Not
like a
to
Turing
hate on
complete
people
machine here,
individually.
neural networks though.
Or collectively,
Is that
I
we
mean,
tried simpler
hate them
approaches,
individually
for
based on
example,
IQ.
trying to
But
just segment the
collectively, I'm
lanes,
sorry, dude.
along the road
The
or
average
something like that.
IQ is
But
somewhere
then the
along the
problem
as of
this
86.
uncertainty. Say
I
you
don't
cannot,
give a shit what Mensa says.
see
I
the
think
road
Mensa,
clearly,
Mensa
and there could be
is
2 lanes or 3
falsifying
lanes, and
data,
you
to be
can't
honest with you.
tell. A simple
I think the average
segmentation-based
IQ is
approach
around 86, and
would
that's
just
being
drop both
nice
of
and
them.
generous, honestly.
It's kind of a 2.5 lane situation.
But it really is a shit show. People truly don't understand all that.
Predictions are such.
Yeah, and the problems don't end there. I mean, you need to predict these connective lanes inside of intersections. It's just not possible with the approach that Ashok's mentioning, which is why we had to upgrade to this sort of.
Yeah, when it like overlaps like this, segmentation would just go haywire. But even if you try very hard to put them on separate layers,
I think
it's
Stat
just a
went to
really hard
sleep.
problem. But language just offers a really nice framework.
I used to be
for
able to see who was in
getting
the
a,
room. Oh, participants. There
sample
we
from
go.
posterior, as opposed to trying to do all of this in post-processing. But this doesn't actually stop for just autopilot, right, John? This can be used for Optimus.
Yeah, I guess they wouldn't be called lanes, but you could imagine, sort of in this, stage here, that you might have sort of paths that sort of, encode the possible places
People
that
could walk
walk
straight across the
Yeah,
intersection.
basically, if you're in a factory or in a
Right in the middle of the intersection. I mean, that's
home
pretty
setting, you can
truthful.
just ask the robot, okay, please route to the kitchen, or please route to some location in the factory, and then
I think
a
I
pretty
see
set of
Walter
pathways
White's
that would, go through the aisles, take the robot, and say, okay,
storage
this is how
container
you get to the kitchen.
over
This
his left
really
shoulder.
gives us a nice framework to model these different paths that simplify the navigation problem for the downstream planner.
So this is what the beta looks like now. It can actually take up the full display. It's
All right, so ultimately
beautiful.
what
It
we
is
get
absolutely
from this
fucking
lane
gorgeous.
detection network is a set of lanes in their
I really wish
connectivity
that there
which
was
comes directly
a
from the network. There's
for
no
people who
additional
own
steps here
Teslas, there are a
for
lot of Easter
falsifying
eggs and
these,
shit like we can do
dense
like the
predictions
if
into
we
sparse
tap
lines.
4
This
times
is
in
just the direct
self-drive,
unfiltered output of
it
the
turns the
network.
road into the Rainbow Road from
Okay, so I talked a little
Mario
bit about lanes. I'm gonna
Kart
briefly touch on
64
how we
or SNES,
model
whichever
and
version you
predict
prefer,
the
and it
future
plays the
paths
quote
and
from
other
Cowbell
shapes
from
on objects.
SNL. Like there's, and then
So
if
I'm
you
just
get to
gonna go really quickly through
121
two
miles
examples.
and you click it,
The video on the right
everything
here,
changes
we've
to
got a
Back to the
car that's
Future,
actually
like
running a red light and
1.21
turning in front
gigawatts,
of us.
which is actually gigawatts, but
What we
it's
do to
okay.
handle situations like this is we
So
predict a set
I would
of
love
short
for
time
them to
horizon future
implement
trajectories on all objects.
an Easter egg
We
for
can use these to
Beetles
anticipate
for the
dangerous
Punch Buggy
situation
game
here
because my
and apply
son is beating the
whatever,
crap out of me
braking
at it
steering
right
actions
now.
required to avoid a collision.
And if it could just like, I
In the
don't even
video
want
on
it
the
to
right,
let anybody else in the
vehicles
car know.
in
I just
front
want it
of
to
us.
like shake
The
maybe
one on
through
the
like
left lane is
just shake the
parked,
steering wheel, kind of like
apparently
how
it's
when we
being
go
loaded
over the
and loaded. I don't know
line,
why the driver
it
decided
lets
to
us
park
know
there.
we're
But
self-corrects.
the important
Just
thing
kind
is
of
that
like
a neural
shake and
network
let us know to be on the lookout
predicted
for a
that it
beetle
would
in the
stop, which is the red color there.
just so I can
The
like
vehicle
give
in
him
the other
a
lane
quick
is
little
noticed also
jab
is
over there,
stationary.
you know.
But that one's obviously just waiting for that red light to turn green. So even though both objects are stationary and have zero velocity, it's the
And I
semantics
understand
that is
a
really
lot of people
important
don't
here,
like the bug
so that we don't
because
get
the
stuck behind
Beetle
that
was,
awkwardly parked
for,
car.
if you want a history lesson, Volkswagen
Predicting
is
all of these
actually
agent attributes presents
a
some
Nazi
practical problems when trying to build
automotive.
a real-time
It was
system.
created by the
We need to
Nazis. It was
maximize
their
the frame rate
automotive
of our
department,
optimization stack
and the
so that
Beetle
autopilot can
was
quickly react to
actually
changing
designed by
environment.
Hitler himself.
Every millisecond really matters here. To minimize
So
the
for
inference
those of you that
latency,
are very
our neural network is split into
anti-Nazi,
two phases.
and you own a
In
Beetle,
the first phase, we identify the locations
don't know what
in
to
3D
tell you.
space where agents exist.
Just so
In
you
the
know,
second
yes,
stage, we
kickbacks
then
still
pull out
go
sensors
to
at those 3D locations,
blood-related relatives
with
from
additional data
Volkswagen,
that's on the
and I
vehicle.
say Volkswagen,
And then we, do the rest of the
Volkswagen,
processing.
and
This sparsification step
the
allows the
Beetle
neural network
itself.
to focus
Kickbacks do
compute
go to
on
his
the areas that matter
bloodline
most,
still, so you
which
are
gives us
contributing to
superior
Hitler.
performance for a fraction of the latency cost.
Fun fact.
So
I have a lot
putting
of
it all
useless
together,
information, just so
the
you're
autopilot
aware.
vision stack predicts more than
We
just
could
the
play this
geometry
game
and
probably
kinematics of
longer
the
than they
world.
can talk.
It also predicts a rich set of semantics.
This is
which
just
enables
so
safe and
beautiful.
human-like
How do
driving.
you? I'm going to move my
I'm now
screen
going to
up
hand
here
things
so you
off to
guys can
Sri,
see
who will
this
tell
in
us how
all
we
its
run all these cool
glory.
neural networks on our FSD computer. Thank you.
We'll move it to the upper left. Of course, now they're going to get rid of it.
Hi everyone.
It is
I'm
so
Sri.
beautiful, man. I just love
Today
the
I'm gonna give a
rendering.
glimpse of what it takes to run
It
this
reminds me of
SSD
just
networks
it
in the
reminds me of
car.
a beautiful video
How
game.
do
It
we
really
optimize for the
does.
inference latency?
Especially like because like right now, unless you're
Today
in
I'm gonna
beta, you don't
focus
get
just
full
on
self-drive, so
FSD
you
lanes
can't
network
see
that
this
John
whole
just
thing like
talked
what they're
about.
showing. So our display, like obviously, if I'm using this, it takes up
So,
well this side
when
because
we started
it's
this
reversed.
track,
So
we
it's like
wanted to know
this.
if we can run this
I want to say
SSD
it's like
lanes
30%,
natively on the
35%
Rep
roughly,
engine, which is
and
our
the
in-house
rest
neural
is
network
GPS.
architecture that
But
we
you
built
can
in the
you can
FSD
open
computer.
it and you can drag
When we
it
built
on
this hardware,
beta.
we kept it
And this is
simple,
what full self-drive will
and we
be,
made
and it
sure
opens up
it
the
can
whole
do one
display,
thing
and it will
ridiculously
give you a
fast,
little window
dense
for
dot
your
products.
GPS. It's
But
it
this
really is
architecture
a
is
beautiful
autoregressive
display. I really wish that they
and
would
iterative,
come out with
where it
a
crunches through
because
multiple
they do
attention
their own
potential blocks
software.
in the inner
I've
disk,
shown this in the Discord over at
producing sparse points
patreon.com/slavebiker
directly at
for
every
those
step.
people who
So
don't.
the challenge here was
What's
how can we
cheating?
do this sparse point prediction and sparse computation
How did I
on a
cheat?
dense dot product engine. Let's see how we did this on the
What's
trip.
cheating? I wish I could talk.
So the network predicts
just type.
the,
I can't type.
heat map of most probable
I don't know.
spatial
Well, BH,
locations
you let me know
of the
how I
point.
cheated, but that's okay.
Now we do a argmax
But,
and a one-hot operation, which gives the one-hot encoding of the index of the
There
spatial
really
location.
is no other automotive
now, we need to select
manufacturer
the embedding associated with this index
that
embedding
does
cable
what they do,
that
and
is
they
learned
really do
during
have their own
training.
icons, their own
To do this
software.
on
They're
trip,
gonna have their
we
own
actually
app store
built
in the
a lookup
future.
table in SRAM, and we
And
engineered the
when they add Steam,
dimensions
which
of
is
the
one of the things
embedding
they're
such
doing,
that
you have to have
we
it drive.
could
I mean, I have
achieve all
the
of this thing with just matrix
970
multiplication.
Pro Samsung SSD
Not just that,
terabyte,
we also
an
wanted to
external shell. I
store this
removed the shell. I
embedding
showed
into a
everybody
token
in the
cache
Discord,
so that we don't
and that's what I
recompute this
use,
for
and that's
every
that's what I use
iteration,
for
rather
my
reuse it
storage
for future point prediction. Again, we pulled some tricks here
my
where we did all these
camera
operations
system,
just
Sentry,
on the
my
dot
security
product engine.
system. It records
It's
24/7
actually
all
cool
around the
that our
car,
team found
driving,
creative
not
ways
driving,
to map
accidents, no
all these
accidents.
operations on the
And,
dip
but I will be
engine
using
in ways
that
were
for
not even
Steam
imagined when this
to
hardware
put the
was
games
designed.
on to play the Steam games in the car.
But
So I don't
that's
understand at
not
this
the only
point they
thing we
have
had
all
to
the
do
software, they
to
have
make
the
this work.
hardware.
We
Just
actually
make a
implemented
fucking
a whole
computer,
lot
just
of
make a fucking
operations
phone and be
and
done with
features
it, bro.
to make this
You
model
know?
compilable,
I know it's
to improve
complex,
the
but they
in-gate
can do it.
accuracy, as well as to optimize performance. all of these things helped us run this 75 million parameter model just under 10 milliseconds of latency.
I still don't know how I
consuming
cheated,
just
but
8
that's
watts of power. But this is not the only architecture running in the car. There are so many other architectures, modules, and networks we need to run in the car. To give a sense of scale, there are about a billion parameters of all the networks combined, producing around 1,000 neural network signals. So we need to make sure we optimize them jointly and such that we maximize the compute utilization, throughput, and minimize the latency. So we built a compiler just for neural networks that shares the structure give a sense of scale. Compilers. As you can see, it takes the massive graph of neural nets with 150K nodes and 375K connection, takes this thing, partitions them into independent subgraphs, and compiles each of those subgraphs natively for the inference devices. Then we have a neural network linker, which shares the structure to traditional linker, where we perform this link time optimization. There, we solve an offline optimization problem with compute memory and memory bandwidth constraints so that it comes with an optimized schedule that gets executed in the car.
I mean, if you look at the complexity
On
just
the
of the
runtime,
board alone for
we
full
designed
self-drive,
a hybrid scheduling system,
autopilot.
which basically does heterogeneous scheduling
it's
on
just-
one
it's
SoC
so crazy
and
how complex
distributed
it is.
scheduling across both the SoCs to run these networks in a model parallel fashion. To get 100 TOPS of compute,
I'm hoping they put
utilization,
an even more
we need to
upgraded chip
optimize
into the
across
Cybertruck
all the
this
layers
way.
of software, right from
My games
tuning the
don't
network
lag
architecture, the compiler, all
Sometimes
the
I'll
way
be
to
playing
implementing a low
what the hell's that
latency,
damn
high
airplane
bandwidth
game that you
RDMA
upload
link
and you shoot
across both the
shoot a
SoCs,
fucking
and in
battle
fact,
everybody.
going even deeper
I'll
to
start playing and when it
understanding
gets really
and
heavy, it's
optimizing
like
the cache
it's
coherent
slow.
and non-coherent data paths of the accelerator in the SoC.
Oh, it would be cheating
This
if
is
the
a lot
steering
of
wheel moved
optimization at
when the
every
beetle
level
is running.
in order
That's
to
not
make sure we
cheating.
get the highest
Listen,
frame rate and
that's just
every
how the game
millisecond counts
works.
here.
That's an expensive ass way to
This is-
cheat, let
this
me
is
tell
just
you. I think if somebody's
the-
going to
this
spend
is
that
the
much money to
visualization
cheat,
of
then
the
they
neural
deserve
networks that are running in the
they
car.
deserve the
This
cheat.
is our digital brain, essentially.
Let's
As
get
you
real.
can see, these operations are nothing but just the matrix multiplication, convolution, to name a few, real operations running in the car. To train this network with a billion parameters, you need a lot of labeled data.
This model
so
is crazy
Hagen
that
is
they're
going to talk
showing.
about how do we
Damn.
achieve this with the auto labeling pipeline.
Thank you, Sri. Hi, everyone. I'm Yegan Zhang, and I'm leading geometric vision at Autopilot. So, yeah, let's talk about auto labeling. So we have several kinds of auto labeling frameworks to support various types of networks. But today, I'd like to focus on the awesome lanes net here. So to successfully train and generalize this network to everywhere, we think we went tens of millions of trips from probably 1 million intersection or even more. So then how to do that? So it is certainly achievable to source sufficient amount of trips because we already have, as Tim explained earlier, we already have like 500,000 trips per day cache rate. However, converting all those data into a training form is a very challenging technical problem. To solve this challenge, we've tried various ways of manual and auto labeling. So from the first column to the second, from the second to the third, each advance provided us nearly 100x improvement in throughput. But still, we run an even better auto labeling machine that can provide us good quality, diversity, and scalability. To meet all these requirements, despite the huge amount of engineering effort required here, we've developed a new auto labeling machine powered by multi-trip reconstruction. So this can replace 5 million hours of manual labeling with just 12 hours of cluster for labeling 10,000 trips. So how we solved? There are 3 big steps. The first
Well,
step
everybody
is
has a whoopee
high-precision
cushion
trajectory
already,
and
so
structure recovery by
that's about all they
camera, visual inertial odometry. So here, all the features, including ground surface, are inferred
It's
from
not
videos
fair.
by neural networks.
Only the driver
then
should know if
tracked
there's
and
a
reconstructed in
beetle
the vector
around.
space. So The typical drift rate of this trajectory in car is like 1.3 centimeter per meter and 0.45 milliradian per meter, which is pretty decent considering its compact compute requirement. Then the recovered surface and road details are also used as a strong
The middle
guidance
image
for the later
reminds
manual
me of
verification.
Tron, the Tron bikes.
This is also enabled in every FSD vehicle, so we get pre-processed trajectories and structures along with the trip data. The second step is multi-trip reconstruction, which is the big and core piece of this machine. So the video shows how the previously
This is
shown
fucking
trip is
crazy.
reconstructed and aligned with other trips. Basically, other trips from different vehicles, not the same vehicle. So this is done by multiple internal steps like course alignment, pairwise matching, joint optimization, then further surface refinement. In the end, the human analyst
Full
comes
self-drive
in
is
and
basically
finalizes the layout.
mapping out the
So
entire area.
Each habit steps are already fully parallelized on the cluster. So the entire process usually takes just a couple of hours. The last step
So basically,
is
Elon is
actually
recreating
auto-labeling the new trips. So
the simulation that we're all
here
living
we
in.
use the same
So we're
multi-trip
like in a
alignment
simulation
engine,
within a
but
simulation.
only between pre-built reconstruction
He's going to
and
capture
each
our
new trip.
consciousness
So
and then
it's
put it into
much,
this
much
model.
simpler than fully reconstructing all the clips altogether. That's why it only takes 30 minutes per trip to auto-label instead of manual, several hours of manual labeling. And this is also the key of scalability of this machine. This machine easily scales as long as we have available compute and trip data. So about 50 trips were newly auto-labeled from this scene, and some of them are shown here. So 50 trips from different vehicles. So
Well,
this is how
there goes
we
parking
capture
and
and
having
transform the
sex in the
space-time
woods. They're gonna-
slices of the world into the network.
Dojo's going to be like, whoa, what the hell
Yeah,
is
one
this?
thing I'd like to note is
What's
that
going on here?
Jagan just talked about how
Why is
we
this car driving out into
auto-label
the
our
woods?
lanes.
What the hell?
But we have auto-labelers for almost every task that we do,
So much
including
for
our
that.
planner. And many of these are fully automatic. There's no humans involved. For example, for objects, all of the kinematics, the shapes, the futures, everything just comes from auto-labeling. And the same is true for occupancy too. And we have really just built a machine around this.
Yeah, so if you can go back one slide. One more. It says parallelized on cluster. So that sounds pretty straightforward, but it really wasn't. Maybe it's fun to share how something like this comes about.
So when this comes back
a
up-
while ago, we didn't have any auto-labeling
Look
at
on
all.
the
And then someone makes
right
a
side of
script,
the
it
aisle, you're
starts
gonna
to
see
work, it starts
three
working
different
better
people.
until we reach a volume that's
Two of them are
pretty
wearing
high,
white
we clearly
shirts.
need
They
a
look so
solution.
fucking bored. They're like
And
this.
so there were two other engineers.
Could you
in our
imagine
team who were
like being like,
"No,
oh my
that's
god,
an
I finally
interesting,
got one of the
thing."
invites
What
to
we
a
needed
to
do
the
was
to
build a
Tesla's
whole
AI
graph
day.
of essentially
And it was a bunch of
Python
stuff that you didn't
functions
really
that would
care
need to
about.
run one after the other. First you
Personally,
pull
I
the
care
clip,
about
then you do
it,
some
but-
cleaning, then you do some network inference, then another network inference.
That
until
guy
you
just
finally
looks
get
like-
this. But so you need to do
He's
this
so
at a large
pissed off.
scale. So I,
He
so
was
I tell
hoping to
them,
see the
we
Cybertruck,
probably
I
need
think.
to shoot for 100,000 clips per day, or like 100,000 items. That seems good. And so the engineer said, well, we can do a bit of Postgres and a bit of elbow grease. We can do it. Meanwhile, we are a bit later, and we're doing 20 million of these functions every single day. Again, we pull in around 500,000 clips, and on those, we run a ton of functions, each of these, in a streaming fashion. And so that's kind of the back-end infra that's also needed to not just run training, but also auto-labeling.
Yeah, it really is like a factory that produces labels, and like production lines, yield, quality, inventory, like all of the same concepts apply to this label factory that applies for the factory for our cars.
That's right.
Rainy.
Okay.
That's clearly
thanks,
not
Matt.
Florida.
So yeah,
That's
so
like a sprinkle.
concluding this section, I'd like to share a few more challenging
You
and
wouldn't be able to
interesting
see out of
examples
any of those
for
cameras in Florida,
network
just so
for
you
sure,
know.
and even for humans.
Because in
probably.
Florida, we have real
So
rain.
from the top, there's
And
like
those
examples
fucking
for
cameras are
lack
all
of
covered.
lights, case, or foggy
And
night,
everything. I know people
or
love to say Rain-X, but you can't
roundabout
use
and
Rain-X on it
occlusions
'cause it's
by-
alcohol-based.
heavy occlusions by parked
And the
cars,
problem is
and
camera
even rainy
lenses have
night
a
with the
protective
raindrops on the
coating on
camera
it. So
lenses.
when you put when you rub
these are
alcohol
challenging,
on
but once their
it
original
starts
scenes
stripping
are fully
away
reconstructed by other
all
clips.
that protective coating. People
all of
don't
them
really
can be
comprehend
auto-labeled
any of
so
this.
that our cars can drive even better
That's a very
through
bad
these
thing to do
challenging
that.
scenarios.
So Rain-X is not a solution.
Now, let me pass the mic to David to learn more about how Sim is creating the new world on top of these labels. Thank you.
Thank you, Yagen. My name is
people are
David,
leaving.
and
They're
I'm
like,
going to
"We're
talk
done."
about simulation. So simulation plays a critical role in providing data that is difficult to source and or hard to label. However, 3D scenes are notoriously slow to produce. Take, for example, the simulated scene playing behind me.
Where they got permission?
Intersection from Market
They're
Street
just going
in San
around,
Francisco.
putting these
It would
cameras
take
up.
2 weeks for artists to complete.
Tesla's
and for us, that is
Tesla's got fucking
painfully slow.
surveillance cameras on like
However,
every
I'm
damn
gonna
intersection
talk
of
about
this
using
country.
Yagen's automated ground truth labels along with some brand new tooling that allows us to procedurally
Either
generate
that, they're
this
just, like,
scene
stealing
and many like
access
it
to
in
everybody's
just 5 minutes. That's an
camera
amazing
system.
1,000 times faster than before. So let's dive in to how a scene like this is
You
created.
better not show me, man. You're gonna see me fucking going
We
about
start by
150
piping
miles
the
an hour down
automated
the
ground
damn-
truth labels into our simulated world creator
I'm gonna be
tooling
the guy,
inside
just
the
so you know, that
software
screws
Houdini.
up Dojo.
Starting with road boundary labels, we can
I'm gonna be the
generate
guy
a solid
completely
road
fucks the
mesh
whole
and retopologize it with
The way
lane
I
graph
drive,
labels.
that thing's gonna have a
This helps
malfunction.
inform
Even as a
important road
supercomputer
details
doesn't know
like
what the hell to
crossroad
do.
slope and detailed material blending.
I'm just gonna let you all know
Next,
right
we can
now.
use
My
the line
bad.
data and sweep geometry across
I
its
didn't mean
surface
to.
and project it to the road, creating lane paint decals. Next, using median edges, we can spawn island geometry and populate it
Yeah,
with
now show us
randomized
the roads
foliage,
without
which drastically
lines or
changes
lines that
the
are messed up
visibility
or
of the
faded.
scene.
That's where the
Now,
problem
the outside
actually
world
is.
can be generated through a series of randomized heuristics. Modular
Exactly,
building
Rich.
generators create visual obstructions,
These
while
sons of
randomly
bitches,
placed
man.
objects like hydrants can change the color of the
Now
curb,
you know why I buy
while
everything
trees
Tesla,
can
why I have
drop
hundreds
leaves
and
below
hundreds
it,
and hundreds of
obscuring
shares of
lines or
Tesla.
edges.
Because look,
Next,
man,
we
when
can bring
they
in
take
map
over
data
the world,
to inform positions of things like
I'm
traffic,
a share. I'm
traffic
a
lights or stop
decent
signs.
share.
We can trace along its normal to
Leave me
collect
the fuck alone, bro.
important information like number
I
of
think
lanes.
I probably
and even
probably
get
dumped
accurate
$500,000
street names on the
easily
signs
into
themselves.
everything Tesla related.
Next,
easily.
using lane graph, we can determine
Easily
lane
half a mil.
connectivity and spawn directional road markings on
Just
the
leave
road.
me alone. This is
and
why
their
I do it, because I already
accompanying
know,
road
man.
signs.
They're basically Skynet. I'm not.
Finally,
I've told
with
you
lane
guys this
graph
in the
itself,
Discord how many
we can
times.
determine
I
lane
always go,
adjacency
yeah,
and other
Skynet.
useful
I mean
metrics
Tesla.
to spawn
Tesla.
randomized traffic
Tesla.
permutations inside our simulator. And again, this is all automatic, no artists in the loop, and happens within minutes. And now this sets us up to do some pretty cool things. Since everything is based on data and heuristics, we can start to fuzz parameters to create visual variations.
Look at this
of
shit.
the
You're gonna
single
tell me
ground
he's
truth.
not building?
It can be as subtle as object placement and random material swapping to more drastic changes like entirely new
building the
biomes
entire
or
world.
locations of environment, like urban, suburban,
in software
or rural.
form.
This allows us to
Then he's
create
going to
infinite
download everybody's
targeted
consciousness with
permutations
neural
for
links.
specific ground truths
And we're all going
that
to be
we
living
need
in this fucking world.
more ground truth for.
What is that damn show
And
on
all this
Amazon
happens
that's
within
really
a click of
bad?
a button.
The first season was okay. The second season was terrible.
And we can even
Uplink or
take this one
Upload?
step
I think it was
further by
Uplink.
altering our ground
Right?
truth
Or
itself.
Upload. One of the two. I think it's
Say
Upload.
John wants his network to pay more attention to
And
the
so,
directional
like
road
people who are
markings
going to
to
die,
better
or if
detect
they
an
get your
upcoming
consciousness
path of
within
left
so
turn
many
lane.
minutes of your
We
death, they
start
can
to
upload you
procedurally
into a
alter
world.
our lane
That's
graph
what this
inside the
motherfucker's
simulator
creating right
to
here.
help focus-
And this is
to
why I own
create
so many
entirely new
shares
flows
of
through
Tesla.
this intersection
right
to help
here,
focus
man.
the network's attention to the road markings
Oh,
to create
Jesus,
more
I'm
accurate
telling you,
predictions.
bro.
And this is a great example of how this tooling allows us to create new data that could never be
You
collected
keep Tesla
from the real
stock till
world.
2040.
And the true power of this tool
I think even if you had
is in
100
its
shares,
architecture and how we can run all tasks
you're
in
going to have
parallel
about $6
at
million.
infinite scale. So you saw the tile creator tool in action, converting the ground truth labels into their counterparts. Next, we
I
can
know
use our
exactly
tile
what Elon's
extractor
up
tool
to. That's
divide
why
this
he's not
data into
introducing
geohash tiles
anything.
About 150 meters
He wants his
square
engineers to
size.
do it.
We then
So when he
save out that
downloads
data
everybody's
into separate
consciousness into this
geometry and instance
fucking
files.
world he's
This
rendered,
gives
this
us a
rendered
clean
world
source
he's
of data
creating.
That's easy to load and allows us to be rendering engine agnostic for the future. Then, using a tile loader tool, we can summon any number of those cache tiles using a
We're gonna live
geohash
forever
ID.
in this
Currently,
software
we're
right
doing
here.
about
It's gonna be
these 5x5
Tesla software.
tiles or 3x3, usually centered around fleet hotspots.
People,
or
our loved
contesting
ones will
lane
come in
graph
and visit
locations.
us. They'll leave.
The tile loader also converts these tile sets into U assets for consumption by the Unreal Engine and gives you a finished product from what you saw on the first slide.
See, look, they're mapping it out.
This really sets us up for
Fucking
size
mapping
and
it out.
scale. As you can see on the map behind us,
You know, the rich people,
we can easily generate
They're going to
most
live
of
in the
San
darker
Francisco
red
city
areas,
streets.
the poor
This
people in the
didn't
light.
take years or even months of work, but rather 2 weeks by one person. We can continue to manage and grow all this data.
Those little blue
using our
markers are
PDG
access
network
points
inside
to where our
the
loved
tooling.
ones can come visit
This
us.
allows us to throw compute at it and regenerate all these tile sets overnight.
I know exactly what's going down,
This
bro. Mark
ensures
my
all
fucking words
environments
30
are
years from now.
consistent, quality,
Remember this
and
day.
features, which is super
Save this
important
video
for
for 30
training,
years from now.
since new ontologies and signals are constantly released. And now, to come full circle, because we generated all these tile sets from ground truth
You're
data,
from the real world.
contain
Come
all
on,
the weird
say it.
intricacies from the real world, and we can combine that with the procedural, visual, and traffic variety.
This is
to create
Neuralink,
limitless,
boys and girls.
targeted
Neuralink
data
is going to take
for the
our
network
consciousness
to learn from.
and it's going to put us into Tesla's
And that
world.
concludes the
And that's
swim
how
section.
he's going to
I'll
combine
pass it to
those two
Kate
companies.
to talk about how we can use all this data to improve autopilot. Thank you.
That girl walks with a weird stride, bro. Her legs, her body's like here in her legs. She's walking like the
David.
fucking
Hi,
Optimus.
everyone.
Are we
My
sure
name is
she's
Kate
not like
Park,
Gen
and
4
I'm
of
here
the
to talk about
Optimus?
the data engine, which is the process by which we improve our neural networks via data. We're going to show you how we deterministically solve interventions via data and walk you through the life of this particular clip. In this scenario, autopilot is approaching a turn and incorrectly predicts that crossing vehicle as stopped for traffic,
slowing down
and
for
thus
that
a vehicle
vehicle?
that we would slow down for.
Are you talking about ghost
In
braking?
reality, there's nobody in the car. It's just awkwardly parked. We've built this tooling to identify the mispredictions, correct the label, and categorize this clip into an evaluation set. This particular clip happens to be one of 126.
I swear to
that
God,
we've
she's
diagnosed
Optimus
as
Gen
challenging
4.
parked cars
I'm
at
fucking
turns.
telling you, bro.
Because of this
These are
insight,
all
we
robots,
can
just so you
curate
know.
this
What they're
evaluation
introducing
set
and what they're
without any
utilizing are two
engineering
different
resources custom to this particular challenge.
She's moving like the Optimus.
To actually solve that challenge,
Watch her hands, they
case
shake
requires
too.
mining
They
thousands
still
of
haven't
examples
mastered.
like it.
They still
And
haven't
it's
mastered
something
the
Tesla
deadening of
can trivially do.
vibrations.
We simply use our data
Not even
sourcing
in Gen
infra,
4.
request data, and use the tooling shown previously to correct the labels. By surgically targeting
Hey, at least
the
this is
mispredictions of the
not like
current
Apple,
model,
where they all
we're
stand
only
like
adding
this.
the most valuable examples
They were
in
all
our
trained. If you ever watch Apple, they're all trained to
We
choose
surgically fix 13,900
between these two
clips.
stances.
And
There you have
because
this
those were
stance,
examples where the current
and you have
model
this stance.
struggles, we
This
don't
is
even
what they
need
do.
to change
The
the
entire
model
thing
architecture.
for 2 hours. Apple
A simple weight
keynotes.
update with this new
Go
valuable
check it
data
out.
is enough to solve
No
the challenge
bullshit.
case. So you see, we no longer predict that crossing vehicle as stopped, as shown in orange, but parked.
And just so
as
you
shown in
all
red.
are aware, Elon did not rule out the possibility
often
of
see that
Optimus
people keep data
also
constant.
having
But at Tesla, it's very much the
six-bot
opposite.
attributes.
We see time and
I
time
think
and
this
again
this might
that
be
data
the
is one
sex.
of the best, if not the most deterministic
This
lever
might be the
to
Gen
solving
4,
these
Gen 5 sex bot. I'm just saying, man. Mark my
just
words,
showed you
10
the
years from
data
now, you're going to
engine
see
loop
and
for
be like, oh
one
my God,
challenge,
he was
namely
right.
these parked cars
He's
at
going to be like,
turns.
you remember
But there
back
are
in
many challenges
2022
even for
when we
one signal of
introduced
vehicle movement. We apply this
the
data
working
engine
version
to every
of
single
Optimus.
challenge
You
we
didn't
see
know
diagnosed,
this, but there was
whether
a
it's
girl in
buses,
that
curvy roads, stopped
during that
vehicles, parking lots. And we don't just
keynote.
add data once. We do this again and again.
That was
to
our
perfect the
sex bot,
semantics.
Gen 4.
In fact, this year we updated
You
our
didn't know it
vehicle
then, you
movement
don't know it
signal
now. That's all.
5 times, and with every weight update trained on the new data, we push our vehicle movement.
Yeah, that's got
accuracy
Rich
up and
excited.
up.
We know that. Rich
This
is going to
data
buy 2.
engine framework applies to all our signals.
One to keep his wife
whether they're
occupied, one to
3D,
keep himself
multicam video, whether the data is human labeled, auto labeled, or simulated, whether it's an offline model or an online model. And Tesla's
Look
able
at the
to
bottom
do
left
this at
corner. Oh, you
scale
can't see it. He's
because of the
chasing the
fleet
car.
advantage,
Damn it.
the infra that our engine
Bastard,
has
the car is
built,
literally
and
chasing
the
the guy.
labeling
Look.
resources that
The
feed
car's
our
chasing the
network.
guy.
To train on all this data, we need a massive amount of compute. So I'll
run.
hand it
Look,
off
there it
to
is.
Pete and Ganesh to talk about the
There
Dojo
it comes.
supercomputing
Ready?
platform. Thank
There,
you.
right there. Look, he's chasing the guy down, man. He's trying to run him over, bro. What the hell is happening in this AI day?
Thanks, everybody.
Dojo.
Thanks for
Listen,
hanging
unless
in
you're
there.
going to
We're
show me
almost
the
there.
damn Cybertruck, we're not almost there.
My name is Pete Bannon. I run the custom silicon and low voltage teams at Tesla.
I do like Dojo's logo.
Ganesh Venkat. I
It's
run
very
the Dojo
pretty.
program.
It reminds me of DMC, DeLorean Motor Company.
Thank you. I'm frequently asked, why is a car company building a supercomputer for training?
Dojo, because
And this
that's
question
their
fundamentally
Dojo for the bots
misunderstands
that are gonna, have sleep with us and
the
murder
nature of
us.
Tesla. At its
Hopefully
heart,
in that
Tesla
order.
is a hardcore technology company.
It's gonna get real
All
creepy if
across
they go in the
company,
opposite
people people are working hard in
Murderous
science
med
and
sleep
engineering. to advance the fundamental understanding and
I've been watching too many horror
methods
movies
that we
for
have
Halloween.
available to build cars,
My brain's in a whole
energy
different world.
solutions, robots, and anything else that we can do to improve the human condition
poor guy
around the world.
seems so nervous.
It's a super exciting thing to be a part of, and it's
It
a
seems like
privilege
he might
to
be
run
really
a very
intelligent,
small
but lacks
piece of it in the
confidence.
semiconductor group.
And
Tonight
I feel
we're
like
going to talk
Elon's
a
like,
little
just
bit about
get out there, you're going to build
Dojo
confidence.
and give you an
It's gonna
update
be like
on
kicking
what we've
you in
been
the
able to
water
do over the
going to
last
swim.
year. But before we do that, I wanted to give a little bit of background on the initial design that we started a few years ago.
He's got his Apple Watch
When we got
on.
started, the goal was to
Oh,
provide a
Jesus,
substantial
why?
improvement
Don't do it.
to the training latency for
What's on
our
his left
autopilot
wrist?
team. Some of the largest neural networks they train today run for over a month,
Does
which
he have
inhibits
the,
their ability to rapidly
annual pass for Disney on his
explore
left wrist?
alternatives and
On his
evaluate
left
them.
wrist.
So, you know, a 30x speed up would be really nice if we could provide it
There's this
at a
really
cost
awkward
competitive and energy
pixel
competitive
behind
way.
the camera.
To do that, we wanted to build a chip with a lot of arithmetic units
just on my
that we could
TV.
utilize at a very high efficiency. And we spent a lot of time studying whether we could do that using DRAM.
Dude, I really like
various
this shirt,
packaging
man. I
ideas,
gotta get one of these shirts.
All of which failed.
I keep,
And in the
just so
end,
you know,
even
when
though
you
it felt
see me
a
like moving my
natural
hands,
act,
I
we
am
decided to reject
doing what you think
DRAM
I'm
as the
doing. I am
primary
over
storage
on
medium for this system, and instead focus on SRAM.
over on the
embedded in
website,
chip.
and I'm hitting refresh
SRAM
looking for
provides,
the Optimus shirt
unfortunately,
to
a
come up in the
modest amount
store
of
for
capacity, but
Dogecoin.
extremely high bandwidth and very low latency, and that enables us to achieve high utilization with the arithmetic units. Those choices, that particular choice led to a whole bunch of other choices.
I have no
For
clue why I'm on
example,
stage,
if you want to
man.
have virtual
I
memory,
deal with
you
the
need page tables that
technical
take up a lot of space. We
hardware,
didn't have space, so no
and,
virtual memory. We also
I was
don't
not
have
prepared for
interrupts.
this. This
The
belt he's
accelerator
got on, I
is
can't tell, is that a metal
bare bones
magnetic
raw
belt?
piece of hardware.
Am I
that's
crazy?
presented
I
to
just came up with a
compiler,
cool
and the
idea if that's
compiler
not what
is
that is.
responsible for scheduling
Like a fucking
everything
belt
that
that's
happens
metal
in a
that just magnet,
deterministic
and you
way.
can adjust the
So there's
size. How
no need or
badass
even
would that be?
desire for interrupts
We'll put a
in the
processor
system.
in it, and then
We also
we'll
chose
hook it up to the
pursue,
Optimus, and then it can just
model
easily
parallelism
murder us.
as a training
tighten up.
methodology, which is not the typical situation. Most machines today use data parallelism, which consumes additional memory capacity, which we obviously don't have.
I do
So
want this shirt.
all of those choices
Somebody find me this
led
shirt.
us to build a machine
I need an
that
Optimus
is
shirt by
pretty
Monday.
radically different
Make it happen,
from what's
people.
available today.
You guys are better at that than me.
We also had a whole bunch of other goals. One of the most
I keep
important ones
clicking
was no
refresh on
limits.
the store
so
on
we wanted
Tesla,
to
I'm
build
not
a
even
compute
joking.
fabric that would scale in an unbounded way.
I just,
for the
because
most
I'm
part.
telling
I
you,
mean,
man, they're going to
obviously
put one up
there's
there,
physical limits.
and they're going to be sold out faster than I can blink.
You know, pretty
I know
much
exactly
if your
how
model
this
was
game's
too big
played.
for the
I've
computer,
dealt with
you just
Tesla
have
for a
to go buy
very
a
long
bigger
time,
computer.
especially the
That's what
apparel
we were looking
section.
for. Today, the way machines
Store
are
section,
packaged,
definitely.
there's a pretty fixed ratio of, for example, GPUs, CPUs, and DRAM capacity and network capacity. And we really wanted to disaggregate all that so that as models evolved, we could vary the ratios of
I
those
already
various
asked
elements
the Optimus
and make the
bot
system more flexible to meet
account
the
on
needs
Twitter how to
of
get the shirt.
autopilot
Oh,
team.
get me the shirt, bro.
Yeah,
Wait, there's an
and
Optimus
so
bot?
true, Pete, like no limits
No, there's
philosophy
not. Don't you
was
lie
our
to me.
guiding star.
Making me
All
go
the
to
way.
Twitter.
All of our
I feel
choices
like a clown.
were centered around that. And to the point that we didn't want traditional data center infrastructure to limit our capacity to execute these programs at speed.
Optimus don't want you
So
talking,
that's why
bro. Oh, that band. See that red band? His is red. I think that's a band, a VIP band, because only the engineers have them.
Data center.
Now you got. Now I'm fucking
Entire
talking
data
like this,
center
like this is an Apple keynote
doing a
event.
vertical integration of the data center, we could extract new levels of efficiency. We could optimize power delivery.
Somebody
cooling,
tweeted at me,
and
will
as
we
well
get
as
the new
management
T-shirt when we
across
order the book?
whole
Haha,
data
dumb
stack,
enough to. Oh
rather
yeah,
than doing
okay.
box
I'll do
by
that for
box
NFT
and
holders.
integrating those boxes into data centers. And to do this,
NFT holders get the
we
shirt.
also wanted to
Dumb enough to
integrate
walk out in
early
front of a car, dumb enough to
figure out
die.
limits of scale,
It's gonna happen,
for
I'm
our
telling you.
software workloads.
I've
So we
made dumber
integrated
shirts,
Dojo
trust me.
environment into our autopilot software very early, and we learned a lot of lessons. And today, Bill Chang, will go over
Optimus, Dojo's already got his
hardware
number.
as well
He's like,
as
I don't want to hear this guy talk. He's got him muted. His fucking audio is turned down. His audio is as low as the damn
give you a glimpse of
live stream
compiler
was
technology,
earlier.
as well as go over.
All right, so if you're an NFT holder in the Discord, yeah, and okay, so we're gonna do this. If you're an NFT holder in the Discord and you purchase the book that's coming out,
Thanks, Pete.
go into the NFT Lifetime chat room, Show me
I'll
proof
start
you
tonight
bought the
with,
book,
a
and I'll send you
high-level
the shirt
vision
that
of our
says,
system
if you're dumb
that
enough to
will-
walk out in front of a
that'll help
Tesla,
set
you
the
deserve to
stage
die.
for the challenges and the problems we're
I'm
solving.
going to put the Tesla
And
logo.
then also how
Elon won't give a
software
shit.
will then
I'm going to put the
leverage this for
Tesla logo.
performance.
Boom. Boom.
Now,
just right there,
our
and write it
vision for
across
Dojo is
the.
to build a
You go, I
single
want everybody to
unified
wear it
card,
to your
a very
kids'
large one.
orientation
Software
day
would
at school.
see a seamless compute plane.
This way,
with
you're teaching
globally
all the kids a
addressable,
valuable
very
lesson
fast
on how to
memory,
walk
and
across
all
the street
connected
properly
together
and not
with
get ran
uniform,
over
high
and
bandwidth,
die.
and low latency.
This is going
Now,
to be
to
great.
realize
I
this,
already got ideas for the
we
shirt
need to
flowing
use
through my brain right
density
now.
to
This is
achieve
happening.
performance.
This is fucking happening.
Now we leverage technology
I'm gonna
to
wear
get
it
this
in all my
density in order
fucking
to
live
break
streams
levels
from
of
now on.
hierarchy all the way from
Tesla
the chip
logo.
to the scale out.
Dumb enough to walk out in front
Now,
of a car.
silicon technology
you
has,
deserve to die.
has done this for decades. Chips have followed Moore's law for density and integration to get performance scaling.
Sold on that idea. Whoever
Now, a
tweeted
key
that.
step
today.
in realizing that vision
I'm just
was
kicking
our
it up a
training
notch for
card.
NFT holders only.
Not only can we integrate 25
They
dies
get a lot of
at
benefits.
extremely high bandwidth,
Wait till Christmas and they get their airdrop. These NFT holders. There's only 2 NFTs left.
By just connecting them together.
You can get them at thedailyinvestor.net.
Now, last year,
This airdrop,
we showcased
literally,
our
I'm going to
first
tell everybody a
functional
secret.
training
Yeah, this
tile.
airdrop, I'm
And at
literally
that time,
giving
we
them the
already
gift
had
of
workloads
gold.
running on it.
Literal fucking gold. I'm going to mail them
And
gold.
since then, the team here has been working.
This is going to teach
hard
everybody a lesson for waiting to the
diligently
last minute to buy the
deploy
last
this
2
at
NFT.
scale. Now, we've made amazing
But you have to
progress
have the
and had
NFT
a lot of
before the
milestones
airdrop to
along the
get it.
way. And of
Sorry,
course, we've
folks.
had a lot of unexpected challenges.
I spoiled the
But this
surprise.
is where
Everybody
our
knows the
fail
gift now
fast
for NFT
philosophy
holders.
has allowed us
Literal
to push our
gold. I'm
boundaries.
literally sending them gold. No bullshit.
Now, pushing density for performance.
I've been looking
presents
at
all
molds
new
to try to
challenges.
get the
One area is power delivery.
Discord
Here,
logo
we need to
put on
deliver
it.
the power to our compute die.
I think the molds are going to be
and
way
this
too expensive,
directly
so I'm just getting
impacts
little
our
bricks of
top-line
gold and
compute
sending it to all the NFT holders for Christmas.
But we need to do this at unprecedented density.
Yeah, that's how nice of a fucking
we
guy
need
I
to be
am.
able to match our
I'm
die
a dick,
pitch
but I try to make
with a
up for
power
it in other
density of
ways, like the
almost 1 amp
NFT
per millimeter
airdrop.
squared.
Makes me feel better
And
about
because
being
of
a
the
dick.
extreme integration, this needs to be a multi-tiered vertical power solution. And because there's a complex heterogeneous material stack-up, we have to carefully manage the material transition.
Look, they're making their.
Especially.
Here we go.
CPE.
This is exactly what I want to know.
Now, why does the coefficient of thermal expansion matter in this case? CTE is a fundamental material property. And if it's not carefully managed, that stack up would literally rip itself apart.
Reduced it by 54%, bro.
So we started this effort by
we did.
working with vendors to develop this power solution.
See, they're already
But we
developing this shit
realized that we
in-house. Just
actually
make
had
the
to develop
computer,
this in-house.
make the phone,
Now, to
make the
balance
tablet.
schedule
We
and
already
risk,
have a Tesla
we
tablet in our
built quick
Tesla cars,
iterations
bro.
to support both
Just
our
let us
system
pull it
bring up
out of the
and
car
software
and take it with.
development, and also to find the optimal
also have this.
design
It's already
and
looks like a
stack-up that would
Tesla.
meet our final production goals. And in the end, we were able to reduce CTE over 50% and meet our performance by 3x over our initial version. Now, needless to say, finding this optimal material stack-up while maximizing performance at density is extremely difficult. Now, we did have unexpected challenges along the way. Here's an example where we pushed the boundaries of integration that led to component failures.
For those wanting to know,
This
what a
started
Tesla
when we
phone would
scaled
look
up to
like.
larger and longer workloads, and then intermittently, a single site on a tile would fail. Now, they started
That's
out
what
as
it would-
recoverable failures, but as we pushed to much higher and higher power, these would become permanent failures.
I mean, Jesus, this isn't complicated.
Now,
you
to
already got the
understand this
basic
failure,
design
you
for
have
it.
to
You already
understand
just let us like
why
pull the
and
tablet out
how
of the damn
we
car.
build
We
our
can
power
walk around
modules.
with it and shit.
Solving density at
just
every
call it a
level
day.
is the cornerstone
How
of
fucking
actually
awesome would
achieving
that
our
be?
system performance. Now, because our XY plane is used for high bandwidth communication, everything
What if I
else
wanna
must be
stack it
stacked vertically. This means all other
Diagonally,
components,
Bob.
other than our die, must be
Can I
integrated into our
combine the
power
vertical and the diagonal?
now that includes our clock and our power supplies,
a design?
and also our system controllers. Now, in this case, the failures were due to losing clock output from our
Probably
oscillator.
keep an eye on my Twitter since everybody seems to be tweeting me
And
today.
after an extensive debug,
we found that the root cause was due to vibrations on the module from piezoelectric effects on nearby capacitors. Now, singing caps are not a new phenomenon, and in fact, very common in power design. But normally, clock chips are placed in a very quiet area of the board and often not affected by power circuits. But because we needed to achieve this level of integration, these oscillators need to be placed in very close proximity. Now, due to our switching frequency and then the vibration resonance created,
I have a farmer
it caused out-of-plane
that's in the
vibration
Discord,
on our MEMS
and,
oscillator that caused it to crack.
He's going to send me a cow
Now, the
that
solution to
produces
this
chocolate
problem
milk
is a multi-prong approach.
and knows how to
We can
swim.
reduce the vibration by using
I
soft
want to fill my
terminal
pool
caps.
up with chocolate milk and swim in it. As gross as
We
that
can
sounds,
update
it's
our
also
MEMS part with a
seems
lower Q
enjoyable
factor
at the same
for the
time.
out-of-plane direction. And we can also update our switching frequency to push the resonance further away from these sensitive bands.
Elon Musk is backstage tweeting right
Now,
now, just so you know.
to the density at
Elon
the
Musk
system
is
level,
he's
we've
taking
been making
pictures
a lot of
with the
progress
damn
at the infrastructure
Optimus.
level.
I'm going to try to
We
share it
knew
with
that
you
we
guys.
had to
Hold on.
re-examine every aspect of the data center infrastructure in order to support our unprecedented
Everybody's
power
asking if
and
they have
cooling
women
density.
like this robot on Mars. Sign me.
We brought in a fully custom designed CDU to support Dojo's dense cooling
talking about
requirements.
Jesse.
And the
They're
amazing
talking
part
about
is we're
Jesse.
able to
Oh,
do
Jesus,
this at a fraction of the cost versus buying off
I'm
the
claiming
shelf
dibs on
and
her.
modifying.
Fuck off.
And since our Dojo cabinet integrates enough power and cooling to match an entire row of standard IT racks, we need
Right
to
there,
carefully
there he
design
is.
our cabinet and infrastructure
He's
together.
backstage taking posing pictures.
And we've
with
already
Optimus
gone through
right now,
several
just so you
iterations
know.
of this cabinet to optimize this. And earlier this year, we started load testing our power and cooling infrastructure. And we were able to push it over 2 megawatts before we tripped our substation and got a call from the city. Now, last year, we introduced only a couple of components of our system. The
Naturally,
custom
there
D1
will be
die
a
and
cat
the
girl
training
version
pile,
of
but we
our
teased the
Optimus.
exopod as our end goal. We'll walk through the remaining parts of our system that are required to build out this exopod. Now, the system tray is a key part of realizing our vision of a single accelerator. It enables us to seamlessly connect tiles together, not only within the cabinet, but between cabinets. We can connect these tiles at very tight spacing across the entire accelerator, and this is how we achieve our uniform communication. This is a laminated bus bar that allows us to integrate very high power, mechanical and thermal support, and an extremely dense integration. It's 75 millimeters in height and supports 6 tiles at 135 kilograms. This is the equivalent of 3 to 4 fully loaded high-performance racks.
PCIe host interface.
Next, we need to feed data to the training tiles. This is where we've developed the Dojo interface processor. It provides our system with high bandwidth DRAM to stage our training data. And it provides full memory bandwidth to our training tiles using
50
TTP,
gigabyte a second
our
Ethernet
custom protocol that we use to communicate across our entire accelerator. It also has high-speed Ethernet that helps us extend this custom protocol over standard Ethernet. And we provide native hardware support for this with little to no software overhead. And lastly, we can connect to it
Optimus
through
shirt, bro.
a standard Gen 4 PCIe interface. Now, we pair 20 of these cards per tray, and that gives us 640 gigabytes of high bandwidth DRAM. And this provides our disaggregated memory layer for our training tiles. These cards are our high bandwidth ingest path, both through PCIe and Ethernet. They also provide a high radix Z connectivity path that allows shortcuts across our large Dojo accelerator. Now, we actually integrate the host directly underneath our system tray. These hosts provide our ingest processing and connect to our interface processors through PCIe. These hosts can provide hardware video decoder support for video-based training. And our user
I
applications
asked
land
Elon
on
if I
these
can
hosts.
acquire
that
one of these
we
Optimus
can
shirts.
provide them with the standard
I'll even pay
x86
Doge
Linux
coin
environment.
for it.
Now we can put 2 of these assemblies into one cabinet and pair it with redundant power supplies that do direct conversion of 3-phase 480-volt AC power to 52-volt
Exapod. That's
DC
what they're going to
power.
put us in. They take our consciousness.
Now, by focusing on
Exapod.
density at every level,
This is what's going
we
to be
can
implemented in our
realize the
brain.
vision of a single
These chips.
accelerator. Now, starting with the uniform nodes on
We'll
our
all be
custom
connected
D1
together.
die,
I'm just translating, man.
we can connect
We're all
them
gonna be
together
connected
in our
together
fully
in the
integrated training
software.
tile. And then
This is
finally,
it, man. That's the server
seamlessly
where
connecting
all our
them
consciousness
across cabinet
are
boundaries
stored.
to form our Dojo accelerator. And altogether, we
we're
can
in trouble.
house 2 full accelerators in our exapod for a combined 1 exaflop of ML compute.
In serious trouble.
Now, altogether, this amount of technology and integration has only ever been done a couple of times in the history of compute.
Now, if we're
Next,
uploaded
we'll see how
into the
software can leverage
Exapod,
this to accelerate
how
their
exactly
performance.
do they upgrade that? That's the question. Do they transfer us onto like a backup drive or backup server, upgrade, and then transfer our consciousness back?
My name is Rajiv, and I'm going to talk some numbers.
That's the question I have.
So our software stack begins with the PyTorch extension that speaks to our commitment to run standard PyTorch models out of the box. We're going to talk more about our JIT compiler and the ingest pipeline that feeds the hardware with data. Abstractly, performance is TOPS times utilization times accelerator occupancy. We've seen how the hardware provides peak performance. It's the job of the compiler to extract utilization from the hardware while code is running on it. And it's the job of the ingest pipeline to make sure that data can be fed at a throughput high enough for the hardware to not ever starve. So let's talk about why communication-bound models are difficult to scale. So before that, let's look at why ResNet 50-like models are easier to scale. You start off with a single accelerator, run the forward and backward passes, followed by the optimizer. Then to scale this up, we run multiple copies of this on multiple accelerators. And while the gradients produced by the backward pass do need to be reduced, and this introduces some communication, this can be done pipeline with the backward pass. This setup
I'm still
scales
kind of
fairly
like
well.
mind blown that Tesla
For models
Optimus
with much
bot
larger
advanced
activations, we run
that
into a
much in
problem as
6
soon
to,
as we
like
wanna
6
run
to
the
8
forward
miles. That's
pass.
absolutely fucking crazy.
The batch size
man.
that fits in a single accelerator is often smaller
I
than
can't
the
even
batch
imagine
mode
what the hell that bot's going to do in like 2 years.
So to get around this, researchers
I mean, we all
typically
know
run the
sex
setup
bot,
on
but other than the
multiple
sex bot
accelerators
part,
in sync
well,
batch
what
mode.
else is it going to do?
This introduces
2 to 3
latency-bound
years.
communication to the critical path of the forward pass, and we
You
already
have
have
a
a
permanent.
communication.
You know what? Thinking about that, under 20,000. Let's
And
just
while
say
there
it's
are ways to get around
20,000
this,
plus.
they
Let's
usually
just
involve
round it up to
tedious manual
25K.
work, best
You
suited
know
for
what?
a compiler.
25K. You buy a
And
sex
ultimately,
bot.
there's no skirting around the fact
We're gonna get
that
the
if your
serious
state does not fit
moment
in
here.
a single accelerator, you can't be communication bound.
25K. Do you understand?
Even with
25K to have
significant
a
efforts from our ML engineers, we see such
companion
models
that
don't scale
will
linearly.
have sex. Let's just say
The
24/7.
Dojo system was
Never
built to make
nags,
such
never
models
needs
work
X,
at
Y,
high
Z.
utilization.
Doesn't need anything,
High-density integration
and everything is a
was
slave
built
to
not
your
only
every
accelerate the compute-bound
command.
portions of a model,
Do you
but
understand
also
like
the
how much like
latency-bound
even a
portions,
girlfriend
like a
costs
batch
for
norm,
like
or
just
the
5?
bandwidth-bound portions, like a
I think
gradient all reduced or a parameter
not only
all
does the
gathered.
Optimus sex bot sound better than a woman,
A slice of the
it
Dojo
sounds
mesh
cheaper
can be carved out to run any
I'm
model.
just saying, I'm just putting it out there.
The only
you know?
thing users need to do is to
Just
make the
saying.
slice large enough to fit a batch room surface for their particular model. After that, the partition presents itself as one large accelerator, freeing the users from having to worry about the internal details
So the
of
crowd
execution.
doesn't understand any of this. I
And
think
it's the
they were
job
here
of the
thinking it was
compiler
going to be
to
like
maintain this abstraction.
another AI day where
Fine-grained
they're sitting there
synchronization
showing
primitives
off
in uniform low latency
Cybertrucks
makes
and
it
shit.
easy to accelerate all forms of parallelism across
I watched
integration.
the mainstream from
Tensors are
Tesla
usually
go from
stored sharded in
96,000 to
nested
like
and replicated just in time for
68,000 or
layers
some shit
execution.
like that. It might be
We
back up
depend
now,
on
but
the
it was down to
high
like
Dojo
68,000,
bandwidth
something
to
like that.
hide this replication time. Tensor replication and other data transfers.
I still think they're giving
are
away too
overlapped with
much
compute,
information, but
and
that's
the
just me.
compiler
Oh, here
can
we
also
go.
recompute layers when it's profitable.
The
to do so.
Cybertruck on Mars. Now we're talking.
We expect
Come on,
most
show
models
us
to
what
work
we
out
want
of
to
the
see.
box. As an
Come on.
example, we took the recently
Show
released
me.
Stable Diffusion model
Who's a good
and
girl?
got it running on Dojo in minutes.
Show Daddy.
Out of the box,
Show
the
Daddy
compiler
the
was able to
the
map it
finalized
in a model parallel
version
manner
of the
on 25 Dojo dies. Here's some pictures of a Cybertruck on
Look,
Mars.
all I want is a sex bot and a
generated by Stable
Cybertruck.
Diffusion running on Dojo. Looks.
No, they're not reporters because they to get into this, you had to own a Tesla, and if you owned a Tesla, you received an email. I posted the email, a screenshot of the email in the Discord if you missed it in the Tesla section.
Bottlenecks can hamper scalability.
And you reply to it,
Acid test of a compiler
and the first X amount of people get the ticket. Of course, you got to fly yourself out there and all that. You know, no
Like mentioned
expenses
before,
paid.
this
This
can be a
isn't
serial
John
bottleneck.
Hammond of
The
Jurassic
communication
Park.
phase of a batch run begins with nodes computing the local mean
So no, these
and
are all
standard
Tesla
deviations.
owners in the
And
audience.
coordinating to reduce
And
these
that's what I
values,
was saying. I think
then
they were there like, oh
broadcasting
my
these
God,
values
we
back,
get to see
and
Cybertruck
then
and
they resume
Optimus
their
and
work in
Dojo and the
parallel.
Roadster and nope, this
So
is
what would
a
an
software
ideal batch run
conference.
look like on 25 Dojo dies?
Hey, I'd be happy to be there.
Let's say the
What was that
previous
girl's name?
activations
Jessie?
are already split across dies.
I'm just saying.
We would expect the 350 nodes on each die to coordinate
Intelligence
and,
and
produce
looks,
die
you
local
can't
mean
go
and standard
wrong.
deviation values.
It's rare, bro. Leave me alone.
Ideally, these would get
I've
further
never
reduced
seen it
with
like
the
one
final
other
value
time.
being somewhere
My
towards
ex
the
from
middle of
the
tile.
2000s, she
We
was
would then
hot,
hope
but
to
she
see
was
a
also
broadcast of this value
a
radiating from the center.
biologist for UCF,
Let's see how the
scientist,
compiler
layman
actually
terms.
executes a real batch RAM operation across 25 dice. The communication trees
intelligent.
were extracted from the compiler, and the
Very
timing
hot.
is from a real
That's the only
hardware
other
one.
time I've seen it.
We're about to see
Just saying, bro.
8,750 nodes.
I gotta
on 25
go out to
dies
California and
coordinating
find
to
Jess.
reduce and then broadcast the batch RAM mean and
I'm not
standard
stalking
deviation.
nobody. She's cute. Leave me alone, bro. Leave me
Die
fucking
local
alone.
reduction.
You
followed
never
by
hear me
global
ever talk
reduction
about women being cute,
towards
all
the
right?
middle
This
of
is
the
this is
tie,
my one get out of jail free.
and the reduced value broadcast radiating from the middle, accelerated by the hardware's broadcast facility. This operation
I'd
takes
pay
only
25K for
5
companion I can
microseconds
turn
on
off when I'm
25
fed
Dojo
up
dice.
with having a
The
companion.
same operation
That's
takes
funny.
150 microseconds on 24 GPUs.
Brains and beauty.
This is an
Hey, I like
orders of
curly
magnitude
hair.
improvement over GPUs.
I like curly hair. I like
And while
curly
we talked
hair.
about
women.
an all-reduced operation
To
in
find
the
an
context of a
intelligent
batch
woman with
norm,
curly hair,
it's
oh,
important
damn,
to reiterate
now
that the
you're
same
now
advantages
your odds are
apply
going.
to all
you know,
other communication
way down.
primitives. And these primitives are essential for large-scale
And yes,
training.
as I said, I overanalyzed everything. She wasn't
So how
wearing
about
a wedding
full model performance? So while we think that the ResNet 50 is not a
I
good
don't know, man.
representation of real-world
Don't mind me.
Tesla workloads, it is a standard
got sex
benchmark,
bot on the
so
mind.
let's start there. We are already
And
able to
I got
match day
a
100
farmer
die
in my
for die.
Discord who's
However,
promising
perhaps a
this
hint of
fucking cow
Dojo's
that can,
capabilities
you know, he's going
is
to
that
send me
we're
a cow
able
that
to
can
hit this
actually
number
produce chocolate
with just a
milk.
batch
I
of
haven't
8
seen it
per
yet,
die.
but he claims it exists.
But Dojo was really built to tackle larger, complex models. So when we set out to tackle real-world workloads, we looked at the usage patterns of our current GPU cluster. And 2 models stood out: the auto-labeling networks, a class of offline models that are used to generate ground truth, and the occupancy networks that you heard about. The auto-labeling networks are large models that have high arithmetic intensity, while the occupancy networks can be ingest bound. We chose these models because together they account for a large chunk of our current GPU cluster usage, and they would challenge the system in different ways.
A Tesla factory
So how do we do on
worker
these 2 networks?
alleges
The results
sexual
we're about to see
harassment.
were measured on multi-die systems for
This was
both
like
the
6 months
GPU
ago.
and Dojo,
Damn it,
but normalized
everybody's
to 4
after
die
Jesse.
nodes.
Couldn't help
On
it.
our
I know
auto-labeling
myself,
network, we're already able to surpass the performance of an A100 with our current hardware running on our older generation VRMs. On our production hardware with our newer VRMs, that translates to doubling the throughput of an A100. And our model showed that with some key compiler optimizations, we could get to more than 3x the performance of an A100. We see even bigger leaps on the occupancy network. Almost 3x with our production hardware. With
There's
room
like
for
6
more.
people clapping. I think. Everybody's wondering where Jesse went.
So what does that mean for Tesla? With our current level of compiler performance, we could replace
He's like,
the
I don't
ML
know. I
compute
got to
of
count them as they show up
1,
on screen.
2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 GPU boxes with just a single Dojo
Now,
top.
what can that mine for Bitcoin? You very well. That's why Elon really built this damn
And this
supercomputer.
Dojo
He's gonna
costs less
fucking
than
mine the
one of
hell out of
these GPU
Bitcoin and finish it off. I want him to run
What
it for like
really
24
means is
hours.
that
Just let's see how
networks
much
that
he
took
can
more than a
mine.
month to train now take less than a week. Alas, when we measured things, it did not turn out so well.
Jesus,
At
dying.
the PyTorch level, we did not see our expected performance out of the gate. And this timeline chart shows our problem. The teeny tiny little green bars, that's the compile code running on the accelerator. The row is mostly white space where the hardware is just waiting for data. With our dense ML compute, Dojo hosts effectively have 10x more ML compute than the GPU hosts. The data loaders running on this one host simply couldn't keep up with all that ML hardware. So to solve our data loader scalability issues, we knew we had to get over the limit of this single host. The Tesla Transport Protocol moves data seamlessly across host, tiles, and ingest processors. So we extended the Tesla Transport Protocol to work over Ethernet.
Optimus
we
is
then built the
born.
Dojo network interface card, the DNIC, to leverage TTP over Ethernet. This allows any host with a DNIC card to be able to DMA to and from other TTP endpoints. So we started with the Dojo mesh. Then we added a tier of data loading hosts equipped with the DNIC card. We connected these hosts to the mesh via an Ethernet switch. Now every host in this data loading tier is capable of reaching all TTP endpoints in the Dojo mesh via hardware-accelerated DMA.
Let's see what crappy stocks
After
I still own that I should sell at a loss for some more Tesla. Bro, I've been telling you guys in that Discord for over a year when to buy
so
Tesla.
The data loading sections have reduced.
I don't know what to tell you.
The data loading sections have reduced drastically, and the ML hardware is kept busy. We actually expect this number to go to 100% pretty soon. After these changes went in, we saw the full expected speed up from the PyTorch layer, and we were back in business. So we started with hardware design that breaks through traditional integration boundaries in service of our vision of a single giant accelerator. We've seen how the compiler and ingest layers build on top of that hardware. So after proving our performance on these complex real-world networks, we knew what our first large-scale deployment would target, our high arithmetic intensity auto-labeling networks. Today, that occupies 4,000 GPUs over 72 GPU racks. With our dense compute and our high performance, we expect to provide the same throughput with just 4 Dojo cabinets. And these 4 Dojo cabinets will be part of our first exapod that we plan to build by Q1 of 2023. This will more than double Tesla's auto-labeling capacity. The first exapod is part of a total of 7 exapods that we plan to build in Palo Alto right here across the wall. And we have a display cabinet from one of these exapods for everyone to look at. 6 tiles densely packed on a tray, 54 petaflops of compute, 640 gigabytes of high bandwidth memory with power and host to feed it. A lot of compute. And we're building out new versions of all our cluster components and constantly improving our software to hit new limits of scale. We believe that we can get another 10x improvement with our next generation hardware. And to realize our ambitious goals, we need the best software and hardware engineers. So please come talk to us or visit tesla.com/AI. Thank you.
Let me know what
the... All right, so we, hopefully that was enough detail. Now we can move to questions. Guys, like I think the team can come out on stage, and we really wanted to show the depth and breadth of Tesla in artificial intelligence, compute hardware, robotics actuators, and try to really shift the perception of the company away from, a lot of people think we're like just a car company or we make cool cars, whatever, but they don't have, most people have no idea that Tesla is arguably the leader in real-world AI hardware and software, and that we're building what is arguably the first, the most radical computer architecture since the Cray-1 supercomputer. And I think if you're interested in developing some of the most advanced technology in the world that's going to really affect the world in a positive way, Tesla's the place to be. So yeah, let's fire away with some questions. I think there's a mic at the front and a mic at the back.
Chris,
or
on this side.
Just throw mics at people. Jump ball for the mic.
Yeah, hi, thank you very much. I was impressed here. Yeah. I was impressed very much by Optimus, but I wonder why tendon-driven, the hand? Why did you choose a tendon-driven approach for the hand? Because tendons are not very durable. And why spring-loaded?
Yeah, answer. Hello, is this working? Cool, awesome. Yes, that's a great question. You know, when it comes to any type of actuation scheme, there's trade-offs between, you know, whether or not it's a tendon-driven system or some type of linkage-based system.
Just keep the mic close to your mouth.
A little bit closer.
Yeah.
Hear me? Cool. So yeah, the main reason why we went for a tendon-based system is that, you know, first we actually investigated some synthetic tendons, but we found that metallic Bowden cables are, you know, a lot stronger. One of the advantages of these cables is that it's very good for part reduction. We do want to make a lot of these hands, so having a bunch of parts, a bunch of small linkages ends up being, you know, a problem when you're making a lot of something. One of the big reasons that, you know, tendons are better than linkages in a sense is that you can be anti-backlash. So anti-backlash essentially, you know, allows you to not have any gaps or, you know, stuttery motion in your fingers. Spring-loaded, mainly what spring-loaded allows us to do is it allows us to have active opening. So instead of having to have two actuators to drive the fingers closed and then open, we have the ability to, you know, have the tendon drive them closed and then the springs passively extend. And this is something that's seen in our hands as well, right? We have the ability to actively flex, and then we also have the ability to extend. Yeah.
I mean, our goal with Optimus is to have a robot that is maximally useful as quickly as possible. So there's a lot of ways to solve the various problems of a humanoid robot. We're probably not barking up the right tree on all the technical solutions. And I should say that we're open to evolving the technical solutions that you see here over time. They're not locked in stone. But we have to pick something, and we want to pick something that's going to allow us to produce the robot as quickly as possible and have it, like I said, be useful as quickly as possible. We're trying to follow the goal of fastest path to a useful robot that can be made at volume. And we're going to test the robot internally at Tesla in our factory and just see, like, how useful is it? Because you have to have you got a closed loop on reality to confirm that the robot is, in fact, useful. Yeah. So we're just going to use it to build things. And we're confident we can do that with the hand that we have currently designed. But for sure there'll be hand version 2, version 3, and we may change the architecture quite significantly over time.
Sorry. Hi. The Optimus robot is really impressive. You did a great job. Bipedal robots are really difficult. But what I noticed might be missing from your plan is to acknowledge the utility of the human spirit, and I'm wondering if Optimus will ever get a personality and be able to laugh at our jokes while it folds our clothes.
No. Yeah, absolutely. I think we want to have really fun versions of Optimus.
I want to pay
so
25 grand for a robot for it to tell me a stupid joke. No, that's not its purpose.
And do tasks, but
we
can
all
also be kind of like a friend and a buddy and hang out with you. And I'm sure people will think of all sorts of creative uses for this robot. You know, the thing, once you have the core intelligence and actuators figured out, then you can actually, you know, put.
He's literally admitting to it right now, just so you know.
Costumes, I guess.
A lot of fun uses. Costumes.
on the robot. I mean, you can make the robot look.
We all know what he's talking
about. You can
about.
skin the robot in many different ways, and I'm sure people will find very interesting ways to yeah.
He's like,
versus
yeah,
Optimus.
yeah, sex bot.
Thanks for the great presentation. I wanted to know if there was an equivalent to interventions in Optimus. It seems like labeling through moments where humans disagree with what's going on is important, and in a humanoid robot, that might be also a desirable source of information.
Want to say anything?
Yeah, I think we will have ways to remote operate the robot
This
and
little guy to his
when it
left is
does
like, what's that
something
little
bad,
bitch say?
especially
Talk
when
some
we are
shit about
training
my
the robot
robot?
and bringing it up.
I'm gonna fuck you.
And hopefully we design
shit
it in
about
a
my
way that we
robot?
can stop the robot from, if it's going to hit something, we can just like hold it and then it'll stop. It won't like crush your hand or something. And
I'm
those are all
afraid the
intervention
robot's
data.
gonna hurt me. Then let the fucking robot hurt you,
And we
bro.
can learn a lot from our simulation systems too, where we can check for collisions and supervise that those are bad actions.
Yeah, I mean, so Optimus, we want over time for it to be, you know, an android, the kind of android that you'd seen in sci-fi movies, like Star Trek: The Next Generation, like Data. But obviously, we could program the robot to be.
He's still
less
pausing.
robot-like,
He knows what he wants to
more
say.
friendly
He just doesn't have the balls to say it. I'll say
you
it.
know, it can obviously
Sex
learn
bot.
to emulate humans and feel very natural.
He knows exactly what he
So
wants out of this
AI
thing.
in general improves, we can.
Look at his face. He knows. I
add
can
that
read him.
to the robot, and you know, it should be obviously able to do simple instructions or even intuit what it is that you want. So you could give it a high-level instruction, and then it can break that down
That's
into
code
a
for
series of
what I said.
actions and take those actions.
Hi. Yeah, it's exciting to think that with the Optimus, you will think that you can achieve orders of magnitude of improvement in economic output. That's really exciting. And when
Elon's
Tesla
on the
started,
defensive now.
the
Look, he's
mission
got his
was
arms
to
crossed.
accelerate the advent of renewable energy or sustainable transport.
They all got their arms crossed.
So with the Optimus,
This half on the
do you
left has
still
their arms
see
crossed. The half
that
on the
mission
right
being
is all
the mission
standing
statement
crossed
of Tesla,
over.
or is it going to be
They're
updated
confusing
with,
everybody's psyche right
mission
now,
to
just so you
accelerate
know.
the advent of, I don't know, infinite abundance or limitless economy?
Yeah, I mean, it is not strictly speaking. Optimus is not strictly speaking.
This
Directly
guy to
in
his
line
left
with,
is like, I'm not playing this shit. I'm not crossing
accelerating
my hands or
sustainable
putting them in
energy.
front of me. Kiss my ass.
You know, to the degree that it is more efficient at getting things done than a person,
divider.
it does, I guess, help with sustainable energy. But I think the mission effectively does somewhat broaden with the advent of Optimus to, I don't know, making the future awesome. So, I think you look at Optimus and
He knows what he
I don't
wants
know
at the
about you, but I'm excited to see what Optimus will become. And, this is like, if you could, I mean, you can tell like any given technology. Do you want to see what it's like in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10?
He knows what he's doing with
I'd
Optimus.
say for sure. You definitely want to
Breeding.
see what's happening with Optimus.
Saving the population.
Whereas, a bunch of other technologies are, sort of plateaued.
There's the
Don't
creepy
name
laugh
names
right
here,
there.
but,
There it is. That's the period, exclamation mark. So what he's saying is 5 to 10 years is when the sex bot will be available. That's what he is excited for. I'm just translating Elon.
And I'm really interested to see that happen, and I hope you are too.
I have a quick question here.
Somebody
Justin,
us is California.
and
Nobody's
I was
got balls in
wondering,
California.
Like, are you planning to
They would never allow me back because I would go, okay, so how long until we can have sex with
for
this
the robot? And my
this
second
bot?
follow-up question to that is, what's like the end goal? What's the end goal with Optimus?
Nobody's got the balls to ask what we're all thinking.
Optimus would definitely have conversational capabilities.
We know this guy over his left shoulder is
you'd
thinking
be
the
able
same
to talk
thing.
to it and have a conversation, and it would feel quite natural. So, from an end goal standpoint, I don't know. I think it's going to keep evolving, and
interesting.
I'm not sure where it ends up, but
Pay attention to the
someplace
keywords.
interesting for sure. we always have to be careful about the,
the guy over his left shoulder's going, oh yeah, sex bot, baby. He knows what's up.
I thought maybe we should start off with a video of like the Terminator starting off with this, skull crushing, but that might be, people might take that too seriously. So, we do want Optimus to be safe, so we are designing in safeguards where you can locally stop the robot, with like basically a localized control ROM that you can't update over the internet, which I think that's quite important, essential, frankly.
Excuse me, Elon.
Like a
Okay,
localized
so
stop
what
button,
are its pronouns, though, so I know how to properly
or
address
or
it when
remote
it comes
control, something
out?
like that.
Is it like they,
changed.
them, a he, him, a she, her?
But I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting.
This
it
is
won't
going to
be
get
boring.
so confusing. We need to know its pronouns. Tesla.com/AI pronouns.
Okay, yeah. I see you today. You have very attractive product with Dojo and its applications. So I'm wondering what's the future for the Dojo platform? Will you provide infrastructure as service like AWS, or you will sell the chip like the NVIDIA?
I get to see somebody in California
what's the future?
getting in bed with a sex bot.
I see you use 7 nanometers.
Okay,
so
before
the
we
develop
begin,
cost
bot,
easily
what are
over
your
$10
pronouns? I just want to be
million.
respectful while
How
we're
do
in
you
bed.
make the
I'm a
penis
robot.
penis
Let's get to it. Yes, but I need to know your pronouns
Dojo
because
is
otherwise
a
I
very
just don't
big
feel
computer,
as connected with.
and actually will use a lot of power and needs a lot of cooling.
I'm not trying to be a
So
dick.
I think it's
I could
probably
not
gonna make more
imagine
sense
trying to have
Dojo
sex with like
operate
some
in
girl that's all
a
about
Amazon
pronouns.
Web
Like,
Services
go
manner
fucking insane.
Than to try to sell it to someone else.
Bitch, just bend the fuck over.
So the
I
most
just
that would
can't
be the
deal
most
with it
efficient way to operate
Like, I would
Dojo
punish
is
the
just have
fuck.
it be,
I'm telling you, if I ever went to bed with a woman, she started asking me about
service
pronouns,
that
I would
you can
punish
use,
the ever loving
that's
shit out of her.
available
I mean,
online,
granted, she'd probably
and
start
that,
asking for
where
pronouns
you
all the
can train
time
your
after that.
models,
But
way faster and for less money. And as the
I'm just saying, man.
world transitions
Look how
to
happy he gets when he talks about,
2.0.
oh yeah, we're gonna get those upgrades.
And that's on the bingo
Now he's
card.
talking about getting a fucking robot drunk.
As
Look at
someone I
him.
know it has to know how to drink 5 tequilas. Let's see. Software 2.0.
Well, they just say sex bot. We all know what we're talking about. Let's go, man.
We'll use a lot of neural net training. So, it kind of makes sense that over time, as there's more.
You know what
more
I
neural
want?
net
I want
stuff,
somebody to go up to Optimus
people
and go,
will
"What are
want
your
to use
pronouns?" And it go,
an,
"Pronouns? I'm from
fastest,
Texas,
lowest cost
bitch."
neural net training system.
Pronouns.
So I think there's a lot of opportunity in that
Fuck
direction.
your pronouns.
Hi.
It draws
My
your
name is
blood to
Ali
find out
Jahanian.
your fucking gender.
Thank you for this event.
No, I
It's
identify
very
as a she/her.
inspirational. My
Based
question
on
is,
careful analysis
I'm
of your
wondering what is
genetic
your vision
snippets
for,
in your blood, you are not a
humanoid robots
she/her.
that,
You are a man.
understand our emotions.
I'm gonna lose so many
art
members
and
over
can
this. I already know what's going down.
Well, I think there's you're already seeing robots that at least are able to generate very interesting art with like DALL-E and DALL-E 2, and I think we'll start seeing AI that can actually generate.
I'm already being
even
canceled. My
movies
mic's
that have
turning off
that have
because I'm talking about
interesting
pronouns.
movies and tell jokes. So
Oh, Jesus.
It's quite remarkable how
I blame
fast
Elon for
AI
putting this in
is,
California, honestly.
advancing.
We all knew these jokes were coming.
At many companies besides Tesla, we're headed for a very interesting future.
It's like I'm going to Mars, I'm taking the
yeah,
bots, and I'm
so-
having a giant orgy.
You guys want to comment on that?
Yeah, I guess the Optimus robot can come up with physical art, not just digital art. You can ask for some dance moves in text or voice, and then you can produce those in the future. So it's a lot of physical art, not just digital art.
Oh, yeah. Computers can absolutely make physical art. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, like dance,
Sure.
play, soccer.
Dude,
or
if I
whatever
was
you,
there, I'm sorry, I would just go,
I mean,
well,
it needs to get more
I have a
agile,
question, but before
over
I
time,
ask it,
for sure.
what are your pronouns? I don't know if I can
Thanks so
keep a
much for the
straight face. Oh,
presentation.
there go the rest of my members.
For the Tesla Autopilot slides, I noticed that the models that you were using were heavily motivated by language models. And I was wondering what the history of that was and how much of an improvement it gave. I thought that was a really interesting, curious choice to use language models for the lane transitioning.
So there are sort of two aspects for why we transitioned to language modeling.
So the first.
Talk loud and close.
Okay.
It's not coming through very clearly.
Okay, got it. Yeah, so the language models help us in two ways.
Dude, what
the
are
first
all
way is
these
that it lets
hot
us predict
women that
lanes
work
that
at
we couldn't have
Tesla? Dude, I'm
otherwise.
gonna fucking go get
As
a job
Ashok
at Tesla.
mentioned
Fuck,
earlier,
fuck all the other money I
basically,
make
we
from
predicted
stock.
lanes in sort of a dense 3D fashion.
I'm gonna buy more. I'm gonna buy.
You can
I'm
only
gonna
model certain
invest
kinds
like
of lanes, but we want to get
60%
those
of my money into
crisscrossing connections
Tesla just
inside
so I
of
can
intersections.
fucking say I own
It's
a
just
big
not
chunk
possible
and
to do
walk in
that
any of these
without
places
making it a
anytime I
graph
want with all
prediction.
these hot
If you
women
try to do
working
this
there.
with dense segmentation, it just doesn't work.
This is Elon's real plan. He doesn't
Also,
just want the most
lane prediction is a
intelligent
multimodal
people
problem.
working in
Sometimes you
robotics.
just
He
don't
wants
have
the hot,
sufficient
intelligent
visual
women so he
information
can
to
breed
know
them.
precisely how things look.
I'm just being honest.
So you need a method
I'm
that
just
can
saying what I'm
generalize
seeing.
and produce
I'm adding
coherent
the
predictions.
fucking equation
You
for
don't want
you
to be
guys.
predicting two
Okay?
lanes and three lanes
I know
at the same
exactly
time.
what
You
this
wanna
son of a
commit to
bitch is
one,
up to.
and a generative model like
I'm
this
just
language
saying.
models provides that.
Hi. Hi. My name is Giovanni. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. It's really nice. I have a question for FSD team. So.
Yes, and
for
how
the
often are we going to have to replace
neural
the liquids on the
networks,
sex
How
spot?
do you test, like, how do you do unit tests, software unit tests on that?
Quit. All right,
Like,
that's
do
it.
you
That's my
have,
last
like,
joke. I
a
promise.
bunch,
My
or,
jokes
I don't
are
know,
really
maybe
bad.
thousands
Okay.
or,
They make me laugh. They make
yes,
nobody else laugh. That's why this is always
cases
awkward.
where the neural network that after you train it, you have to pass it before you release it to as a product, right? Yeah, what's your software unit testing strategies for this?
Yeah, glad you asked. There's like a series of tests that we have defined, starting from unit tests for the software itself.
like
but
all
then
these
for
ugly
the neural
guys
network
and all these
models,
hot women. I
we
feel like
have
this is just
VAP
torture
sets
for them,
defined
bro.
where you can define. If you just have a large test
You very
set,
well
that's
know
not
half
enough
these
what
guys
we
have
find.
asked these girls out,
We
and they're
need like
just like, oh,
sophisticated
no, I'm waiting
VAP
on
sets
Elon.
for different failure
Waiting on
modes.
Elon to
And then
breed
we
me.
curate them and grow them over the
All right,
time.
that was
of
my
the
last
product. So
joke. I
over the
promise.
years,
I'm done.
We have like
Jesus.
hundreds of thousands
That's the
of
last joke.
examples
I'm done.
where we have been failing in the past that we have curated. And so for any new model, we test against the entire history of these failures and then keep adding to this test set. On top of this, we have shadow modes where we ship these models in silent to the car and we get data back on where they are failing or succeeding. And there's an extensive QA program. It's very hard to ship a regression. There's like 9 levels of filters before it hits customers, but then we have really good infra to make this all efficient.
And I'm one of the QA testers, so I QA the car.
Yeah,
like
QA tester.
Look at her. Look how she looks at Elon. She knows she's going to be bred by him. This is some bullshit, man. Elon's taking all the hot, smart women.
Latest,
boycotting Elon.
alpha build is that doesn't totally
This is
crash.
bullshit, bro.
Finds a lot of bugs.
Oh, yeah. Forgot. I can't.
Hi,
I don't have a filter.
Great
Leave me
event.
alone.
I have a question about
Lack that part of the brain.
foundational models for autonomous driving. We have all seen
Why are
that
these assholes
big
on the line?
models
What do they think this is,
that
UCLA?
Really can, when you scale up with data and model parameter, right, from GPT-3 to PaLM, it can actually now do reasoning. Do you see that is essential scaling up foundational
more
models
jokes.
with
I'm holding them
data
in.
and
I
size?
could have made 3 more jokes,
and
and I
then
chose not to.
At least you can
Like,
get
they're
a
making it
teacher
so
model,
easy.
right? That
can't help
potentially can solve all the problems, and then you distill to a student
You know, a
model.
second.
Is that
Fuck it.
how
As
you
soon as
see
Elon
foundational
started
models
hinting at the
relevant
sex
for
bot, that's when the
autonomous
line
driving?
formed. Have we
Similar to
noticed
our
this?
auto-labeling
All of a sudden,
models.
there's now a fucking
don't just
line.
have models that run in
Oh,
the
there's a
car.
line
We
of
train
ugly
models that are
people.
entirely offline, that are like extremely large, that can't run
Wait,
in real
and-
time on the car. So we
Wait
just run
and
those
ask a
offline on our servers,
question.
producing really good labels that can then train the
This
online
dude on the right
networks.
knows what I'm talking
So
about.
that's
He's
one
like, oh
form
yeah, I
of
tested out
distillation of these
the Gen
feature
Sex. I mean
student
Gen
models.
X bot.
In terms of foundation models, we are building some really, really large data sets that are multiple petabytes. And we are seeing
He's like,
that
"Is
some
this
of these
over? I wanna
tasks
get back
work
to my
really
sex
well
bot."
when we have these large data sets.
We got some
like the
some
kinematics,
shit-
like I mentioned.
kinks to work out,
video
bro. I
in,
gotta add some
all
curly
the kinematics
hair.
out of all the objects, and up to the 4th derivative. And
You know,
people
he's
thought
over
we
there
couldn't
asking
do
Jesse, yo,
detection with
can I
cameras.
model my
There's
sex bot
detection,
after you?
depth,
Do you mind
velocity,
if I just kind of
acceleration,
3D render
and
you? I
imagine
just
how
wanna-
precise these have to be for these
Ka-chow.
higher order derivatives to be accurate. And this all comes from these kind of large data sets
You're really
and large
creepy,
models.
Bob.
So we're seeing the equivalent
Going
of
to
foundation
HR.
models in our own way for geometry and kinematics and
Oh, his
things like
name's
those.
John. Oh God. I
wanna
told you.
add
It's
anything,
always
John?
called John. Didn't I tell you this? They're always called
Yeah, I'll
John,
keep it brief.
bro.
basically, whenever we train on a larger data set, we see big. Okay.
So
Basically,
this
whenever we
Asian
train
chick's
on a
hot
larger
too.
data
What
set,
the-
we
I gotta
see
go get a
big
job at
improvements in
Apple.
our
I'm
model
done.
performance.
I'm retired,
Basically,
but I'm gonna,
whenever we
like,
initialize
side
our
work for
networks
free
with
at
you know,
Tesla.
some pre-training step from some other auxiliary task, we basically see improvements. The self-supervised or supervised with large data sets both help a lot.
Hi. So at the beginning, Elon said that Tesla was potentially interested in building artificial general intelligence systems. Given the potentially transformative impact of technology like that, it seems prudent to invest in technical AGI safety expertise specifically. I know Tesla does a lot of technical,
I would like to
narrow
ask, like he
AI
keeps
safety
pausing
research.
because he's trying to
I
think
was
of big
curious if
words to
Tesla
say
was,
to sound intelligent
intending
to Elon.
try to build
The problem is I can
expertise
pick up
in
on it because he's not
technical
talking really
artificial
fast
general
doing it, otherwise it would
intelligence
flow
safety
naturally.
Well,
I think he's intimidated
Christoph's
by
looking
Elon.
like we're going to be making a significant contribution to artificial general intelligence, then we'll for sure invest in safety. I'm a big believer in AI safety. I think there should be an AI sort of regulatory authority.
Now he wants to
at
give the
government
government
level.
control. We're all
Just as
doomed.
there is a
We're all
regulatory
getting
authority
waterboarded
for,
in the middle of the night.
anything that affects public safety. So we have regulatory authority for aircraft and cars and sort of food and drugs.
We don't want our robots
because they
dealing
affect
drugs.
Public safety, and AI also affects public safety. So I think.
Come on.
And this is not really something
I
that government,
got
I think,
the shit you're
understands yet,
looking for.
But I think there should be
Pay
a
up,
referee
sucker.
that is ensuring or trying to ensure public safety for AGI. And if you think of like, well, what are the elements that are necessary to create AGI? Like
the accessible
data set is
data
extremely
set.
Important. And
accessible.
if you've got a large number of
The
cars
accessible.
and humanoid robots
I can't. I hope there's no kids
processing,
watching because this is.
petabytes.
I'm sorry,
of-
but this is what
of
he's.
video
I'm just
data,
translating.
audio
This is
data
what
from the
he's
real
saying.
world,
Look at it. Look what he's
just
doing
like
with his
humans.
hands. He's like,
That
how do I
might
word
be the
this?
biggest data set. It probably is
How
the
do I
biggest
word
data
this?
set. Because in addition to that, you can obviously incrementally scan the internet. But what the internet can't quite do is have millions or hundreds of millions of cameras in the real world, and with like I said, with audio and other sensors as well. So I think we probably will have the most amount of data, and probably the most amount of training power. Therefore,
Please don't ask me about this. Is his face. Please don't ask me about sex bots. 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 Oh, good. He's not asking about sex bots.
I noticed the semi was back there, but we haven't talked about it too much. I was just wondering for the semi-truck, what are the changes you're thinking about from a sensing perspective? I imagine there's very different requirements, obviously, than just a car. And if you don't think that's true, why is that true?
No, I think basically you can drive a car. I mean, think about like what drives any vehicle. It's a biological neural net with eyes, with cameras, essentially. So if and really, what is your primary sensors are two cameras on a slow gimbal, a very slow gimbal. That's your head. So if a biological neural net with two cameras on a slow gimbal can drive a semi-truck, then if you've got like 8 cameras with continuous 360-degree vision, operating at a higher frame rate and much higher reaction rate, then I think it is obvious that you should be able to drive a semi or any vehicle much better than a human.
Hi, my name is Akshay. Thank you for the event. Assuming Optimus would be used for different use cases and would evolve at different pace for these use cases, would it be possible to sort of develop and deploy different software and hardware components independently and deploy them, in Optimus, so that
Putting
the
in a job
overall
application.
feature development is faster?
What exceptional
for
work
Optimus?
have you done in software, hardware, AI? Well, this is something I would prefer to discuss with Jesse in a one-on-one environment so I could articulate.
Unfortunately, our neural net did not comprehend the question.
The complexity.
Yeah, so.
Of my
well,
brilliant
next
endeavor.
question.
I don't fucking know. This is just
Hi,
getting
I want
weird.
to switch the gear to the autopilot. So
can't have- my brain doesn't
when you
have a
guys
filter,
plan
I'm
to
sorry,
roll out
guys.
the FSD beta.
This is why I don't do
to
live
other
streams
than
this long.
US and Canada. And also my
Lots
next
of bad
question
shit
is,
starts coming
what's
out.
the biggest bottleneck or the technological barrier you think in the current autopilot stack, and how you envision to solve that to make the autopilot is considerably better than human in terms of like performance matrix like safety assurance and the human confidence? And I think you also mentioned for FSD V11, you are guys going to combine the highway
being the
and
only
the
guy
city
there
as
right
a
now in
single
a
stack,
suit.
and some architectural big improvement. Can you maybe expand a bit on that? Thank you.
Well, that's a whole bunch of questions. Well, we're hopeful to be able to. I think from a technical standpoint, FSD beta should be possible to roll out.
Psychologically
FSD beta,
mind fucking them back with their
worldwide
stance, by
the
the way,
end of
in
this
case
year.
you're not paying attention.
But we, for a lot
we
of
don't
countries,
play those
we need
psychological
regulatory
games. My
approval,
IQ ain't that low.
and so we are somewhat gated by the regulatory approval in other countries.
I want to make the hot girls feel at ease with
But
my
but I think
resting
from a
serial
technical
killer
standpoint, it will be
face.
ready to go to a worldwide beta by the end of this year. And there's quite a big improvement that we're expecting to release next month. That will be especially good at assessing the velocity of fast-moving cross-traffic and a bunch of other things. So, anyone want to elaborate?
Yeah, I guess so. There used to be a lot of differences between production autopilot and the full self-driving beta, but those differences have been getting smaller and smaller over time. I think just a few months ago, we now use the same vision-only object detection stack in both FSD and in the production autopilot on all vehicles. There's still a few differences, the primary one being the way that we predict lanes right now. So we upgraded the modeling of lanes so that it could handle these more complex geometries like I mentioned
Couple
in
of
the talk.
squiggly lines.
In production autopilot,
A
we
star.
still use a simpler lane model, but we're extending our current FSD beta models to work in all sort of highway scenarios as well.
Yeah, and the version of FSD beta that I drive actually does have the integrated stack. So it uses the FSD stack both in city streets and highway, and it works quite well for me. But we need to validate it in all kinds of weather, like heavy rain, snow, dust, and just make sure it's working as better than the production stack across a wide range of environments. But we're pretty close to that. I mean, I think it's, I don't know, maybe, it'll definitely be before the end of the year, and maybe November.
Yeah, in our personal drives, the FSD stack on highway drives already way better than the production stack we have. And we do expect to also include the parking lot stack as a part of the FSD stack before the end of this year. So that will basically bring us to, you sit in the car in the parking lot and drive till the end of the parking lot at a parking spot before the end of this year.
Yeah, and in terms of the fundamental metric to optimize against is how many miles between a necessary intervention. So just massively improving how many miles the car can drive in full autonomy before an intervention is required that is safety critical. So yeah, that's the fundamental metric that we're measuring every week, and we're making radical improvements on that.
She skips the line. She's like, hi. Oh, no,
Hi.
I'm talking now,
Thank you.
bro.
Hi. Thank you so much for the presentation. Very inspiring. My name is Daisy. I actually have a non-technical question for you. I'm curious, if you were back to your 20s, what are some of the things you wish you knew back then?
Why is this
what are
always the
some
question?
advice
What is
you would
advice
give to your younger self?
I've been asked this question 50 fucking times, too. This is how I feel, right here. Boom. That's how I feel when you guys ask me that question.
Well, I'm trying to figure out
I
something
wouldn't say
useful
shit because it would change the timeline.
to say. Yeah, join Tesla would be one thing. Yeah, I think just generally try to expose yourself to as many smart people as possible. I don't know, read a lot of books. I did do that though. I think there's some merit to just also like not being like necessarily too intense and like enjoying the moment a bit more. I would say to 20 or 20-something me, just if
you're allergic to roses.
Stop and smell the roses occasionally would probably be a good idea. It's like when we were developing the Falcon 1 rocket, and on the Kwajalein Atoll, and we had this beautiful little island that we're developing the rocket on. And not once during that entire time did I even have a drink on the beach. I'm like, well, I should have had a drink on the beach. That would have been fine.
Thank you very much. I think you have excited all of the robotics people with Optimus. This feels very much like 10 years ago in driving, but as driving has proved to be harder than it actually looked 10 years ago, what do we know now that we didn't 10 years ago that would make, for example, AGI on a humanoid come faster?
Well, I mean, it seems to me that AGI is advancing very quickly. Hardly a week goes by without some significant announcement. And yeah, I mean, at this point, like, AI seems to be able to win at almost any rule-based game. It's able to create extremely impressive art, engage in conversations that are very sophisticated, write essays, and these just keep improving. And there's so much more, so many more talented people working on AI, and the hardware is getting better. I think AI is on a strong exponential curve of improvement, independent of what we do at Tesla. And obviously, we'll benefit somewhat from that exponential curve of improvement with AI. Like, Tesla just also happens to be very good at actuators, at motors, motors, gearboxes, controllers, power electronics, batteries, sensors, and really, like, I'd say that the biggest difference between the robot on 4 wheels and the robot with arms and legs is getting the actuators right. It's an actuators and sensors problem. And obviously, how you control those actuators and sensors, but it's yeah, actuators and sensors and how you control the actuators. It's I don't know. We have to have, like, the ingredients necessary to create a compelling robot, and we're doing it. So.
Hi, Elon. You are actually bringing the humanity to the next level. Literally, Tesla and you are bringing the humanity to the next level. So you said Optimus Prime, Optimus will be used in next Tesla factory. My question is, will a new Tesla factory will be fully run by Optimus program? And when can general public order a humanoid?
Yeah, I think it'll we're going to start Optimus with very simple tasks in the factory. Like maybe just like loading a part, like you saw in the video, loading a part, carrying a part from one place to another, or loading a part into one of our more conventional robot cells to, that welds the body together. So we'll start, just trying to, how do we make it useful at all? And then gradually expand the number of situations where it's useful. And I think that the number of situations where Optimus is useful will grow exponentially, like really, really fast. In terms of when people can order one, I don't know. I think it's not that far away. And then gradually expand. I think you mean when can people receive one where it's useful. And I think that. I don't know. I'm like, I'd say situations where Optimus is useful probably within 3 years, grow exponentially, not more than 5 years. Like within 3 to 5 years, you could probably receive an Optimus. In terms of when people can order one, I don't know. I think it's not that far away.
I feel the best way to make the progress for AGI was as many smart people across the world as possible.
I think that
and
I don't
given
know,
the size and resource of Tesla compared to robot companies, and given the state of humanoid research at the moment, would it make sense for the kind of Tesla to sort of open source some of the simulation hardware parts? I think Tesla can still be the dominant platformer where it can be something like Android OS or like iOS stuff for the entire humanoid research. Would that be something that, rather than keeping the Optimus to just Tesla researchers or the factory itself, can you open it and let the whole world explore humanoid research?
I think we have to be careful about Optimus being potentially used in ways that are bad, because that is one of the possible things to do. So I think we'd provide Optimus where you can provide instructions to Optimus, but where those instructions are governed by some laws of robotics.
Of course.
That you cannot overcome. So, not doing harm to others, and you would have, I think, probably quite a few safety-related things with Optimus. Yeah. So, all right, we'll just take maybe a few more questions, and then thank you all for coming.
Questions, one deep and one broad. On the deep, for Optimus, what's the current and what's the ideal controller bandwidth? And then in the broader question, there's this big advertisement for the depth and breadth of the company. What is it uniquely about Tesla that enables that?
Anyone want to tackle the bandwidth question?
There's
So
like
the
nobody
technical
left.
bandwidth
Everybody
of the-
left the
Close to your
crowd. There must be like 20 people
For
there
the
now.
bandwidth question, you have to understand or figure out what is the task that you want it to do, and what is the if you took a frequency transform of that task, what is it that you want your limbs to do? And that's where you get your bandwidth from. It's not a number that you can specifically just say. You need to understand your use case, and that's where the bandwidth comes from. What is the broad question? I don't quite remember.
The breadth and depth thing. I can answer the breadth and depth, but yeah. I mean, it's interesting. On the bandwidth question, I think we probably will just end up increasing the bandwidth, or which translates to the effective dexterity and reaction time of the robot. It's safe to say it's not 1 hertz, and it's maybe you don't need to go all the way to 100 hertz, but I don't know, maybe 10, 25, I don't know. Over time, I think the bandwidth will increase quite a bit, or translated to dexterity and latency. You'd want to minimize that over time. Minimize latency, maximize dexterity. In terms of breadth and depth, I guess we're a pretty big company at this point, so we've got a lot of different areas of expertise that we necessarily had to develop in order to make autonomous, or in order to make electric cars, and then in order to make autonomous electric cars. Tesla is like a whole series of startups, basically, and so far they've almost all been quite successful. So we must be doing something right. I consider one of my core responsibilities in running the company is to have an environment where great engineers can flourish. And I think in a lot of companies, I don't know, maybe most companies, if somebody's a really talented, driven engineer, they're unable to actually, their talents are suppressed at a lot of companies. And it's, and some of the companies, the engineering talent is suppressed in a way that is maybe not obviously bad, but where it's just so comfortable, and you're paid so much money, and the output you actually have to produce is so low that it's like a honey trap, So like there's a few honey trap places in Silicon Valley where they're not necessarily, don't seem like bad places for engineers, but you have to say like a good engineer went in, and what did they get out? And the output of that engineering talent seems very low, even though they seem to be enjoying themselves. That's why I call it, there's a few honey trap companies in Silicon Valley. Tesla is not a honey trap. We're demanding, and it's like, we're going to get a lot of shit done, and it's going to be really cool. And it's not going to be easy. But if you are a super talented engineer, your talents will be used, I think, to a greater degree than anywhere else. SpaceX also that way. So.
Hi, Elon. I have two questions. So both to the autopilot team. So the thing is like I have been following your progress for the past few years. So today you have made changes on like the lane detection. Like you said that like previously you were doing instant semantic segmentation. Now you guys have built transform models for like building the lanes. So what are some other common challenges which you guys are facing right now, like which you are solving in future as a curious engineer, so that like we as a researcher can work on those, start working on those. And the second question is like I'm really curious about the data engine. Like you guys have like told a case like where the car is stopped. So how are you finding cases which is very much similar to that from the data which you have? Like so, little bit more on the data engine would be great. So that's it.
Okay. I'll start answer the first question using occupancy network as an example. So what you saw in the presentation did not exist a year ago. So we only spent 1 year amount of time. We actually shipped more than 12 occupancy network. And to have a one foundation model actually to represent the entire physical world around everywhere and in all weather conditions is actually really, really challenging. So only over a year ago, we're kind of like driving a 2D world. If there's a wall and if there's a curve, we kind of represent with the same static edge, which is obviously, not ideal, right? There's a big difference between a curb and a wall. When you drive, you make different choices, right? So after we realized that we have to go to 3D, we have to basically rethink the entire problem and think about how we address that. So this will be like one example of challenges we have conquered in the past year.
Yeah, to answer the question about how we actually source examples of the tricky stopped cars, there's a few ways to go about this, but two examples are one, we can trigger for disagreements within our signals. So let's say that parked bit flickers between parked and driving, we'll trigger that back. And the second is we can leverage more of the shadow mode logic. So if the customer ignores the car, but we think we should stop for it, we'll get that data back too. So these are just different, like various trigger logic that allows us to get those data campaigns back.
Hi. Thank you for the amazing presentation. Thanks so much. So there are a lot of companies that are focusing on the AGI problem. And one of the reasons why it's such a hard problem is because the problem itself is so hard to define. Several companies have several different definitions. They focus on different things. So what is Tesla, how is Tesla defining the AGI problem, and what are you focusing on specifically?
Well, we're not actually specifically focused on AGI. I'm simply saying that AGI seems likely to be an emergent property of what we're doing. Because we're creating all these autonomous cars and autonomous humanoids that are actually with a truly gigantic data stream that's coming in and being processed. It's by far the most amount of real-world data, and data you can't get by just searching the internet, because you have to be out there in the world and interacting with people and interacting with the roads and just, Earth is a big place, and reality is messy and complicated. So I think it's sort of like it just seems likely to be an emergent property of if you've got tens or hundreds of millions of autonomous vehicles and maybe even a comparable number of humanoids, maybe more than that on the humanoid front. Well, that's just the most amount of data. And if that video is being processed of AGI.
No clue what just happened.
And arguably, humans collectively are sort of a super intelligence as well, especially as we improve.
So now I just lost everything. There it goes. Time to back
super
up.
intelligence
Yeah,
as well,
back up.
especially as we
Hey, we've been having a good
data
run,
rate
okay?
between
That was like
humans.
3.5
thing
hours without an error.
That seemed to be way
And it
back
just, like,
in the early days of the
doing
internet was
something.
like
I
the
don't know
internet
what the hell's
was
up.
like
Fucking
humanity
Dojo's
acquiring
trying
a
to
nervous
shut me down for
system
talking
where
about sex
now
bots.
all of a sudden one element of humanity could know all of the knowledge of humans by connecting to the internet, almost all the knowledge, or certainly a huge part of it. Whereas previously, we would exchange information by osmosis. We'd have to, like, in order to transfer data, so you would have to write a letter. Someone would have to carry the letter by person to another person, and then a whole bunch of things in between. And then it was like, yeah, I mean, insanely slow when you think about it. And even if you were in the Library of Congress, you still didn't have access to all the world's information, and you certainly couldn't search it. And obviously, very few people are in the Library of Congress. So, I mean, one of the great sort of equality elements, like the internet has been the biggest equalizer in history in terms of access to information and knowledge. And any student of history, I think, would agree with this, because you go back 1,000 years, there were very few books, and books would be incredibly expensive, and only a few people knew how to read, and only an even smaller number of people even had a book. now look at it, like you can access any book instantly. You can learn anything basically for free. It's pretty incredible. So, I was asked recently, what period of history would I prefer to be at the most? And my answer was right now. This is the most interesting time in history, and I read a lot of history. So let's do our best to keep that going. Yeah. And to go back to one of the earlier questions I would answer, like the thing that's happened over time with respect to Tesla Autopilot is that the neural nets have gradually absorbed more and more software. And in the limit, of course, you could simply take the videos as seen by the car and compare those to the steering inputs from the steering wheel and pedals, which are very simple inputs. In principle, you could train with nothing in between, because that's what humans are doing with a biological neural net. You could train based on video, and what trains the video is the moving of the steering wheel and the pedals, with no other software in between. We're not there yet, but it's gradually going in that direction. All right, well, maybe last question.
How you going?
I think we've got a question at the front here. Hello, there, right there. Oh, we'll do two questions, fine.
Over there or here?
Hi, thanks for such a great presentation.
We'll do your question last.
Okay, cool. With FSD being used by so many people, do you think, how do you evaluate the company's risk tolerance in terms of performance statistics? And do you think there needs to be more transparency or regulation from third parties as to what's good enough, and defining like thresholds for performance across so many miles?
Sure. Well, the number one design requirement at Tesla is safety. So, and that goes across the board. So, in terms of the mechanical safety of the car, we have the lowest probability of injury of any cars ever tested by the government for just a passive mechanical safety, essentially crash structure and airbags and whatnot. We have the best, the highest rating for active safety as well. And I think it's going to get to the point where the active safety is so ridiculously good, it's like just absurdly better than a human. And then with respect to autopilot, we do publish this, broadly speaking, the statistics on miles driven with cars that have no autonomy, or Tesla cars with no autonomy, with kind of hardware 1, hardware 2, hardware 3, and then the ones that are in FSD beta. And we see steady improvements all along the way. And sometimes there's this dichotomy of, should you wait until the car is like, I don't know, 3 times safer than a person before deploying any technology? But I think that is actually morally wrong. At the point at which you believe that adding autonomy reduces injury and death, I think you have a moral obligation to deploy it, even though you're going to get sued and blamed by a lot of people, because the people whose lives you saved don't know that their lives are saved, and the people who do occasionally die or get injured, they definitely know, or their estate does, that it was, whatever, there was a problem with autopilot. That's why you have to look at the numbers in sort of total miles driven, how many accidents occurred, how many accidents were serious, how many fatalities, and we've got well over 3 million cars on the road, so that's a lot of miles driven every day. It's not going to be perfect, but what matters is that it is very clearly safer than not deploying it. Yeah. So I think last question. I think, yeah, so thanks. Well, the last question here.
Okay. Okay. Hi. So I do not work on hardware, so maybe the hardware team and you guys can enlighten me. Why is it required that there be symmetry in the design of Optimus? Because humans, we have handedness, right? We use some set of muscles more than others. Over time, there is wear and tear, right? So maybe you'll start to see some joint failures or some actuator failures more over time. I understand that this is extremely pre-stage. Also, we as humans have based so much fantasy and fiction over superhuman capabilities. Like all of us don't want to walk right over there. We want to extend our arms, and like we have all these, a lot of fantastical designs. So considering everything else that is going on in terms of batteries and intensity of compute, maybe you can leverage all those aspects into coming up with something, well, I don't know, more interesting in terms of the robot that you're building. And I'm hoping you're able to explore those directions.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to have make Inspector Gadget real. That would be pretty sweet. So, yeah, right now we just want to make a basic humanoid work well, and our goal is fastest path to a useful humanoid robot. I think this will ground us in reality, literally, and ensure that we are doing something useful. Like one of the hardest things to do is to be useful, to actually, and then to have high utility under the curve of like how many people did you help, and how much help did you provide to each person on average, and then how many people did you help? The total utility, like trying to actually ship useful product that people like to a large number of people is so insanely hard. It boggles the mind. That's why, like I said, man, there's a hell of a difference between a company that has shipped product and one that has not shipped product. This is night and day. And then even once you ship product, can you make the value of the output worth more than the cost of the input, which is, again, insanely difficult, especially with hardware. So, but I think over time, I think it would be cool to do creative things and have like 8 arms and whatever, and have different versions, and maybe, there'll be some hardware, like companies that are able to add things to an Optimus, like maybe we add a power port or something like that, or attachment. You can add attachments to your Optimus, like you can add them to your phone. There could be a lot of cool things that could be done over time, and there could be maybe an ecosystem of small companies or big companies that make add-ons for Optimus. So, with that, I'd like to thank the team for their hard work. You guys are awesome, and yeah. And thank you all for coming, and for everyone online, thanks for tuning in. And I think this will be one of those great videos where you can if you can fast forward to the bits that you find most interesting. But we try to give you a tremendous amount of detail, literally, so that you can look at the video at your leisure, and you can focus on the parts that you find interesting and skip the other parts. So thank you all, and we'll do this. Try to do this every year, and we might do a monthly podcast even. But I think it'd be great to sort of bring you along for the ride and like show you.
So yeah, we got to see Optimus in all its glory. Optimus is going to be huge. Obviously, that's not for a few years. Now, the other two things we are waiting on big time. Obviously, the Semi, the Cybertruck. Now forget the Roadster as well. But with all that said, we are going to discuss and do a recap on everything tomorrow when I'm not as sick. I'll be doing that in the Discord at patreon.com/sleevebiker. If you're a member of the Discord or an NFT holder, head on over there and you will see a new link. Yes, that's right. There's a link. And you can go ahead and sign up for the podcast tomorrow. And I will notify everybody. I think it's going to be like 4 or 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's already posted. I already listed it about half an hour ago over in the Discord. So be sure to head on over there and sign up so you don't miss tomorrow's podcast. Lots of great information, but we're going to do our recap tomorrow over in the Discord is what I decided. So with all that said, I hope everybody has had a lot of fun tonight and found out about the future of the sex bot. Yeah, so if you head on over to the Discord, go to stock-news, you'll see the link to go ahead and sign up, or just go to the top where it says events and go ahead and say you're interested for the podcast tomorrow night. So with all that said, thank you, everybody. I know we're just getting started out on YouTube. We got like 200,000 followers over on TikTok, 25,000 on Twitter. Big everywhere else. I don't really have a YouTube. So because TikTok's being a prick, I decided I'm going to bring everything over to YouTube for a little bit. But mainly the podcast and all my information, what I'm investing in, what I'm looking at, what I think everybody else should be looking at is all listed in the Discord at thedailyinvestor.net. If you head there, you can get manual, monthly, annual, and lifetime memberships. So with all that said, again, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you everybody for following me over here to YouTube. And as always, I appreciate all the support and everything you guys do. And I will see you, I was going to say tomorrow, but later today in the Discord. Take care.